Hey, welcome back to Métropole Grid. My name is Andre. Thanks so much for tuning in. It is October 15th, 2024, a Tuesday afternoon, the final stream before the World 2024 World Championship. World, 3 times, closes that off evenly. It's the World Championship starting as of Friday. This is our last stream until probably next Tuesday. If all things go according to plan, we'll be getting on an airplane Thursday morning, flying down to San Francisco. Gonna put some flowers in our hair. Thanks for dropping. And how's everyone's energy? Is everyone excited? How's everyone feeling? Have you caught up to everything you have to do? I have to go get a haircut tomorrow morning and a shave. And then from that point on, figure out what decks I'm playing for COS and sleeve those up. That'll be a thing. And then wake up really early in the morning and fly 6 hours. I'm pretty excited. Energy is pretty high altogether, but it's been a long weekend. Happy Thanksgiving to the Canadians who do that. Not the biggest thing here in Quebec, but Maddie did make a fantastic dinner at like 8 o'clock last night. We're like, wait, we should just eat a Thanksgiving dinner. We celebrated on our own, but it was absolutely really quite nice. It was really, really quite nice. How's everyone doing? Dear Jen, hello y'all, how you doing? Tuesday night, there's a local here in Montreal. I think I said on the Discord that I will be going. I don't think I can. I'm still behind on some stuff, it turns out, tonight, so I have to sleep on my decks. I thought I would have my decks for COS ready so I could bring them to Tuesday locals and like get some paper games in. Also kind of bummed out that the deck list of the week right now is Sebastio, because I don't want to be bringing the deck list of the week to COS because everyone knows what you brought and what cards are in there, so that feels pretty rough sometimes. Yelling complimentary derogatory. Kato, I'm in some of the group chats where you're showing off the work you're doing. I'm so excited to see all the work that you and the team has put together, let alone just to be hanging out with you, doing some streaming stuff. Kato's an absolute champion. Big fan of Kato. Yo, Sophie, how's it going? Are you and yours going to Worlds? Are we gonna see? It's been a minute. Hopefully you're well. Eric Hayden, how's it going? Flying Worlds. Okay, Eric, good news, bad news. Let's play a little game. Good news, you harangued successfully Nick Mason for not playing subliminal messaging click 1. That's fantastic. That's really good. We have to keep fighting that fight. That's really important. Now, bad news. Unfortunately, with your scratch off battle cards, you are have been reported to the Twitch police. You are doing illegal gambling. Sorry, on YouTube streams. You can't have that. It's okay. I think Neon's deck is going to have a healthy life up on Kick TV where you're allowed to gamble and I think like harass people. I'm not sure how that channel works. It doesn't seem really nice. Third thing, just be careful. I saw this really quickly. I didn't watch all the stream, but if you are breaking with Lobisomu, you only get the power counter if you break all the subroutines. So if you're going to be clever and not break that one subroutine that might not matter on a Piranhas, no power counter. Just watch out. That's something that's going to really matter at COS if you're playing or playing against that kid deck. Force them to break everything. We'll figure it out. Hey Pat, how's it going? Like the song. There's also a Magnetic Field song about San Francisco, but I don't miss anyone enough yet. How you feeling, man? Hey, not Yeti, something Metropolitan Elite. How you doing? I've already sent Cobra Bubbles that song, and he's not even in San Francisco, I don't think. Driver's license Netrunner. David, I don't know what that means. How's it going? Nick is getting to my house at 4 a.m. for our flight. Oof, it's going to be rough, but exciting. Yeah, I think I have to do just about the same. And for me, it's international, so I need to be at the airport slightly sooner. For those who don't know, I'm staying with the Neon Static folks, so it looks like we're going to be arriving in the airport around the same time. It's about a 6-hour flight, I think, for both of us. We're about equidistance. Mine might be slightly longer. It's not a competition. And then we should be driving in together from the airport, but I'm going to see the Neon Static folks in just a couple hours, which is great. Well, it's like 48 hours, but still pretty great. Hello, Andre. Jeremiah, how's it going? Hello. I will enjoy my life behind bars due to my illegal gambling because I will have so many friends because of my battle cards. Good point on lobby charges. Yeah, sometimes it's right. Like I think that came up in a couple of replays where somebody breaks a subroutine, and I want to be very quick to be like, oh, no, you don't break all the subroutines. But a lot of times for lobby Somi, it is correct, especially because barriers matter. Kevin, how's it going? Apologies if I asked before. Are you making a travel out this year? Sorry, I have the missed last Thursday stream, but I caught up this weekend. No, don't apologize. There's a lot of content on the channel. You're not expected to watch all of it, but I'm glad that you're excited too, it seems. We played Eritrea, didn't we? Sorry about that. I think we had an okay time, but I also think we drew really, really poorly. Now I understand why you're specifically calling out last Thursday stream, because we got to play 2 Ateas, both Councils and Kevin's, and we just had some really bad Atea games. And I realized, Kevin, I'll be at Worlds. Firstly, that's sick. Secondly, Kevin, I realized that when I play as Atea, I should play more like you do, which is just like, I'm going to seamless launch, never advance my first agenda behind ice. I think I'm a bit cautious about that, but I think people are a bit cautious to face check into Saisantan. But I do think a lot of players will just force it to be like, you res the Saisantan, I'll probably live. If it's a Nancy, that's bad for you. If it's a Tattoo Bola, it's bad for you. So I think I should be sending it, but I think I should just be jamming my first agenda and then using tricks to score my last 2. I'm guessing that's probably more correct. I do think my thesis that we didn't close on is my big problem playing Atea classically is Atea is really weak to getting run down. You have to spend so many cards on your remote servers and your limited economy to some extent. It doesn't feel as robust as other IDs. It's just like if people put aggression on central servers, the same way that's kind of good into like most HB decks, as much as HB feels a bit more robust, it's a problem. And I think we got to see that a fair bit with like ESA, which is, there are definitely some lines you missed, but I think your assessment is not wrong. Yeah, there are definitely lines I missed. If you want to like leave a scathing comment so we can learn better how to Atea, I'd love to hear your opinion. My daughter's taking her driving test and I'm watching Netrunner, so it's driver's license Netrunner. Oh yeah, let's go. Is that G1 or G2? Like the written one or the, sorry, my Canadian is showing. Is it the one where you write things and they give you a permit, or is it the one where you get in a car with a person and they let you get in other cars with no people? Both of those, good luck. I reckon driving can be quite important in parts of America. She has to drive in car. Oh, that's a scary one. I did fail that one once. I did fail my first driver's test. I'm not ashamed about it. I do think the person who was doing my driver's test overreacted, which like, I get it. They were driving with people who don't know how to drive all day. Like, okay. But they did kind of flip a bit in a situation where I don't think it was necessary. Hey, Alex, how's it going? How do you feel about murder decks who never intend to score and just use damage to win? It feels akin to Mill in other games, which have never felt impressive or fun to me. Alex, it's a mixed bag. Let me remind to come back to this page because I have this page open for a reason. So I think we've seen what a lot of people call grinder decks. So through the history of Netrunner, there used to be decks that their win condition wasn't to score out to points. Well, it's kind of, but not really, but just to make you have no cards in deck. And then when you have no cards in deck, you die to a single damage, let alone we used to have agendas that did damage when you had to score them. So for instance, Potential Unleashed was the ultimate grinder deck because every single net damage became 2 cards out of you in your deck. And that's a problem, because the deck just played as much damage as possible and ran you out of cards. And that's bad. This card was banned. A lot of the cards that support this archetype have been banned and unbanned and rebanned. So I think we all understand that this sort of archetype is not very great for the game. A shout out to Builder of Nations, which is the same sort of idea. Again, this whole cycle had this sort of like, oh, everyone is real edgy and hurting you in awful ways. And this was never particularly good, but I don't think a lot of people adore this archetype of just be like, no matter what happens, you're losing cards. Not very fun. And it generally encourages these sort of attritional mill type game plans. Now, that being said, there's a lot of flatlining right now in the modern standard meta, but all the flatlining is a bit more combo oriented or a bit more game closing. I do think people still say grinder when it comes to specifically personal evolution. I just haven't seen it. I don't think I've seen a Jinteki deck that wants you to run out of cards. I think making someone run out of cards in this modern format is a bit more difficult. It used to still be possible to undo it. Like we used to have cards that reset your whole deck. We technically still have, what's it even called? I want to say Eminent Domain. That's not right. Ashen Epilogue. That card doesn't see a lot of play because it is a bit too slow for the meta overall. But people say like Ashen Epilogue is a reason that you don't lose to grinder, or like I think Harmony AR Therapy shows up too. And like I don't think these cards are necessary. I don't think strategies that want to mill you out are actually that great. I think it's more akin that if you're going to play against a damage deck, it's going to try and do more damage than you have cards in hand and win right there, right then. I just don't think it's very common. I do think overall, though, so far, it looks like the game has been better at printing agendas that you want to score out. I do still think we have a couple of decks that want to just hide their agendas and kind of just push the game on forever. I think that's not great. I do think it's important. And you see this kind of like, this might not be the best example, but we used to see some older 5/3 agendas in the game that just had defensive text. This is the Green Mill. It's seeing a lot of play today. And it says an additional cost for you to steal this. You have to shuffle 2 cards from your table that you've played and paid to install back into your deck to steal this. The corporation has no real incentive to score this thing out. Now, admittedly, maybe they do because it gets them to threat 3 or it's closer to 7 points and that wins games. But like cards like this, we used to see a lot of 5/3s that just strictly had defensive text, and corporations weren't incentivized to score their 5/3s. And so we ended into a lot of decks that just had as many 5/3s as possible and played keep away. And while cards like Bologna are banned, I think it shows us where we kind of want 5/3s to more be. Like, sure, they can have defensive text, but also give them a reason to score these things out. Bologna is a particularly egregious example of it because Bologna is pretty overtuned, and obviously it's banned right now. But I do think in terms of decks that are just hiding agendas and trying to play the game on another axis, we're actually seeing far fewer of those than we have in any other meta I remember. And that's because the 5/3s are a bit more proactive, pretty good. I think a lot of decks want to score out agendas. There's not that many decks that are on strict mill. If there's something I'm forgetting, let me know. But Fenrir Steve, very common. Yo, it's Lawson. How's it going? Yeah, Steve, DJ Steve, labor rights. All of these things are huge reasons why it's hard to grind someone out. If Steve Cambridge comes down into a PE matchup, you can generally run HQ. Maybe you run out revolver counters, but this is like plus 10 cards, no problem. Labor rights is plus 3 cards. That's a bit more specific, but Spiff, how's it going? I lost a true PE grinder in a UK regional. I was very sad. That was the only time I've seen it. Yeah. I'm not convinced that it's like the best thing to do in the meta. I'm not even convinced it exists. I do think you can still play that sort of like Jinteki.net casual ass deck where you play every single card that has the word net damage on it, right? Like the sort of people that get excited about Amor, not value neutral statement. And like, cool. I don't think it's particularly good. And generally runners have stronger win conditions. Most decks have stronger win conditions. Most Shaper decks do. Like Deep Dive is really common right now. Not this one, but the other one. So like you can't just sit there. Like they will win eventually. One wonders what Aaron is taking to Worlds. Like Shu? I don't think Shu's going to Worlds, unfortunately. At least I don't want to say that because I don't have a confirmation, but I'm not sure that she is. She doesn't play Grinder though. Like Loud is not a Grinder deck. Loud is like a weird tempo deck. They're sort of like Piranha decks. Like they set up win conditions, they set up board states, they want to put their asses on the table and they'll build a lock, but they're generally not grinding you down, I don't think. Hey, Andre, what are we doing today? NPA grinder? No, we're not. We're just answering a question. I think, but I know you did a very similar thing on your stream. I haven't caught all of it. But before Worlds, we generally do a bit of a meta recap. If you want to watch a meta recap, I know I watched the first like 20 minutes of it. Ba did on his stream yesterday. It's pretty good. So definitely check that out. I should have a link in the description if I don't forget. Bink, how's it going? Hey, yo, real quick, big question at the top of the channel. These are our videos we've been putting out pretty consistently 2 a week. We're actually going to put out 1 tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken, because otherwise lower finals was on Monday. That means the finals is scheduled on Saturday. And I don't want to put the finals on the same time that Worlds is up because I want you to watch Worlds. So I am going to upload it tomorrow morning at 10:15. The finals, maybe there's another video with grand finals. That's always pretty interesting. Sometimes I put them all in one video. Depends how long the games are. But that will be tomorrow. Now, what I'm asking here is a bit of a publishing question because I'm not sure I'm doing the best job here. I like how the thumbnails look, but if you read the titles, it says the NPC Montreal Top Cut Lower Finals, Yasengrin Acer Group versus Paul Lat. My guess is that the majority of viewers who are newer to Netrunner or new to this channel or who are casually enjoying tabletop play, which is a big part of why I want to make these as accessible as possible, don't care about Yasengrin or Paul, and they more care about the identities. They log online and want to say like, oh, I want to see some criminal play. So they're looking like, oh, 419, that's a criminal. Mercury, that's a criminal. Like, that's my guess. And they care less about the players and they care more about the identities. Now, obviously, the identities are doing a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to the thumbnail. But I'm pretty sure when people search for, like, I don't think brackets change SEO on a YouTube title. I'm just assuming, like, is it more correct or less correct to swap the prominence of the player's name versus the identity? My guess is the more casual audience, which is the bigger audience, cares more about the identities and less so about the actual names of the players, that I probably should flip the emphasis. I don't care about Yasengrin either. One of us. Hey, Solomir, how's the cruise? How's the tablet holding up? I stole your title structure from some regional contents. I like the player names. I'd say swap. Thanks, Alex. I'm not sure what side to be on, because like I like the player names because I know these players. Either they're locals or they're like obviously top cut. Some of these are more known names. I like it also if it's a name that you don't know that is making into a video. That's kind of cool. That's kind of exciting. But I'm pretty sure for the majority of the audience, the player names don't matter. I did name ID versus name ID as well, but I'm interested to see what people say. Yeah. Like at the end of the day, I don't know if it makes a huge difference. I guess I could A/B test it, but it's hard to A/B test it with the finals because the finals is the finals. More people watch the finals than most of the rest of the series for obvious reasons. Hey, Meteor, it's been a while since I got a stream. Welcome to stream. Hey, Vixby, I don't mind either way. I watched them all. Really fantastic job on the commentary and edits. Thank you. It's been a lot of work to put the series together, and I've been really jazzed at how it turned out. I don't think I have the headroom to fix this, but I kind of am interested to like film some off-table worlds games to edit it to this sort of style, because the editing process has become a lot more refined and easy, and I have a new machine. So editing takes me a fraction of what it used to take. It still takes a long time, like don't get that twisted, but like it's kind of more enjoyable to do because it actually happens at a speed that isn't a bit frustrating. So I'm kind of gonna miss this. Like come tomorrow or the grand finals, once it's all done, I'll be like, oh, okay, I guess we're going back to JNet gameplay. Which like that's not bad. I do think this takes up more of my video time, and the video time could be doing anything, but yeah, I don't know. I really like this, and I think it makes tabletop play really approachable. I think there's been a lot of really good tabletop play stuff on YouTube in general, not even just my channel. Shout out to like Neon Static, shout out to QTM, shout out to the Australian folks are putting up some stuff up. There's an Australian channel. Oh, I'm not subscribed to it here. That recently went up. I think Northern Australian. It's been doing some good stuff too. My machine blue screens 2 to 5 times I try to render a video. Yep, you know how it is. Sometimes just like getting a render out is hard. Like it's wild. It's wild how much like garbage you run into with video work. TMK of Netrunner, oh, it's right there. Let me just catch up on chat really quickly. Hey Moose, I'm very new to Netrunner and your channel, and I much prefer as it is now. I would like playlists for like criminal matches, etc. Oh, that's cool. That's an interesting idea, Moose. How's it going? Welcome to Netrunner, by the way. I don't think my playlists are great. They're not bad. The problem is like the prominence of the front page. I do not know what to do here, okay? So if you ask me, hey, I'm a newer player, what should I watch? There's always the past live streams and videos. I think those are important to have at the top to know the channel is doing something. Maybe that's wrong. Then next up is my system gateway reviews, which I think are probably, if I was new to the game, one of the first places I would want to jump in. Then there's Canadian Nationals 2023. I think I need to move this down. There's no way that this should be this high up. Deck dives, I reversed the order of these, I think. Yeah, so these are now in reverse order. It used to show the oldest one first. I just recently flipped that. I think that's better. I think this needs to be higher up, and not 7 tips, because 7 tips is on the front page, but like the fundamental videos, find the agendas. I think those are 2 of the best pieces on the channel in terms of getting better at the game. And then like timing structures and stuff like that. I think lead the dance is also obviously very good. And this stuff is like neat, and it's okay, it's here, but none of this stuff, like I don't think people click through this stuff. Unboxings, like I don't know if this matters, but yeah, I do think I need to restructure this because it might not be the easiest. For what it's worth, I do think I've tagged stuff. So if you want to search a criminal matchup, can you just do this? No, not really. Shit. Yeah, I might be able to tag stuff. It's going to be a lot of work, but I do think people want to be able to search things for sure. Hey Dragon, I'm heading to World's first organized play tourney for me. Yo, welcome. But only will be there on Sunday to only can play Startup. Did you ever stream your end of Startup week recap thoughts? No, I didn't. We didn't get to it because I think we had Patton on the Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. It kind of derailed the structure of things for better or for worse. I mean that for better. Firstly, you can show up just on Sunday to play at Worlds. There's a cheaper ticket, I think, if you show up for just one day. So if you want to show up on Sunday and play just side events and Startup, you can do that if you don't want to play Standard. And yeah, that's cool. I think that's great. My recap thoughts on Startup. I don't think I have a really nice structured one because it's been a minute and I haven't sat down to think about it. I think if you want to go top of the dome, my Startup predictions is I need to explore more of it. I think overall, I probably am going to, it's a weird format because I think I'm going to enjoy playing Runner way more than I'm going to play Corp. I think the corporation win conditions in the format are pretty narrow comparatively to Standard. And the sort of power cards and the fact that like draw is really weak. Like I thought that playing Corporation was not very fun. It felt like a lower power format in a way that was frustrating, where like you spent a lot of your turns not doing much. And if you played too slow, it felt like you were behind runners. And if you're behind runners, you didn't want to be there. That was from minimal playing of Startup. My Corp matchup take is like, I don't think I enjoyed Startup Corp that much. Startup Runner was fine. I think the card pool is really weird because there's just like some inherent problems that maybe engender creativity. Like there's no Anarch console that's like clearly playable. I do think almost all the identities, barring some of the Ashes stuff, can see play, and that's pretty cool. And you have some exciting options of what you want to do. Like Lily Pad Anarch seemed reasonable in startup, and like that's kind of fun. I do think a lot of the card pool is playable. I don't think all of the runner card pool is playable. On the corp side, though, I think it's just much harder. I think it's much more difficult to take a small card pool and win against a runner card pool, especially because I think Shaper is just cracked. Like, I think Shaper is just so much better in the faction than anything else. Like, the Shaper decks don't feel that different than standard. So I don't know. I need to play more of it. I think startup is cool. I think people are going to enjoy it. I don't know if people are going to play startup forever. Like, I think at some point, if you want to see a wider card pool, come to standard. It's cool. But I like the curation team is making it palatable, because I've heard it wasn't palatable before. But it is not a format that if someone said you had to play startup, I'd be like, damn. I'd be like, oh, cool, let's check it out again. It's fine. It's obviously not for me. Like, I want to be very clear. The format's not made for me. And that's a big part of this conversation. I think it's fun to humanize the match, and it links well to your introduction of the players in the commentary. Hey, Jordan. Looking for some deck building guidance. Dragon, when it comes to startup specifically, I still have the names. I think this, Criminal, I'll watch that. The player was cool. Let me look them up next time versus Who's This and not care who moved past. Like, I think you actually can look up a player on this channel and it should work. Like, these are all the games that Paul has played in, which is kind of wild. I don't know why Paul's name is showing up this old, but like, that's kind of neat. I think that's kind of cool. I didn't put the name of the ID in my video titles. Maybe I should. Oh, Ryan. Yeah, you definitely should. It's easy to change it, for sure. The thumbnail does the heavy lifting. I think it does, yeah. Running hottest Australian channel. Yeah, that does sound right. I haven't watched too many of it, but I know it got linked recently. I'll just subscribe to that. Running Cont Netrunner, search it up. These are, I believe, Northern Australian players. They just put a video 2 hours ago. It's only 10 minutes. I don't think that might have went well for one of these players, but they seem nice. Yeah, seems clean. I like it. Yo, Rowan. Hey, greetings from Vancouver. Finish up my pre-Worlds holiday. Excited to see folks on SF. I'm so super stoked that you're traveling in. It's going to be nice to see you again. I know that you're judging, right? Can videos be out into multiple playlists? Yes, they can, Joe. I can put them in as many playlists as I want. I don't know if there's a limit. I initially thought it was a shame not to get a stream or the videos just after the event, but it's so polished and good quality. It's really worth the wait and hopefully worth the time and work. Hey, Fixby, thanks for those comments. That is the sort of thing, is like, I'm assuming this is the struggle to some extent when it comes to like live Netrunner and gameplay, okay? We have done live streams of really good in-person events. So I think the last in-person live event we've streamed, by we stream, I want to be very clear. I mean, Kato has streamed, like Flighty EMEA. It's a 7.5 hour thing. This was great. This was an in-person event. We streamed this with the help of like Etienne and folks from Italy. And then the last one previously, the one I was thinking of, was Sovereign of Subways, which was streamed in spot from New York City from Kato. And it's a great production. It's about 8 hours and people don't watch it. People don't watch old streams, first because it's 8 hours and that's not that easy to watch. It might serve me well if I cared about view hunting to actually like break this down into multiple videos and upload them separately. And I think people would watch it. Like, here's round one on its own. That's probably a learnable thing that I should do. But this stream was great. The gameplay were good. We got to see Sokka a couple times. We got to see Sokka lose to some like newer players. We got to see, I think it was Nightcry too. It was sick. But we got to see like a lot of really cool stuff. It was a great tournament. It was great energy, great vibe. But people don't watch this. And if you take the time and break it out to approachable videos that are like, you can watch one every lunchtime if you want to, the viewership stays relevant forever. And I'm not saying that because I want viewership, but I want people to see that Netrunner, tabletop Netrunner players, really, really cool, really approachable. You can appreciate what players are doing with a bit of explanation from casters. Yeah, it's a huge difference. It's like sometimes just live streams of like big tournaments, they're great because you can do a lot of content with less effort because you don't have to edit it, but they just kind of go somewhere. They don't exist anywhere else. They just die. I recently made a learning material playlist for my channel, but yeah, your tips list should probably be higher. Eric, how did your video recently do about the things that people are doing wrong? I probably do current, then tips, then deep dives. Maybe most people know you're a great resource to learn. It's why I started watching. Alex, that's very kind. Thank you. I just think like I need to make it as easy as possible for people to come to the channel and immediately click on the thing that I think that they're going to want to continue to invest into the channel. If someone clicks into this and then watches like, I don't know. Yeah, the last streams have actually been pretty good, honestly. But like, yeah, I don't know. I do think people like look at one video for 20 seconds and make a decision on the channel. Maybe that's a bit petty. I don't know. Maybe that's not accurate. Am I being blamed for something? Find the genders and lead the are fantastic. Maybe those should be easier to find. I agree, Ryan. And a lot of times we get questions on the channel and I should be like, this is the first thing you should watch. And if that is the thing that I'm saying to people, they should not be that far on the bottom. If I do think that's the first video you should watch to understand fundamentals, they should be way closer to the top. Starter pricing looks so cool. I have no idea what to bring. Oh, Sophie, the starter pricing looks so good. Arguably too good. Oh, hey, can I shout this out for the starter pricing? Wait, I think I still have this button. This is a small thing that I looked up and the artist nailed it. Give me 1 second. Not worth the effort, but we're gonna do it. They say policia on the police cruisers, right? In your local area that you live, which way is the text? Because half of the time, in certain nations, in certain municipalities, the text on the front of the emergency vehicle is written mirrored so that you can read it in your rear view mirror clearly. In Brazil, it is not. They did it right. This is correct. But in a lot of places, it is actually backwards. I don't know if that was an accident or the artist checked, but technically in Brazil, Brazilian police cars, from my understanding, and this still might be on a municipal, policia is written the way that you would read it. Here, ambulance going by right now, ambulance is written backwards. I don't think that's super uncommon. I remember looking at that when the art was up, and then we didn't shout it out during the art scoops, but I thought that was really funny that they nailed the research there. I don't get why to play Crim or Lou Anarch and Startup right now. It feels like Seb or Green. The Corp more interesting. That's the big thing about like startup too. Is like there's a difference between what you want to play if you want to win a competitive startup event or what you want to play for fun. I do think startup probably has a bit more of a focus on for fun format, which means like as long as everybody can build a deck, it's fine. I'm judging No Fear round 1 COS pairing this year. Oh, I swear to God. If I show up around COS when I see you there. Hey, see you in SF this week. Changeling, how's Amelia doing? I saw a photo this morning. I see you in a week too. This is super exciting. Hey, Brightsides, I watched them. Okay, glad you like them. You could probably just cut them on the YouTube backend. Yeah, Kato, I've never done that before. I probably should do that. I think that would be better. I think that's a learning going forward. If we ever stream a big event, we should just cut it down to multiple videos. I tried watching NSG streams and I ended up breaking them down anyways. I think NSG, like, so NSG, null signal, I should just have it, whatever. I don't know. I think NSG should do the same thing. I think null signal games has a lot to gain to make a YouTube channel that is like super popular and super great. Obviously that's like, what are you saying? Of course it is. But like these videos could easily be broken down and I think they would be served way better to a bigger audience because a 9-hour video on their channel is like, I don't think that's a good practice. And the average video length on their YouTube channel is like 9 hours. I want to be very clear. The fact that they're uploading VODs is phenomenal on its own. But I do think like the thumbnail game is stepping up a bit. I do think there's now new management here, but there's a lot to be done on Null Signal channel. To some extent, I was interested in applying for the media position, but like also to some extent, I think having a separation from me and Null Signals is probably important for some sort of journalistic something or other. That's not, you know what I mean? But like, yeah, I think this stuff could and should probably be broken down. It's a lot of work though. I'm not gonna pretend it's not. Worlds. Alec, how's it going? Oh, I got some merch. I got a lot of merch. We spent this whole weekend making merch. Should we show it now? Yeah, just let me catch up on chat and I'll show some merch stuff really quickly. I watched your old stream, but never watched videos when the card pool was older. Hey, Carrie. Every once in a while, I get recommended, like real talk. Every once in a while, I get recommended streams and videos from the channel. The channel is like 10 years old. Okay, it's like 9 years old, but the Métropole Grid channel is really old. And so sometimes I'll get a video or a live stream, like a review from Katara Cycle Packs or a live stream from 2017. I sound so different. I don't think I like myself. Like, I think if I turned on content and it was that young dickhead talking in the tone he did, I would be like, I'm good. I'm going to watch something else. But I do not know what happened between now and then. It is technically the same guy, obviously, but it's weird to have a capsule like this of, 9 years. Like, I'm not even at the 9-year point. We're at 4 years in. But the old stuff is like really, really, really weird to me. Oh, yo, it's Roberto. I miss Roberto. Roberto is such a cool dude. I haven't seen him in a long time. Roberto used to be a super regular competitive grinder too. Just the nicest dude. I haven't seen him in many, many moons. Look at that 3 Rizekis. What a beautiful life we live. 3 Rizekis against next activation, whatever. If you haven't watched Eric's video about new player mistakes, you should. It's fun. It's a really good tone. Lucas, how's it going? It's really, really fun. I saw one of the Gateway reviews and loved the passion. Yeah, the Gateway reviews I think are great. Sorry, we're all over the place. I recently picked up some Legend of the Five Rings product. because one of my favorite things to do is learn a game from zero. I know nothing about Legend of the Five Rings besides all the like pre-existing issues that the game had, lol. But I know nothing about the game, and then I picked up a core set and then trying to understand how to play the game, what fundamentals work, how to build the deck. And I love being in a situation where you know nothing, because it puts you in the same thing where I'm on YouTube and I'm trying to find the content that I would appreciate as a newer player. And I just want to take a second to shout out Team Covenant. Oh my God, this channel exists largely because of Team Covenant, but Team Covenant sitting down and playing L5R game 1, this hour-and-a-half video of just the two of them sitting down and playing the game with only a 3-camera setup, and just explaining what they're doing. The tone is great. They explain all the interactions. They get 1 or 2 rules wrong, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I want to show the gameplay. This is the best content for learning the game. Oh my God, this is so good. I am so jealous about this. I think there's a big chance that over the next year, we're going to try and set up some in-person play stuff here if we can. We don't have a big space, but like, this is just so unbelievably good for learning the game. And like, I wish there was like a system gateway review. Like I wish there was a core set review video that someone goes through all the stuff and talks about it. I found a couple channels for L5R, and L5R is so weird because L5R went out of print, I think in 2019, maybe. And so it existed for, I think maybe 4 years, maybe not even. Netrunner DB for L5R doesn't exist. It went down. It doesn't exist. So if I'm trying to look up core set only decks that also include like the first data pack or whatever the, you know, dynasty packs, I think they're called L5R, that whole memory on the internet is gone. It's so weird to have a game where the conversations and the history behind it are just gone. It's like a ghost town out there. It is so bizarre. And so I'm struggling. I'm like, hey, if I got the first cycle and like 2 core sets, how do I build a deck? There's just no information out there for me. And I just like immersing myself in these situations as a newer player to understand, what does a newer player like me think? What do I want out of the game? What would be the video that would make me more excited and get more out of the game and make me engage? And right now, currently my quest to like figure out how to play a good game of L5R is hopefully helping me make better Netrunner content down the line. We can only hope. My common mistake video capped out about 1K views, which is maybe twice as many views as the weekend average. I got us a lot of subscribers though. YT stats are funky. Yeah. It's largely been my experience that almost no videos ever gain views unless it's how to play or teaching videos. Almost every view I get from the past 3 months as a system gateway. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a bump too, Eric, because of Team Covenant stuff. And I know, not Team Covenant, shut up and sit down. I'm in the same boat. All my videos are just worse versions of Team Covenant videos. Ryan, no, I don't think so. Wait, I don't know all your videos down, but I'm excited to see them. But it's wild. It's really, really weird. Why can't I play ESA and 9ERH? Oh, and Startup? Startup is spooky. I'm really behind on chat, excuse me. I wanted all the attention, wanting all the attention this morning. Oh, Amelia's great. Hey, David, how's it going? I will not be at Worlds, but I hope you guys have all the fun. Thank you, David. I know that you're still pretty far away there, but maybe in the following year. Hopefully you're doing well too. Let's be fair, no new player will watch a 9-hour video. No, they're not. No new player is going to get into null signal games and turn on a 9-hour JNet tournament, right? Like, I'm glad the content exists, but a 9-hour Jinteki.net tournament is not good content for new players. Now, not all content is for new players, but yeah, I'm stoked for Worlds. Me too, Alec. I'm probably not only good for people looking, but I'm guessing YouTube is very against supporting 9-hour videos to people. I don't know. I keep getting recommended the same H-Bomber guy videos I've seen before. They're still very good. I've been channel following your Twitch for nearly 8 years now. That sounds about right, Alec. I appreciate it. It's your mustache? Okay, how's it going? I lied. I did watch some video where you and Pat don't have mustache. Yeah. That young dickhead. Just rename your 9-hour live stream to a video essay name like Netrunner is the best card game, and here's why. Yo, Utani, that's a great idea, actually. I just need to make it a video essay, and then people will watch all 9 hours. I'm happy to teach FFG L5R at some point. Thank you, Chenchling. Rip to the game, though. Team Covenant's old Netrunner videos are amazing, too. Yes, I think this channel largely exists because I enjoyed Team Covenant's Netrunner unboxings, even specifically. We did unboxings like Team Covenant for a while on the channel, where we went to a game store that one of our friends owned, and we did unboxings just like they did. That was great. Sorry that you're learning L5R, Andre, but did you want someone to sit down and play digital L5R cards with? Hit me up. Thank you, David. It's going okay. I love Metropole unboxing videos. They were fun. But again, that young dickhead with his tone. I don't understand how people liked it. Hey Colin, Card Game DB has some L5R stuff. That is the only conversation I've seen that still exists in the game is still on Card Game DB, which is pretty wild because that website's not that good. But it was bought by Fantasy Flight Games. All right, we're going to be diving into a recap to talk about Worlds meta stuff and considerations going into Worlds, and just do like a basic idea of what you should know going into Worlds, either as a player, but also very specifically as a spectator. I am very happy to be on the casting team for Worlds. I have a schedule. I won't be on most rounds. Well, no, I won't be on every round. I'll be around. I'm there. I'll be around for sure, but we'll be casting generally with always somebody else or be on the couch or something. I'm super stoked. I am playing on Friday for the COS tournament. Shout out to both Rohit and Analyze Chris, my teammates. We've largely locked in decks. That's a lie. But I'm excited for that. But otherwise, I will be casting. I don't have confirmation, but twitch.tv/nullsignalnetrunner, they will be streamed there. It looks like there are rumors that it also might be streamed on YouTube. I think YouTube is a much better platform for streaming content, especially tournament content, because firstly, YouTube just has a bigger reach modernly. I don't think Twitch is particularly good at getting people to find your channel. YouTube is a bit better on that front, but also you can rewind on YouTube. That's really good. When there's a break, you can go back and watch old content. You can be like, I'll check out what round one is. I'll rewind that turn. Like YouTube, the fact that you don't have to watch live is both a blessing, sometimes a curse, because sometimes you're writing comments and be all like, Jeff, why did you do this? And you're 20 minutes in the past and you don't want to do that. But that's really good. So that will be coming up really soon. So we want to do a little talk here to talk about what we expect to see at Worlds on both sides of the table, so you have a better understanding of what to bring to Worlds, what to prepare for Worlds, and also if you're watching, how you can enjoy Worlds and understand what's going on some of those tables, as much as it is our jobs as casters to make that as approachable as possible. Care for the 12-hour cap and stream vids for YouTube though? Oh yeah, there is a 12-hour cap. That should not be a problem. But Joe, that's very good to remember that. Driving exam passed, first try, good luck everyone else. Oh, yo, David, congrats to you and yours. Hopefully that newfound freedom is well used. We're aware, okay. The three of you in the store talking about cards was a good time. I really enjoyed those. Hey, Ba, I probably told you the story before, but one of the reasons I got into Netrunner so hard was watching some young dickhead play bug out bag plus bag biter decks. Yeah, Ba, that is pretty on brand for your channel too. I really like that. That landed so hard, but hell yeah, that's sick. That's really cool. Okay, before we go then, we're just going to do a bit of a recap on the merch situation because we've been really busy and we have some stuff to show off really quickly. I'm going to go to the wide camera, which is this one. Welcome to this room. There's a bit more cabling than normally. We're going to be selling some merch at Worlds. This is our first time doing it, and I'll be honest, don't know if we're doing the best job, but we're trying our damn hardest, and I'd love any feedback. For those who are going to Worlds, this stuff will be available. I'm pretty sure to some extent we'll get feedback about this and do more of this stuff in the future for other type events. So if you're a big Métropole Grid fan, and you can't pick up something really nice, or you can't send someone to pick something up on your behalf, apologies for that, but we're trying it. We're learning this. We're not really a business just yet, but we're just kind of doing this. We made a little sign to explain how things are going. Official merch, that's me. Shout out to Matt Zellinger. This art is not for sale. We're very clear on the bottom of this. This is not for sale. You wanted to use the art and make a thumbnail. Official merch, we have handmade pins for $3 and sticker sheets for $6. It says merch art designed by Maddie, and there's a little picture of Nanico there, which is also available. This will be on a thing. Null Signal Games is going to be running the store. So what we've seen a bit of it already. So just so you know, on the same page, we have these sticker sheets. Where's the shirt sale? There are no shirts, unfortunately. Actually, we did not have time to make merch like that. We shot this out last week. These turned out really nice. These are Métropole Grid sticker sheets. It's just $6. I think one of the learnings is that we are just charging too little for merch, which like that's maybe a good problem. But I do think a lot of people like $6 for a sticker sheet is probably too little, is my guess. We're still like making money off this technically, but whatever. It's a good problem to run into to some extent, but these should be accessible. We didn't make that many of these though, potentially. Like that's the problem. I'm very bad at guessing what demand is for stuff because I don't believe in myself. I don't believe in the brand. So we only have like 47 of these. If they sell out, apologies, not much I can do about that, but I'll keep that in mind for the future going forward. But please grab these sooner than later if they do sell out. I don't know if they will. I don't think they will. They might, they could. I don't know how many people go to Worlds, whatever. These sticker sheets are great. All the art on the sticker sheet, barring the titles, Maddie made originally from. There's Cat, Rango, Eye, Wolf, Beans, Boomerang. That will make sense for some. And then a bunch of Métropole Grid stuff. Also a little snare with a heart. There's logos and stuff, and then best of luck, have fun, thumb lung, undo click, all the sort of like staple stuff. We've shown these before. These turned out really quite nice. Show some love to this man. Hey, Paley, how's it going? Now, the thing that we finished this weekend, which took a lot of time, is we handmade these badges. What do we call them? We called them pins. Okay, pins, badges, buttons. People call them the same thing. And to understand what that means, just to show you, we bought this machine. These exist in the makerspace, and it is a giant metal machine that you use to make pins. So you basically put in your art, you put in a metal thing, you cover it with a mylar layer, you crank it in here, you slide it over, you put in a pin back, you crank this down. I have calluses on my hands. My hands have been messed up because we did this for a lot of the weekend to make a whole bunch of pins. I just want to be very clear that the merch we're making is just handmade. That is not a fight against people who don't make handmade stuff, but we want to make something cute that you can't get anywhere else. So we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it. The machine worked fine. We ran into some technical issues. We destroyed a lot of pins, unfortunately. I hate that's the case, but if you ruin it, you ruin it. You can't fix it. But we figured it out, and we've made about 140 pins, which is pretty great. The designs are very similar to the stickers, but slightly different. These are only $3, which I do think is, again, maybe we're not charging enough. I'm also not going to be at the store selling these. It's null signal games, so they're going to run into some problems really quickly. So for instance, firstly, we have the classic thinking pin with a little, hourglass behind it. It says thinking in Métropole Grid orange. But then next to it, in the same sort of bin, but smaller, and there's fewer of them, there's the exact same pin, but it says Thomlong on it. I have no doubt that whoever's at the null signal booth is accidentally going to give people Thomlong when they want a thinking. And I think that's just great. I think that's really, really good. If you want a Thomlong, there's less of them, but they're in there. So I think that might be a problem eventually for somebody, but who knows? We made a whole bunch of just the Métropole Grid ones. If you want to just rep the brand, that's fun. We have beans, which is great. Just beans on it. We realized in printing that the green font did not print well, so all the text is only in orange. I think the green, we love it to look better, but the prints just didn't come out well, so it's mostly orange text. We have the second wolf, Wolf 2, if you want to kind of send it. We have a bunch of these. We have the classic GLHF, or for those who want. We have a cards in hand question. Some nice hand-drawn cards. If you ever want to ask that, always friend your opponent like it. Classic undo click for those who've messed it up. Never done that. And then we have a couple which are just to specifically support a local cat. We have Nanico, a little happy Nanico, and then we have a little button-eyed Nanico there. These are just made because they were cute. If you want to support Nanico, we have Nanico pins, but otherwise the rest of everything else is Netrunner-based stuff. The cat is just our local cat. I've also made some goofy other merch, which I'm not going to show on the channel because it's embarrassing. That is not for sale. That I'll just be giving out and doing fun stuff with. But we made some other pins that are like way more silly that I'm not selling for sure. But this stuff will all be there. This is all we have. So once this sells out, it's gone. I have no idea how well this is going to sell. But if you want some Netrunner stuff, it'll all be there. These are handmade. They're only $3. I think they turned out really, really great. We have a couple other like prototypes that I'll have on me. I don't think these are going to be for sale, but we have some with like multiple colors. Again, the green didn't turn out that well. It looks better here. Most of it's orange and red. Are there any burbs available for trade or sale? Definitely no. Maddie is way burbed out. She made like 40 of them. I'm not going to ask her to make another one. She's laughing in the other room. She heard that. But no, there are no extra burbs going in. Any weird K? They all are weird K. 100% K is the weirdest it can be. You can see it on undo click very easily. I think that's the only one it shows up on. Yeah, it might be only on undo click. But yeah, the K is the canonical strange K. And these turned out. I think some of them have plastic backs, but usually metal backs. They're nice. And they're totally like waterproof. They're weather resistant. They're as good as the ones that you would buy from a commercial, whatever. That's it. That's our merch. We're going to send all that stuff down. Shout out to Null Signal Games store for helping people put stuff up. If you want to see other great stuff that is going to be in the marketplace, go to the Discord channel, and people are already posting some of their arts and stuff. So like Neon Static has their bravados. They have token sets if you want to buy the poker chips. I saw Alexis also, she has her own button press, so she seems to be making some themed buttons for factions, which we didn't do that. We probably should have. Those would probably sell well. PyCat will be there, so maybe, oh yeah, there's gonna be a lot of other good stuff there. You can see a list. I think the Tag Mill, which is a collective in the UK, makes some really great Netrunner alt arts and art. They're showing all the stuff they have for sale there too. So there's gonna be a lot of great stuff. Obviously, the World Store last year was killer, and this year it's probably only gonna be better. That's it. It's a long weekend. I got blisters. It was a lot of work, but it was really fun. The process took a while, but we figured it out. Besides decks, playmat, and tokens, is there anything I should bring to Worlds? Yes, bring sleeves. Bring new sleeves, ideally, and then bring extra sleeves with you. Bring an extra deck box because you're going to get promos and you're going to get prizes and you're going to get stuff that you might buy. So you want to store those somewhere. So, and you don't want to put them in your deck box to not make a mistake. So bring an extra deck box. Bring water and bring Tylenol and bring snacks. Bring some hand sanitizer. But one of the best things you can do is actually bring extra sleeves. Don't always bring extra sleeves. And bring new sleeves. Don't bring the sleeves that you've been bringing to your casuals for the last, like, you don't want to have a marked deck and lose a game of Worlds for that. Like, just if you can, I know it's a bit of money, but please bring new sleeves always. Water's good, snacks are good, Tylenol is good. I have a video up on the channel talking about going to a big event. I probably should plug it again. It's a bit longer than it probably should be. I wish this video might have been a bit more succinct, but such is the Metropole Grid. Always be sleeving. Yeah, but we have a video called like you're going to a big event or something. And it basically recaps everything you should do. Oh, big tournament advice, yeah. So you're going to Worlds. I would watch this if you can. It tells you everything that you need to do when you're bringing your stuff to Worlds. Be careful, it's a competitive event. COS isn't exactly, I don't think. But Worlds definitely is a competitive event, so the standards on what are acceptable alt arts are probably going to be the highest it's ever been in a while. Eric's StimHack article is really good. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, there's some good StimHack articles about like going to an event. I don't know how to find it. Probably this. Whiteblade. Yo, you guys going to Worlds? Whiteblade? Yeah, Whiteblade 1-1. This is probably really good too. Yeah. Understanding also, like, I would go in with an understanding of what the prize support brackets are if you're aiming for something, but in single-sided Swiss, it's not like you can really ID for those, so ignore the DSS stuff. Yeah, ignore all the DSS stuff. Let me catch up on chat really quickly. I both hate and respect your stream, the weird game. See, how's it going? In the office, straight cranking it, and by it, I mean my pin maker. Honestly, I was just cranking it all weekend. Maddie just said ew from the other room. Someone's gonna use these as click trackers. You can. You definitely could. Yeah, you definitely could. I can't stop you from doing it. It's not the best idea. We demand blood pins. Is this Andre? I think it's Andre. How's it going? Snarehead and undo click or peek. They're really good. Maddie hand drew all that art there, so all the icons, the cat, the wolf, the snare, the eye. Snarehead is pretty cool. All right. $10 would have been fine. Yeah, I think we might have been charging too little for merch. I'm okay with that. Like, if that is what it is, that's an okay problem to run into. It's better than charging too much, right? Real fans want a Metropole Grid t-shirt. Actually, you're not wrong. I want more Metropole Grid merch for myself. The best you can do is get your own red t-shirt and put a pin on it for now. Bad answer, but I do think that's something to look into. I just don't know how to do it in a way that I feel happy about. It's kind of hard. But I want just like a Metropole Grid hoodie. I'm always here. Like, it's winter most of the time here. I want to wear a sweater. Recommend checking your non-standard arts with judges before the event starts. Yeah, that's probably worth doing. The only one you may be able to ID for is top half. Oh, that's true. Yeah, that is true. Okay. You ready? How's everyone feeling for Worlds? You want to do a Worlds recap? Pause for interaction. What if I just buy a blank t-shirt and paint it myself? If you make like a legal Metropole Grid merch, I will probably endorse it. Like I'll sign it. I mean clothing, not pins. If it's pins legally, will be sent after you. Oh, recap? Yeah, like a meta recap. Where's Melandrijan Budmon? The recap? Missing. Definitely missing. She has sailed off to sea. All right, let's do it. I feel like in my nose, I'm going to be like doing that gross nose sound for a minute now. So we need to stabilize. Stop breathing entirely. This is fine. This part will be before the timestamp, so nobody will see this. Pam got the results a week before. Red shirt with weird K on the Metropole Grid font is a joke, but it's a normal K and not the Metropole Grid, so we aren't infringing on your brand. As long as you do the K correctly, there's no way you can infringe on the brand. It's like that easy. Just tell us if Sokka three-peats. I think there's a big chance Sokka three-peats. Obviously, every year there's a chance that Sokka three-peats. As that number gets higher, it becomes less likely. That's just numbers, I think. Are they related to incidents? I don't know. Oh, stats. But yeah, Sokka could do it for sure. I don't know what Sokka's cooking. And like, I'm not on Sokka's testing group. I don't ask William what he's up to. But I think there's a chance that Sokka... Like, I want to be very clear at the top. Rodham's going, that's all we need to know. Patrick will be there. There's a big chance that... Like, Worlds last year was won by a weird deck. Right? Like, Sokka showed up, wasn't originally his intention, but he played his BTL like Hyper Glacier at COS last year and was like, wait, this is actually pretty good. And then he changed to it last minute. I'm not sure what deck he was originally meant to bring. I don't know if it was Ace Group or not, but he changed lanes relatively late on into the fight, and it was a great choice. He got a bit fortunate that he didn't run into some of the terrible matchups. Essa's not a good matchup. I do think Sokka beat Essa twice, if I'm not mistaken. Mind you, all of NWE was on Essa. I think Essa was also popular from QTM players. But Arasana was not a matchup he ran into, and back in the day, Arasana Hush was the Arasana, and that's not the easiest matchup for sure. But still, hard fought. won the event. It's Sokka. What else can we say? Like, he played it really well, but it was close. And I genuinely think we're at the similar sort of meta, where while things are wide open, I do think it just takes one really cool deck building choice, one really cool ID choice to make a hard call on the meta. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw entire testing groups showing up with a certain archetype or a certain meta that was not expected, and that is a hard meta call, right? Like if all the tiebreakers show up and they're all on like, you know, Virus Imp Blue or something like that. Like I wouldn't be too super surprised, as long as you can obviously argue that it's a good enough matchup to a good enough part of the field, because I don't know if that's something people are testing against, and that obviously helps. So actually just says ... Like, I don't know what's going on, but I think we're at the point where like if one testing group just pivots to hard like Earth Station Glacier, like that is going to have a huge impact on the world's meta. And I think we're at a meta where those hard pivots can have an impact. Like I do think the meta is relatively volatile. As much as we know what the good decks are, I think making a call here is going to be a bit hard because the field is wide, but if you make a good call, it should pay out well. Not saying anything. Yeah, that's good. That's fine. You hype on Ice Destruction Hosh? Sort of, yeah. So hold on, let's do this in order. I think hype on Ice Destruction Hosh is like up and down. I think it has really good matchups. I think some of the matchups are a bit more tricky. I think understanding how much my virus is in faction, like, or seeing play is going to matter a fair bit with that deck. But that deck has some really good matchups into some very powerful decks, and then it has some matchups that are not that good. Soul Mason GLC and Narco's running it. Oh, Narco has the Betrunner app, if I'm not mistaken. Sokka's Secret Powers last minute meta call. He swapped IDs just before 2022 Worlds 2, right? Dave, I'm not sure about that. That sounds about accurate, though. I think Sokka made some changes in line last year. I think that's probably closer to the story, is that he changed the card while queuing for the line. The line at 2022 Worlds in Toronto was a bit longer than it usually is, so he had some good time to think about it. And I think he made a really big meta choice in line. Is it better to make a good deck for the meta or a deck that's orthogonal to the meta? I think that is the same thing, though, right? Like, isn't that the same? Like, is orthogonal and good not the same? It depends what your expectations are, okay? So I think if you're going to Worlds, a lot of people have different expectations. A lot of players would just be jazzed to get top half to get all of the card prize support from Standard. A lot of players would just be excited to be invited back for day 2. A lot of players would just like to win 2 games. And I think all of those different like expectations have different requirements on what you should consider. I think there's certain decks right now in the meta that can win in you know, Swiss, but have no chance in the top cut. I think the majority of players at Worlds are not going to be making decisions on what happens if they make the top cut at Worlds, because that's very hard to do. So I do think you're going to see a lot of people play Swiss type cheese decks. I think that's just going to happen because doing well in Swiss, this is a very good Swiss to do well in, if you say that. So I don't know if that means like play Snare in your HB deck, 3X, Sice and Don, Helheim servers. Like there can be some scary stuff you can build out there. Whether it's good into open deck lists, that's a different question. But a lot of people getting to the point where open deck lists is even a question is already a victory on its own. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to the winningest runner suddenly being Reg Hosh and everyone starts meta fears are proven true somehow. I think Reg Hosh is really good. I think Reg Hosh is totally fine. Especially for a wide field, Reg Hosh seems pretty good. Archer PD, yeah, exactly. Like just do anything. Just do something weird. I don't think Reg Hosh is the best matchup spread. Yes, Reg Hosh is a really good matchup spread. Actually, no, the bad matchup spread for Reg Hosh is probably Asmari is not very good, but you have to tech into it. Like Re-Education Asmari is not great for Hoshiko in general. My takeaway from the last 2 years of Worlds is that the field is always weirder and wilder than you expect. It's like kind of true. There's always a huge contingent of players who play their safety picks. So I'm assuming like PD is going to be there. Lad's going to be there. Kit's going to be there. Of course, they're going to be good. Ag Infusion's going to be there. Those are good decks that are probably not wrong to bring. But then there's going to be like, you know, testing groups, they'd be like, whoa, NWE's doing what? And then you'll find out. PD is not great for Reg Hosh. Maybe not bad. It's not awful. I think people can argue it's like a 60-60 matchup, if you know what I mean. But it's not terrible. I wouldn't feel awful in that matchup. Okay. So we're going to run through some IDs or some factions and talk about the decks that I think we have to run into. If we miss something, please call it out in chat. We'll be talking relatively quickly. If you have any questions, please hit me up. I'm reading the chat the whole damn time. We're going to just start at the top and we're going to go through it. I wish I could sort this by standard, but you can't for some reason. I don't know why, but let's go. I've been surprised not to see more Rosetta decks. I'm wondering if there could be some surprise decks with this kind of cards at Worlds. Yeah, I don't think Rosetta's that good. I think Rosetta needs something else like World Tree, and obviously that's good. I think just setting up as quick as possible is like, maybe that's something. I don't think a lot of people were sold on Rosetta. I don't even think Rosetta performed that well at the tournament showed up. It's just mid AF, yeah. Well, obviously Axie's going to say that, but yeah, I don't know. Hey, actually, what is the, actually, maybe Ba's still here. What is the call that Ba made about what's going to be in the top 16 of Worlds. Like, was it half the decks have to have powers that be in it? Because like I forgot that we were 2 days away or 3 days away from calling ball on that and getting you a free monster. You can get your rig on turn 3, but who cares? Yeah, you have to win really quickly because that deck has no economy in it. It just has like run events. Okay, Acer Group. Acer Group's really good. Acer Group has been really good. It was for Continentals. Oh, I thought it was for Worlds. Acer Group has been fantastic, and also I do think there's some mild case to understand that this identity rotates, and some folks want to really send it on the last like Acer journey that they can play competitively before this rotates early next year. There's a whole bunch of Acer decks. Actually, I think there's mostly 2 Acer decks that you have to play around. Firstly, 7 segments. I'm kidding. This sort of like Hollow Min Acer, Jai's name's attached to it. I think Jai's a fantastic player, enjoying his time on the West Coast right now, I'm imagining. I also saw Tuno play this really early in the event, in the new season. I played a Tuno's list. This list is just really good. It does some great tempo stuff. It has Hollow Min, which is a really strong way to score out agendas. The single biotic labor is good. I've seen people play more Tranquility Home Grids, less hedge funds. I think Restore is pretty nice. This deck is really kind of neat. I do think there's a lot of decks that can do well into this. Banhar is really interesting. Trashing assets is super important because of fully op, let alone just Asa in general. Powers That Be feels like a must trash. It probably is a must trash. This is the one thing that makes paying 7 credits for a 4-2 make a bit more sense. 8 credits for a 4-2 with Hollow Min make a bit more sense, is when they can build the board state back. I do think, I don't know, it's hard to like make changes to the HBI suite. I do think people understand what people are playing into and can make some like nice changes that can surprise people. I've seen people splash in like a single copy of Malia Zoloka to like blank Banhars and like Miss Bones and stuff like that. That might be a bit too cute, but the extra biotic labor, playing maybe a seamless launch. This is just a good archetype in general, and it's very interesting to play. It's robust. It gives you a bunch of outs. It has some bad matchups. I think Criminal Aggression is not really good into you. And I think there's going to be a bit more criminal at Worlds than you might expect. I still don't get how Hollow Min Asa has the money to res all its ice. This card's really good. It's a really good card. The thing is, like with this deck, it closes the game really quickly. Like very often, that's the thing with Hollow Min. It's like you can score out a 4-2 and then you're like, wait, I have a click left. And then you install your next card, Fire Tranquility Home Grid, and install an upgrade, right? Like it often goes from 0 points to 7 points within like a couple turns. It's pretty surprising. The other kind of card deck that we haven't seen a lot of is just like, I guess I can use the decklist search function. Is Ace Group just like Reg Ace Group, Anoetic Void Ace Group? This is probably the deck that Sokka might have played last year. I can't tell, but he did really well in this throughout the Continental season. And this is just like Reg Asa. I'm not convinced that this sort of deck is actually better than Reg PD. But with Asa, you give more avenues for the runner to misplay and kind of like not trash the right things, not run the right things. The more and more I've seen people play Asa, the more it's kind of come off as like a bit of a shell game deck where you just have to put good things on the table and just hope that they don't find the right thing, because you can generally build more servers than they can afford to check or face check or take risks. And a Blade of Barrier is obviously very good. So just playing like Anoetic, border control, whatever you want to do in Asa Group is also an option, as much as like acid versions are really, really good. Need some more salvo testing. Yeah, I think Boss shouted out the salvo testing deck. If you do see someone playing core damage Asa, just don't give them 8 credits. Just face check everything so they can't score out of salvo testing with Hollow Min. If they can, it's a problem for you, but I don't think it's the best Asa list as much as it is pretty fun. All right, none of this matters. Architects of Tomorrow. So there's going to be this big thing that we're going to call the Hyper Glacier Appendix. And the idea is that there's a chance that if you can make a hard call on what the decks you expect to see, Hyper Glacier could make some sense going into Worlds. Why? I don't know, because some people are on limited breaker options like Propeller and Revolver and Lat. Ooh, okay. I don't know, Anarch. Sometimes stacking enough ice can be ugly for Essa. I'm not 100% sure. But there's a contingent that the best Hyper Glacier deck in the meta could make sense at Worlds. It's up to you to cash that check in. Now, I'm a bit dubious that Architects of Tomorrow is the best Hyper Glacier deck you can play, because at the end of the day, there's only a limited amount of scaling to the deck. So if you do play against a Hoshiko that plays a Turbine and plays a Fixed Strength Breaker, enjoy them breaking your Ravana for 1 credit. Like, that's not going to be good for you, and you can't play the late game into that deck. So while Hyper Glacier is real, Architects of Tomorrow would not be my first choice. This is the last Worlds for Architects of Tomorrow, so do keep that in mind. And people are playing Architects of Tomorrow with things like Stegodon and stuff like that. I'm not a big fan of Stegodon as overall. I think actually I'm a huge anti-fan of Stegodon, and I just mean as its existence on cardboard in the world. But it's not the first deck. Like, I don't think I'd bring Stegodon to Worlds, because then I have to play Stegodons for 11 hours, and that sounds really bad for a lot of reasons. But just keep that in mind. We're going to come back to this idea of the Glacier idea, and the Glacier idea at Worlds is genuinely something that takes up a big part of my brain right now. And I don't know if AOT is the best option, but it's definitely an option. Lobkit murders Hyperglacier, she'll just run you over. No, Lobkit doesn't murder Hyperglacier. Especially if you play like Weyland Hyperglacier and you stack big barriers and a lot of barriers, like she does get taxed out. You can't make great runs, you can't run often, you will run out of counters. Let alone Trojan Horse. It's going to be expensive, but I'm not convinced Lobkit is the best into Hyperglacier. Lobe is probably better into AOT than some other stuff. AOT is fine versus 1 turbine, but 2 murders it. Should be unique. London, thank you for sending me the replays, by the way. I watched every single one more than once. I really did appreciate it. I should have responded, I'll be honest, but I really did appreciate it. Stego AT, I don't want to go back. Hey, Santa. Hyperglacier can't be real with global temperatures rising. Apologies for climate stress trigger. Oh, Dirty Deeds, how's it going? Let me catch up on chat. Think about Asa's fully out mix for a very easy recovery. Yeah, it's hard to deny them financially. PD is really good. I think there's 2 big PDs right now, Shoot the Moon and just Bland PD. Shout out to Rotom. I think Rotom is easily one of the contenders for Worlds this year. It's Rotom. Shoot the Moon's good. I think a lot of people have got more reps into Shoot the Moon, and this deck is incredibly powerful, but also once people understand that you're playing Shoot the Moon, they can be aggressive and understand that you basically can't defend a remote server as long as you can go quick enough. The ice, this is the good ice. All the other ice is okay, but you can deal with it. And if you can keep their money down, they can't do the thing. If they never score a Midnight 3 or Ecology, their deck doesn't do a lot. It's 2 Mana Garm. A lot of people know this list card for card, and I've lost terribly into games where people have made changes to this deck, either saying Tattoo Bowl is not necessary. I think I've seen a lot of people cut the Sudden Commandment. We've seen border control versions. We've seen some sort of like mid-range between PD Bland and PD fully, what's it called? Sudden Commandment, sort of your digital life decks. And I think the midpoint's pretty interesting. I think finding out quickly what your opponent is on is going to be very important. Red level clearance is a very big indicator what sort of deck your opponent is on. This is probably not Reg PD. This is probably Sudden Commandment PD. And you just need to bust the remote server as quickly as possible because they snowball and they can close the game out really quickly. Trashing a big deal is good. I've seen some of these decks on 2 big deal. That's really interesting as well. But this deck is very, very good. But the more people play into it, the worse I think it's getting. And that is kind of an exciting deck to play at Worlds, and it can be quite fast. I like this deck a lot, but I honestly don't know if it's the most consistent PD deck. And that's because Rotom Appliance. This is Patrick. Patrick won Worlds in 2022 or 2021. I don't know. And he's just been playing the same deck forever. And it's just good. It just has a good matchup spread. It's just pretty good. I don't think there's a particularly bad matchup for this deck. It doesn't make a lot of sense off the top. The Regolith is still in there. I don't know how to make enough money, but we're on 2 Anoetics. I think Rotom is very clear that defensive upgrades are much better than Ice can be in the format right now for a couple reasons. Anoetic is just hard to deal with. Eli also notably showing up in this list. Makes sense. Eli is just annoying to a lot of breaker suites. It's nearly as taxing if they have to break it with a propeller, and you save half the credits. Kind of really cool. Only as bad if they get Cleaver plus something else, and at that point, it's still okay for 3 credits. But this is fundamentally the same list it's been for a long time, and I honestly think it's one of the safest picks going into Worlds, as long as you're cracked. And being cracked is good. Yeah, this could win Worlds, honestly. I've been playing Tattoo Bowl over Border Control. I don't think I would. I think Border Control does so much into this deck where like you can rush out the first points and then like basically make a win condition in which they can't win on the remote server because of Border Control with Ikua, let alone Mana Garm. Like it's very, very good. I think Tattoo Bowl makes a bit more sense in Asa Group and some other stuff. Tattoo Bowl is a good ice. I think people are also getting a bit better into making Tattoo Bowl feel ugly for you. Yeah, I don't know. Cursor, Skunkboy PD I think has the higher ceiling, but I think it's more difficult to play well than YDL PD or most other decks. I think YDL PD is slightly harder to play because it comes down to making good decisions on your PD trigger and understanding how you should push and like whether you should fully, big deal out your 4-2 as opposed to your 5-3, how quickly you should rush the 5-3. I think they both have actually some really interesting problems. I think this one's a bit more fundamental though. And I think a lot of people actually do kind of bungle. When they have a hand, they're like, oh, I think I should red level clearance and draw 2 more cards so I can play my YDL. And it's like, well, you're going to discard 4 cards at the end of your turn. Should you have done that? It's not always the answer is yes. I think it's harder to nail it. Like the fire will make PD cry. That's exactly why you play Border Control though. Kat, how's it going? Hey, Pinnacle number 4, how's it going? It's like, that's a big reason for Border Control. I don't know if we expect that much Light the Fire. I think there's a lot of decks in the format right now that are not that bad into Light the Fire, but Light the Fire, if you're relying on this, yeah, that's definitely really good. And that's why you probably should be playing Border Control. I think the canonical version that is more commonly known is a single Anoetic 2 Border Control. And so this change is saying like, I'd rather have my Anoetic early because if Kit gets down a breaker, what the hell is the barrier going to do? Not that much. Yeah, PD is really good. You can't go wrong with PD. I think it's the comfort pick for a lot of players. Mirror Morph. Prison Morph is a thing. I don't know how big of a deal it is. I think some of the things that deal with Prison Morph might not exist. I think Mirror Morph is one of the most open decks for people to figure out something weird to do with it. I'm surprised we haven't seen that much Restore Holoman type Mirror Morph. That's could be the sort of deck that people show up and play some sort of lethal mirror morph out of nowhere and people don't expect it. Mirror morph is really wide open to me. It's hard to make a deck, like you have to be a really, really smart deck builder and play some sort of unknown combo to have a better deck than playing PD, is my guess, but the ceiling on mirror morph is relatively high as long as you're doing something inconsistently unfair. And so I'm excited to see what the decks are that can be consistently unfair. But I feel like there's still a lot of cards in the format. I still think there's a couple ideas that haven't been pushed to the limit, and this might be the limit. We'll see soon in a couple days. None of this matters. Sports Metal. Sports Metal is weird. There's a lot of Sports Metal decks that you can play. Sports Metal classically has been like the fallback deck that a lot of people play comfortably. I think we have there's one deck here there's two decks here I want that are not here. So firstly, 2018 calls again, the same Sports Metal deck like this. Is it fine? Honestly, who's playing Clot? Raise your hand if you're playing Clot at Worlds. Please raise your hand. Hermes killed Sports Metal? No, Sports Metal won. Name PC Boston. So yeah, how's it going? I think Sports Metal's fine. This is the weirdest thing. Clot is really good. And if you're playing Lat specifically, you're probably playing Clot. I don't even think every single Arisonic can play Clot because not every Arisonic is playing self-modifying code. But there is this idea that going into World Championships, people sometimes play the safer thing and they play Clot because they don't want to lose the Clot in Swiss. So they actually do their due diligence and play Clot and not assume people are playing Clot. Now, Sports Metal can beat Clot, but that's a very big understanding is, do you think Clot is going to be at Worlds? The same kind of question is like, do you think Mavirus is going to be at Worlds? I would say I definitely expect Mavirus, and I probably expect Clot. But you don't know, obviously, in closed deck lists. I have Clods. Are we going to pretend to be playing Clot and aim to trick them? I mean, we're all playing it. Exactly, guy. How's it going? We're all playing it. So mixed feelings about Worlds right now. On the one hand, I'm excited to play and socialize. On the other hand, I don't know how much of either I'll do because I'm getting chronic fatigue flare up. Oh no, Henry, hopefully you're feeling okay. There's still a couple of days. Maybe they'll be all right for you, but I'm sorry to hear that. There's a sick auto art of Clot I've got, so it must be played. Yeah, it is the last Clot Worlds as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think Spark decks will be popular and they can't play Clot. No, they don't play Clot, but I think Lat might actually be less popular than Kit. But at least when you're playing against Kit, you know there's probably going to be no Clot, because if you're playing Spark of Inspiration, it doesn't make sense. Anyways, this fundamental deck is okay. It works. It can just work. It can rush out. It can be fast. And a lot of folks value sort of decks like this because in Swiss rounds, having the rest of the round to focus on maybe a slower deck can be important, and having a fast deck is okay. This deck never plays out the way that you think they do. They don't score everything from hand. They put cards on the table. I do think this was a good meta call into Hoshiko. It's probably less of a good meta call into Criminal, maybe into some shapers pretty bad overall, but it is an interesting thing because people might be playing it for sure. I don't know what this is. Okay, this is not the version I wanted to pull up. Hey, Utati, but this sort of like Veruca Sports. It's a deck I think a lot of people have very little experience into, and it is very good, and it can punish mistakes in a way that can be game-winning. These sort of what they're called Veruca Sports decks for some reason. I think Koga published the original version. Citation needed. I honestly don't know. But the idea is that it's a bit of an acid spam Sports Metal deck. You play all the sort of like fundamental Sports Metal cards that are a bit of like a tempo crime in your favor. And then you actually have cards that if they don't deal with them, they can lose the game. Whether you're bouncing a Lobisomang, you probably win the game, but it's hard for runners to make the right choices when there's a lot of things on the table that are all relatively important. Powers that be, Wage Workers, Amani Sanai. You have to deal with all this sort of stuff and still deal with the fact that Sports Metal can win the game out of nowhere. Third influence is a war cry. You leave this for Jesus. Shot. How's it going? Look at the beautiful ice of just tempo, also boomerangable. Yeah, I think boomerang is going to be pretty good at Worlds this year, but it's still pretty expensive for you to do that stuff. Such a wide meta, it's not possible to prepare for every corporate runner archetype. I think it should be acceptable to have some bad matchups. It's acceptable, but you should be careful, right? I don't think you want to go into Worlds understanding that like, oh, your Esmari matchup or your PD matchup is like 30%. Like that's really bad for you, but you're right. And that is kind of what we saw last year is like having a bad matchup spread into what you're hoping is a niche matchup and just hope you get lucky in Swiss or the top cut does work for you. That's not a slight at Sokka. We don't need a slight Sokka, obviously. But like there can be bad matchups and just not rolling them is definitely an option. I genuinely think if you're not considering yourself as a competitive player, one of the best things you can do is play a high variance deck that has good matchups and maybe a couple really, really terrible matchups. And then just hope you draw good matchups. Like generally, that is one of the better things you can do as a newer player is play a high variance deck that can just win. And then just win. If 4 people bring that deck, one of them is just going to win, right? I think that's how numbers work. This deck, I don't have a lot of experience into, but this one's a harder one to diffuse. The last one I want to shout out is the sort of like core damage one. Pylu played it on camera at what's it called? I almost searched that will actually work. No, here. He played it on camera at East Coast Nationals, coming in second. I honestly don't fully understand the sort of Mooncore sports decks. I think we've seen Moonpool sports a while ago. I think core damage is kind of interesting because Lat being popular, this does hurt Lat. And the most powerful card in the deck is Fast Break. Fast Break is a really good card that comes out of nowhere. And so you can feel like you're playing control and then suddenly a problem shows up out of nowhere that you're not expected to run. This deck is strange. I think it's a lot better in closed deck lists for obvious reasons. Like, look at this sort of upgrade suite. It's really strange. Giordano is a card that you have to remember gives you a successful run trigger. That can be really nice sometimes, but this is the sort of card you want to pinhole threading. You don't want to pay the cost if you can avoid it. But this deck can both go fast and kind of go slow. Like, it's weird. It's a bit of a trap deck. I don't know how to feel about this thing. I think there's going to be some people playing it, though, for sure. Endorsing Mitosis P, I see. 3 snares, 3 hold VP. Generally, yeah. Like playing ganked Anansi can just win you games. What do you view as those high variance decks? Ollie, how's it going? High variance decks, just fast advance. Like having a chance that you can just win out quicker. I don't think it's exactly this deck, but having a deck that can just like roll really quickly. I think technically like Re-Education as Mari fits into that camp, but I don't think that's the easiest deck for a lot of people to play because you have to manage combo and manage board state. It is a bit more heads up. On the runner side, like just playing 3 deep dive Sable can just be good. Honestly, playing 3 deep dive Sable has consistently hit top 16 at Worlds almost every year it's been available. And I do think it's just a hard deck. It's frustrating to deal with, but like just inside job, steal the first agenda, and then just like Sable deep dive. And I don't mean that to be like anybody who plays it isn't good. We've seen some really good players play it, but it's the sort of deck where like you can just win games out of nowhere. Keep that in mind. Content creators should not hype evil decks. Ryan Bantwin sends his regards. Yeah. Ryan Bantwin has been consistently playing it. It's a really good deck. Like it's doing well. But I think that's the sort of deck that gives a clear game plan for maybe newer players who struggle to manage a board state and can just like win. Like it can win. It's not a bad deck. Mercury is presumably high variance. Apologies for mentioning gets channel ban. No, Mercury is another good option for sure. We've won Mercury games on turn 2, like Inside Job HQ. It is, unfortunately, we have a sticker that says Inside Job HQ for this reason. That is another one, but I do think Sable overall is maybe a bit of a stronger win condition, unfortunately. Praying for Sable to make a comeback at Worlds. I think Good Stuff Criminal is in a great spot. Andre too nice for evil decks? At Worlds, no. Like, I don't want to use the word evil is a joking word, but like I played Acid Spam, 3 Mumbed Temple, 3 Museum of History, Gagarin at Worlds. Like if it's gonna win Worlds and I think the deck is fun to play as, I don't care if it's fun to play against at Worlds. I feel like there's some responsibility to play a deck at a casual level that's fun to play against. At Worlds, I do not care. Do you dare play Eternal again? Yeah, I would. Andre's death part of the issue. All right, let's keep going through this. Thule. I just want to shout out Joe. Joe posted the list recently. It's pretty interesting. Obviously, Barf Thule has been a really big thing. I think people are getting a bit better at playing a Barf Thule, but I don't think the overall like average player is pretty good into Barf Thule. It's a hard matchup to beat. Tech is really good into this thing. Like, I do think people are going to be relatively teched into Worlds. I'm talking about what's it called? No Free Lunch might see some play. We'll get to the NBN section. I think respecting tags can matter at this Worlds. No Free Lunch is really important for a couple meta decks, but also, of course, Stone Chip Chart Room. I'm expecting runners to be relatively hard to kill going to Worlds. If you're not very, very good and not focused on a kill plan, I would not play like a casual kill plan, because on average, I think it's going to be very hard to kill expecting runners. So playing some amount of tech into this matchup definitely helps. Compilation's obviously very good if you can hold on to their kill combo, but otherwise you have to just play the matchup well, and playing this matchup well is difficult, especially if you're playing against a player who's really good at playing at it. Shout out to the fact that this is a West Coast World, so there's gonna be a lot of West Coast players there. This is a deck that you might want to get some reps into before Worlds. I had to score out with that Thule versus Tech. Yeah, sometimes you have to just score out, right? Like it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard. What do you do if you cop out the one end of the line? They have to win off of Orbital. Like it's technically possible. Cupping the end of the line is definitely like not great, but that's why Orbital's in the deck. Yo, Jai, how's the West Coast? How's it going, Jai? Jai, I made you some custom, some art, some merch. I'll show you in a couple days. Reporting for Boston HQ. Kind of hope Santa wins with Thule. It would be a nice story. Yeah, it would be a nice story. Cool. This is a Thule. I just want to shout out Joe posted this recently. It's like another flavor of the sort of Barf Thule list. Apologies if that's not accurate. It's running some other interesting cards. Bastiraboga is kind of cool because it actually makes distributed tracing into like a pretty interesting on-tempo play that you can do in some weird ways. It can help with orbitals, it helps with wage workers. We have also distributed tracing and public trail. I honestly don't understand why these versions. Okay, this is running Public Trail great. I think Public Trail is just like so cheesy and so good into this deck because it has Gaslight. Like you can just die on turn 2, and we've seen very, very skilled players just die on turn 2 to these sort of decks, either Distributed or Gaslight. It can just happen, and it's a hard thing to respect on turn 1 because the chance they have it, it's actually kind of high because they have 2 Gaslight. But yeah, they need this sort of stuff. This is just a slightly different version. Joe has also played Thule for a while, and this is another kind of thing going on. Everyone's tagging to Thule on accident. It won't be very good IMO. I also do think we'll come to the side. I do think there's going to be some imps at Worlds. And like, I don't think you like imp as Thule in general because you don't have to deal with the agendas. And then you can just run HQ and imp everything of value. Public Trail's messed up in Thule. It makes it so hard to trash stuff. Yes, but you already have Oppo and like riot suppression. So there's already like a precedent for trashing stuff being messed up, but it's definitely good. Will Worlds be live streamed? Yeah, hell yeah, it will, Pinnacle. It'll be live streamed on twitch.tv/null signal netrunner and maybe on their YouTube channel, but definitely on their Twitch channel. I will be casting some parts of it. Thunderbolt. I don't have big hopes for Thunderbolt at Worlds. I don't have Ace Empresses playing, but it's Thunderbolt, right? Like, whatever. Sorry about that. All right, HB, a lot of options. Like, have you heard that? Like, literally every every ID that is legal and standard has some decks that you should consider, and they all have generally like multiple decks. Like, this is what I mean about Worlds. Like, it's kind of lit. Like, everything feels okay to good. Kind of awesome, kind of really cool. We're gonna see that theme go across everything. Smash cut the Thunderbolt World Champ. Ateya, not my favorite pick. We saw the deck list of the week from last week. I don't think I did a good job showing it off. I don't think Council thinks it's the best deck in the format, but it's an interesting thing for sure. Shout out also the Jinja Tower deck. Can be a really fun deck. I don't think we played it to the highest level it can. Shout out to Kevin, who's probably going to be, I'm matching one of the top placing Ateya players at Worlds if Kevin plays Ateya. Hoping Kevin does, no pressure. But that is kind of neat. I do think Fast Advance Ateya is worth looking into. That might be one of the cheesy decks you can bring. If you don't know, I think Sokka was considering to play Fast Advance Ateya at a Worlds maybe last year, maybe. The sort of like Bacteria Programming, Moonpool, Ateya. That deck is not something we've seen in a long time. It's a bit dependent on how much Clot you play, but like Bacteria Programming is a good card for sure. Ag Infusion. There's 2 Ag Infusion decks if you ask me. 2.5, right? So firstly, Sokka's lists are going to see a lot of play at Worlds, and this list is very, very good. It's Ag Infusion. It's really good. It has 17 influence, has a annoying text identity ability, and has some really good ice. It has a good econ engine of Charlotte. You need to disassemble the econ engine as fast as possible because otherwise the deck can fall apart a bit. Sprints, some people are playing 3, some people are playing 2 for sure. And then the remote server Lacosta Anoetic is kind of well known. We're seeing a bit more play of Biovault in the modern meta. So I don't know if the meta is slowing down enough for that to make sense, but now there's a couple more options for advanceable upgrades. And then the Ice Suite is obviously very good. Shout out to Botu not seeing any play. Feels bad. This deck, I do think you need to make some changes, I'm assuming going into Worlds, and that's because more and more people are playing Crew Hosh, and Crew Hosh, this is a really good matchup. Just generally Crew anything is a good matchup. I think the Seb matchup on the deck list of the week is a bit volatile. I think having leeches is really important. Drawing your Devil Charms obviously helps. That deck is only on 2 of them, but this is the sort of matchup where the big definer is like, can you find a slot for Mavirus? Charlotte Contest Simulator. Mavirus matters so much because you have to purge out multiple times if you're playing against Amaku at Leech Crew, and then that game can go really long unless you can very aggressively push into your remote server. And Mavirus just helps in so many ways. So I do think this deck needs to play Mavirus and make a slot for it, and this deck is like pretty slots tight, unfortunately. But I do think Ag Infusion is clearly one of the front runners. It's just a very good deck. Its matchup into Kit is like okay. I don't think it's terrible for Kit because you have a lot of barriers and can make it kind of annoying. The lat matchup, I'm not sure who's favorite. I haven't seen enough footage of that, which is definitely a missing piece of data in going into Worlds commentary. I need to look a bit more into that. Would love any sort of opinion. Sadaka and Egg decks, I bet Sadaka's seeing a bit more play too modernly. I think Sadaka is pretty reasonable. But yeah, this deck is obviously quite good. I think the Criminal matchup is like, can the Criminal play 2 Chesvas? If they can't play 2 Chesvas, I don't know what they do. Like the Criminal Breaker Suite is terrible unless they're on like Unity Echelon like last year. You cut Rhyme for Mav? Yeah, you probably do. You probably do. The code gate slot in Jinteki is pretty sad right now, as much as Vampranas is a thing. Now, the other version of this is the one that's running Sisyphus. And like, this is something I'm actually kind of worried about because taxing out breakers in worlds kind of makes sense right now. If people are playing rigs that are just like 2 copies of Revolver and 3 simulchips, like they will run out of ways to break sentries. So scoring step 1 Sisyphus like isn't absurd to me. I think this card is just absolutely brutal. It's just brutal. I don't think this card should exist, but I have my own problems. And think people are actually scoring this without having huge problems to their deck building. I think I've seen some people play digital rights management and just produce it when they have a scoring remote. And you can tell when you have a scoring server very often and then just score that out and the game kind of gets messed up. I hate this thing. I really hate this thing for sure. Since he's super cursed into crew though, yes, that matchup is really bad for you. And I think whether you're playing Sisyphus or whether you're playing something else, I don't think it makes a huge difference to the matchup. So that matchup is going to be bad anyways. But you're right. If they crew your ice, Sisyphus doesn't exactly do anything. Crim get rolled unless they land Carmen early, and you cannot win if they score Sisyphus. Yeah, I think if you score Sisyphus into Criminal, it seems pretty bad. Worlds being single-sided hurts Ag. No, I don't think it does, Jordan. I think it actually helps Ag. I think you can play an Ag Infusion game in 40 minutes, but if it's double-sided Swiss, can you play 2 Ag Infusion games in 65 minutes? No. I think actually single-sided Swiss, I imagine, helps Ag Infusion a fair bit. Do people run Lady Liberty for Sisyphus? No. I've not seen Lady Liberty see any play outside of NBN assets since 2018. Would Kit's ability make Sisyphus work on barriers? No. I don't think so. So the text says, it's a cool question. The first time each turn the runner passes a res code gate or sentry. The first time each turn you encounter, it gains code for the mana to run. Oh, actually, maybe, yeah. It might. I forgot this was for the whole run. I thought it was for the encounter. And I think if it's for the whole encounter, once you pass it, it's no longer considered. So yeah, it would work. It's kind of goofy. Kind of goofy. Shout out to people saying yes, it does in chat. Yeah, it might. It just might. Now, the last version of Ag Infusion is a bit of a throwback, but like punitive Ag Infusion. It's a hard thing to see coming, and it's the sort of thing where you can just lose on turn 2, turn 3 by running archives and just dying to Ag Infusion. The sort of ones that run Regenesis. We haven't seen a lot of this because punitive Counter-Strike, as long as you see it coming, doesn't seem great in the meta right now. On the basis that people are running like, you know, Stone Chip, Steel Skin, Class Act, like people are trying not to die going into Worlds this year for obvious reasons. That I don't think this will be my first choice, and I don't think you need to have it. But I think understanding whether your opponent has this or not is a hard question to run into. Because if you just run archives and they feed you a bacterial into a 3-pointer and they just YDL for 37 credits, you'd lose the game. So just watch out. But yeah, Ag Infusion is really good. It's hard to say whether Ag Infusion will win Worlds. I think it would be kind of hype if it does, because Ag Infusion games, for like a caster's perspective, are fascinating. If they're good games, they're generally very good games, because every single run matters in the context of Ag Infusion. Every single ice matters because of Ag Infusion and pinhole threading. Like, it's a very interesting high-level technical matchup. And if Ag Infusion can win Worlds before it rotates, like, I'm kind of on board for that. As much as I always think Ag Infusion games are so interesting, as much as I don't like playing into it that often, unless I have a good deck. It's pretty miserable if you don't have a good deck. It's very, very good. Hyobu, okay. Iswak. I don't have much more to say about Iswak. I don't know if Wenjong is at Worlds, which is hype. Shout out to Wenjong. I don't think Wenjong is hype on Iswak. I don't know if I'm leaking data here, but if Wenjong hasn't played Iswak at a long time, I don't believe in it. I'd be happy to be wrong. PE, another kind of gap in my knowledge here. There's a whole bunch of different PE decks. I think the ones I've been doing pretty well recently are like the sort of like loud type acid decks. Shout out to Shu. I'm not going to open one of these for obvious reasons. Sorry, I can't open that one. But this one, Pilu's been playing. This deck did quite well. Worry Tracker is a mean card that people are not often prepared for. And, you know, this can kind of just spiral out of control. I think PE is really good into Swiss, because people obviously don't know your deck list. Some of these lists are not even running Snare, like this one. Like, understanding that you're not playing Snare, but you technically are playing Snare because they have to respect it. It is kind of night or day what it does to your deck. I'm not great at playing this deck. I know a lot of QTM folk really like playing this, and they do a great job playing it. PE is a bit of a question mark. I'm convinced that there are Holloman PE decks that we're not expecting, with like see how they run, and maybe even Ronin. I don't believe in Ronin too much, but like I do think Holloman PE can do something for sure. Hey, Michael, Ag Infusion is the kind of ID ability that can win you a game without actually triggering once, just by the threat of its existence. I'll be gutted when it rotates. Yes, it's really cool. It plays a bit like, this doesn't make Doomtown sound good, but the existence of it forces, like, it has this overtone across over every single turn, which like PD doesn't exactly do that as much as if they score out, the card comes back. You have to be aware of that. But yeah, it's a very powerful ability. Imagine if 0 snares across all P at all worlds. There's a small chance. Also, this is PE's last worlds, which like good riddance. But yeah, that also would be pretty exciting if PE won worlds. It's fun to commentate PE matches too, because like lethality is pretty exciting as a spectator to watch. So yeah, PE could definitely do something at worlds. RH, if RH does something at worlds, there's like 1 or 2 lists that I think are worth noting. Is this Seb K's list? Yeah, this is Seb K's list. I haven't seen enough of this list, but it's done okay at tournaments, and it's a list that nobody knows how to play into. The idea with this list is that you're playing RH, then you ice up archives heavily, you put a Holloman on archives, and then you put a Helheim servers generally on archives. And then it's very, very hard to disassemble this. And as soon as they draw a Regenesis, they can just Regenesis out the Sisyphus protocol, and then the game is just like kind of cooked. This deck, not a lot of people have experience into. Not a lot of people, I think, have seen this play. But it is a legitimately interesting way to tackle the meta. Pinol is really strong into it. It is kind of miserable to play against because they just arse archives, and then you don't know what it takes to run archives. And then they just play pretty poisonous ice that they can make to like plus 13 strength. I heard stories from the battlefields of players like using flip switch and jacking out after they Helheim, which is like kind of cute. You can also Helheim to get your Regenesis set up by throwing out an agenda. But this is definitely the sort of like Seb K deck, and I mean that like Seb K plays some really interesting brews at a really high level. And this is definitely one of them. I'm a bit frightened about this. If I expect RH, I'm actually expecting this more than I'm expecting anything else. This is cool as hell. Yeah, yeah, it's neat. It's really, really neat. This is going to be miserable for a lot of decks to play into. Like, I don't know how you beat this in Criminal. Has a lot of ice that you don't break relatively well. The other version, of course, is just like we saw last year. I think Bridgman also was playing this relatively well in the Continental season. Just sort of like punitive Counter-Strike. This is not Yeti. This is just like the same kind of thing you could play in Ag Infusion. In RH, is a bit more broadcast, which can be a bit frightening. Some people play snares back in the day because of low hand size for Anarchs being a bit, you know, aggressive. This sort of archetype is just kind of trucking along. It's probably fine. Yeah. What about the Dawn near print? 5N for R3. Yeah, RH, fine. Honestly, definitely a choice you can consider. Looking forward from here. No, that's it. Jinteki again, just about, okay, this one's a bit worse because Jinteki IDs are a bit all over the place, but I think every of the major like 3 or 4 Jinteki identities you're expecting at Worlds have 2 or 3 options, which again, is pretty hype. Seen a funny game where 3 Pinholes got on HQ to trash or couple the upgrades or archives, which just felt so backwards. Yeah. Protecting upgrades is like something, as soon as you see like 3 eyes on upgrades, you're like, wait, you can do that? And then you realize like, oh, that's bad for me. There's a Holloman in there. Like, it is kind of cool. And again, play Clot, but that deck can just put them a virus on archives if they need to. All right, NBN, this is the big question mark for a lot of folks. Really big question marks. Andre, thought on playing modern decks with old IDs, a fun format for a game night? It could be, yeah, for sure. I think there's a couple old IDs that don't require build arounds, right? Like you can just play ETF and just have a good time. I like playing with old cards a fair bit if I can, because they're fun. It's like visiting old friends you've enjoyed. You can't move virus plus Regenesis. Oh yeah, shit, because it's you add it to your bin. Yeah, you're right. That's a really interesting catch shot. Yeah, because Mav trashes itself. Oh, that's kind of cool. That's a cool wrinkle there, isn't it? Yeah, it's a good catch. I don't know. I don't know what IDs stand out. Like Kate is kind of just boring as much as Kate is fun. I'd play some Geist. Corp IDs, I don't know what I'm missing. All right, Acme. I don't expect much for Acme. NBN Glacier is probably not the best Glacier deck you can play. A lot of their attacks and cards are actually Code Gates and Sentries, and that is not very good into a world where you could expect Fizerum more commonly than some other ways to cheat around Big Ice. So not my favorite. We haven't seen Acme Consulting doing anything in about a year. I honestly forgot it didn't rotate. I honestly genuinely forgot that this was in the card pool. I'd be surprised if it does anything. What does ETF do with modern cards? It's just too slow. Make some money. You have a cool altar you can play. Asmari, definitely a weird question on this one. So, as you probably have heard from the channel, re-education Asmari is definitely a meta force that you have to be aware of, and I think a lot of people are going to spend some slots in their deck to not lose to this. I think good players can play this and do well in Swiss. I do think, look, I hate the conversation around this deck. Every game I've seen Asmari win, it's because your opponent makes a mistake. Just how it is, and they're still making mistakes even at the top table, so that's good for you if that's your line. I think people are hoping they don't make mistakes in Swiss let alone in top cut when they know your deck list. But it does still unfortunately happen. But at Worlds, it might be the place that happens the least for obvious reasons. I think making some changes to this deck so people don't expect it, like the way that this made a change and added red level clearance and neurospike, so it has a couple other different kill combos that you might not expect on certain board states, is very important for this deck. And understanding how it's going to change, what you can do to change this to kind of go against expectations is going to be incredibly important for this sort of deck. This deck can just win if it draws really well, but I think a lot of players understand its weaknesses, understand what they can do. Changing the ice suite might matter. I'm actually a big fan of like some Mess and Chesto, some Piranhas, so it's harder to call. I think to some extent that's maybe a bit of a top cut thing, because having open deck lists and saying the only code gate you have is Mess and Chesto versus if you have even just one other option actually does a lot to the matchup. So I kind of like a bit of a mixture there. I'm not sold on the degree mail versus send a message thing, but it's an interesting conversation. But this is a deck that you probably should know how to beat. I think some players might just lose to this on round 1. They've never played against it. They die on turn 4. They think Netrunner sucks. And I sympathize with you. But you can't beat this. Cobra will be judging. Yeah, Cobra is judging for sure. But there's definitely going to be some amount of UK players. But even on the this side of the ocean, like this won an event recently, I think people understand that this is a deck you have to be aware of. Mess Deeple's FTP combo and Piranha's Saturna combo, so it's tough to mix them well. Yeah, no, that's true. But I think it's more like not Messny FTP, it's Ping FTP, right? But I'm just saying, I think if you can mix up the ice suite, it makes it a bit harder to call. Can't wait for some Asmari player to play both 3-pointers and some curse ratio. Might not be the worst thing to do. Yeah. On Jupestat or not? I like Jupestat. I do like Jupestat. I think this is a deck that you also have to be concerned about for COS. Because at COS, people are forced to play different factions. And so anybody who draws NBN, who doesn't believe in NBN, this is easily the most go-to deck. So playing a bit safe and having a bit of tech into your COS deck is actually kind of important. Because I think that that tournament will probably have a higher density to Asmari to player ratio more than Worlds might. That's my guess. Shout out to other Asmari stuff. Asmari Glacier, again, C Index A Glacier Tangent. I'm not sure it's the best Glacier deck, but that deck has consistently been strong over the last couple of years before the last card pool update. And I think Fazarum is a big part of that, but Fazarum isn't that popular, so who knows? And then secondly, people have just been using Asmari and doing weird stuff in it that you might not expect, and you might actually mulligan weird into. Whether it's Asmari to do fast advanced combo decks with like king making, whether it's Asmari and just playing like a pigeon brawler type deck with economic warfare, Oppo research, tag punishment, like all of those are legitimate angles. It's up to you to figure out whether it's better to do that in Reality Plus or some other identity that works a bit better. But currently, when you sit down to Asmari, at least the thing to understand is the default expectation on closed deck lists is that it's re-education, and you might be able to use that to your advantage. The problem is as soon as they double ice central servers, you're like, okay, that's not Asmari kill. So that's kind of hard. Not Again has been trying Rush Asmari. Yeah, I saw Not Again play at one of the recent AMTs, just playing like brawler kind of NBN. You need another ETR inside the F2P, so ping F2P Piranhas ain't it. No, yeah. If you want 3 different end runs, yeah, 100%. Wonder what roasted Cobra tastes like. Shut, what the hell? Failing which we will put him in a plane and send him off to Axu. Wait, Jai, we will be holding Cobra Bubbles hostage in the tiebreaker suite and not release him. It's okay, it's our demands are met. Asmari's cool. I think we're definitely going to see Asmari. Epiphany. Man, I do enjoy playing some Epiphany. Somebody posted a list for the Epiphany. This is very similar to the list we've been playing. This is the Disc Elemental. I am a huge fan of like Restore. You know, we've been playing this. This is one of the first decks we built, but I'm glad that a deck list got published like this. Like Restore, Cohort, it's just so fun. I think this deck list is not running any 3-pointers, which might be correct. I think we struggled to score out a 3-pointer, so just playing more 2-pointers and a 1-pointer could make sense for the deck. Playing more 1-pointers doesn't hurt if you're playing Epiphany. I don't think this is a tier 1 deck unless somebody has broken something, but this is like my fun casual deck. It can be pretty fast if it draws really well, but I don't think I'd bring it to Worlds. It's really cool. Shout out to Disc Elemental for posting a list like that. It's really, really cool. GameNet, I'd hope not. I really hope not. R+. Oof. I am scared. I don't think the meta deals with tags really well right now. And I think we've seen a whole bunch of strange R+ decks that are fighting the meta in different ways. We've seen full assets. We've seen trap with like some of the more cheesy kill combo lines like End of Line Mindscaping. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's a bit of work to get there. It can work, especially with Snare you're not expecting. I think Amaze Amusements is a better card than the amount of play it's seen to date. I think this is really good. I think a deck like this is going to see someone to play False Lead is really good. Now, this is not the only archetype, the only shell that's going to be playing this sort of thing. I think horizontal NBN also can play this. Like NEH can play a list like this. Obviously, like Snare Bears classically plays a horizontal NEH deck. Shout out to Encoder who played a list like that in NEH recently. But that list has a general same strategy, but it's kind of trickier to play into Reality Plus. I think there's a lot of different Reality Plus lists that can be quite cool. I don't know if like bouncy castle stuff can work, but like you see this kind of list and it's annoying to deal with. Like a lot of people are going to bumble into this. This is pretty good into Swiss rounds, and you can maybe close out games as long as this lands consistently enough. We saw people just die on turn 1 to like public trail end of line if you're not respecting it. Like that's a hard thing to feel good losing to into Worlds. Wheels handles R plus NEH Barf Thule all pretty well. Yeah, Wheels is good, but at the end of the day, like free oppos is still kind of hard for you to deal with. It's up to this deck to make a remote server that actually really matters, and Holloman has been like the big thing to be like, you can't just sit back against NBN because they can actually score out. Canal too, yeah, NWE cooked, and I think Canal like lists are going to be coming back. I'm not too plugged into NWE, they don't post a lot, but the sort of like, I don't even know how to spell Canal. Like these sort of archetypes still exist, and people have been playing versions of these modernly. This is like, did well at Worlds last year. You can play this almost card for card. I'm not sold on the Bladderwort. I like the more HB versions of it. I don't like the Bladderwort so much, but like this is totally fine. Obviously we lost Bologna. You have to make some changes. But yeah, they're just good. I think weird NBN decks are pretty good right now, and R plus is just as annoying as hell heck. Lat decks win the bare minimum econ stuck at dealing with Oppo. Yeah, Lat's good at running, but Lat's not always good at clearing all the tags. Kit's also not very good into this sort of stuff. Like, I don't think you play more tag punishment than this. Maybe you do, but like returning a breaker, I think Funhouse is really good right now too. I don't know. I'm really scared of R+. I think R+ can do well, but I think they're going to be like miserable R+ decks to play against. Behold is just not, man, R+. I don't like Behold. I don't like R+. Why can the tags be that damaging? Like, okay, we all agree that Snare is an okay and a fun thing that we like in our card game because it's very expensive for the corporation, and 3 net damage doesn't lose you the game. But when Behold costs 2 credits and then you can't trash it because you're going to get oppoed, and 2 tags is game winning, like they're not equal. I don't know. I like it when the corp snares me. When they Behold me, I'm like, fuck. I don't know. I really don't like this. Come on now. Latin Ice Destruction Anarch will be the majority of the field, so as a spam doesn't do fold to that. It's good and tags are hard for the decks. I honestly don't think Ice Destruction Anarch is going to be the majority of the field. I think that can be a hard matchup. I don't think the HB matchup is stellar. I think the Ag Infusion matchup they can make miserable if they tech into it. I'm not sure. I could be wrong about it, but I don't think Anarch Ice Destruction has like grabbed the masses the way that some other archetypes have. I could be wrong about that. Like if one testing group plays it, I'm gonna be wrong about it. Alternatively, Behold costs 4 credit, but the runner doesn't get to trash it from RD. Yeah, if they grab it, like then it does cost 4 credits. I just, in context of the card being have to be trashed, the tags doesn't make any sense. Like, I can't end my turn on 2 tags because I lose the game. I can end my turn on 2 cards in hand into Jinteki, and I probably won't lose the game. All right, NEH. NEH is good. We've seen a whole bunch of NEHs. I have recently on the channel bouncy type NEH. There's also like the sort of kill horizontal NEH. People have been doing great jobs with this sort of stuff. I don't know if full assets NEH does that well. I think you have to have something frightening like, you know, Reaper function type decks. I think a bunch of people have posted this. Encoder has posted a list, maybe not posted. Snare Bears have been running the same list for like a year, it seems. Tuno posted a list. Augustus posted a cool list too. Like people clearly care about this archetype. Some play no ice, some play one of each ice. Malia can be there, Gaslight can be there. There's traps, so it can be hard to check the table. I think this is a matchup where like you obviously can't ice up central servers. So if you can steal enough points pretty quickly as Lat and you can just deep dive to close the game out, that's going to be a problem for you. And stealing Degree Mill doesn't matter that much when admittedly like that deck doesn't have misbones often. You just need to get down like you want a Hannah, you want a Prisha, and then you can hopefully deal with this as long as you don't find the wrong traps at the right time. It's an interesting matchup, but I honestly don't feel great playing this into Lat. It's been my kind of consensus. I hear you, Andre. I can't remember the last time I got upset about touching a snare. Yes. And then people run on turn 1 against R+ and be like, whoa, I made the biggest mistake in my life, right? Like you can't, running doesn't make sense. Going for singles into R+ does not make sense because resing their ice fundamentally, mathematically doesn't make sense for you. And then hitting their traps fundamentally doesn't make sense. Like, do you want to run a single to steal the what is that card? I don't know. Oracle Think Tank? Right? Like, do you want to run R&D for a single, steal an Oracle Think Tank, have to remove the tag, they gain 2 credits and you get oppoed next turn? Right, like if fundamentally the game is meant to be about interaction, R+ makes no sense in the context of their damn trap pool. I'm always really unhappy if you hit a snare. I'm not. Surprised to see no Vig and Regolith instead. Yeah, Regolith is really good. Vig is not very good. What do you mean, Sadia? Vig is pretty terrible. You might as well play Pad Campaign. Yeah, you need to get to, so, okay, how it works in those sort of decks is that you need to get to like 12 to 16 credits to do the combo, and this is the fastest card that gives you that button. Because the sooner you want more credits, the sooner the table has to be lethal. That's a problem, let alone playing Oppo for like, what is it, 7 credits? That's a problem. You need Regolith, let alone that deck runs Wage Workers, so some good turns are Res Wage Workers, Regolith, hit Regolith 3 times, install NEH. It's really good. Vig is terrible. Vig is a pad campaign, but anytime that you have to advance the Ubiquitous Vig, it actually puts you back from the payoff incredibly hard, right? Like, advancing this once makes it the same credit cost as pad campaign, but you spent an extra click on it, and that click could have been a credit. Advancing it again, same thing. Like, the amount of turns that Ubiquitous Vig has to have advancements on it before it even gets better than pad campaign is really, really high. For the trash and drip feed, you'd rather play pad campaign than Vig. Vig is awful. You don't want to spend one of your click advancing this. Oracle makes me so sad whenever I see it versus R+. Regulus is huge for no skill decks, yeah. But the biggest thing is not about getting drip economy. It's like you need to get to 15 to 16 credits as quickly as possible with Regolith because your combo costs 15 to 16 credits on board states. Biggest for Prov, yeah. Vig, even in Prov, doesn't see a lot of play, but as soon as you advance Vig, like making your econ card a card that you have to advance makes it not an econ card anymore. Obviously, NGO front's a bit different, but only the first advancement on NGO makes any sense. Yeah, in Prov, where you advance it for free, it's worth something there, but even then, it doesn't see consistent play. Yeah, no, Regolith is very, very good in these decks. Speaking of Prov, I don't know. I hope not. I really don't like what modern Prov looks like. Either Traps Prov or are going to make my barriers as big as possible. I think those are both some of my least favorite parts of Netrunner. I'm unfortunately not a Prov fan in the modern meta. Hands. Tribal. And that's NBN. Honestly, NBN has some shots. Like, NBN would pre-rotated with Bologna leaving, right? And NBN is a candidate to win Worlds. Is NBN feeling like we have that many options? No, you generally have the weird spiky orthogonal options. I think scoring behind ice doesn't make sense in NBN right now. Like, it's just not the mid-range archetype you can play unless you're playing like Seamless Launch and playing, you know, Crypto Crash and going very, very quickly. That could make some amount of sense, but you probably are doing this on the back that they don't know what you're doing. And maybe you play like a brawler deck. That could work. I like the quiet smiles. You looked at Spark and saw I was rotated. No, I don't think I smiled at it. I like Spark. This thing's fun too. Matos is Prov, so you can waggle your eyebrows at your opponent. Yes. Red Planet Courier is still a thing. Yeah, you can Red Planet Couriers, I guess. Oh, in like Prov, yeah, you can do it if you want. I'm not a big fan of it. I think they just play Clot and you lose, but I guess that's a cheesy deck. Why is every yellow ID so toxic? I wouldn't say that, but the thing is, like, right now it makes sense. Not having Bologna means you can't play that mid-range honest NBN deck that you want to exist in the format. So the only NBN decks that exist right now are doing really powerful, edgy type things with the card pool they have allowed at this point in time. I think that's going to change, but currently the power of NBN is attached to like tags being a threat, Oppo research being a threat, re-education being a legal card for some reason, and that's kind of it, right? Like, they just can't play mid-range. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense. R+ will win and then it'll be banned. I don't think we're going to see big bans, Diogen, because firstly, we're waiting for Dawn, and then probably Dawn will come out. The only way we're going to see bans is on the release of Dawn, where there's the sort of bans where, like, in testing, the set only makes sense if we don't have a format carry. I don't think we're going to see bans after Worlds. I'd be very, very surprised. NBN Ice is terrible except few Cookits. I like NBN Ice. I like it a lot. All right, let's talk about Weyland. Weyland's interesting. I think Weyland is the underdog coming into Worlds, except the Glacier index. Non-toxic corpse or losing corpse? Yeah, Jason, how's it going besides PD? Besides PD, yeah, honestly, or Ag Infusion. Like, it's weird. You need a lot to work for you to be able to score out as your win condition currently. I think Hyper Glacier Weyland can make sense. I don't know if it's Earth Station. I don't think it's this version of the deck. I'd be very surprised if it's this version of the deck. This deck is so strange to me, this version of it. Shout out to Ryan Van Twins, who's like a good chance to be a top 16 if Ryan's traveling. Ryan's doing great. But like, I don't know how this doesn't have border control. I don't know why he plays business as usual. This is an iteration of a deck idea. But Hyper Glacier, Earth Station can make some sense. Crisium Grid is really good in the meta right now. Transformed Monopoly is kind of whatever. Are we betting on a World's winner? Ronha? Not yet, exactly. We're just kind of hanging out and talking about what decks we expect to see. So I think Earth Station is an option. It's a bit slow. It can be a bit clumsy. It's hard to ice up everything. Lose on R&D is definitely a thing that happens. But I think Eminent really early in their mode server is kind of okay. because it's hard for them to check it early, and then getting an archer you can snowball. Like, it's asking for a lot, but I do honestly think that getting enough 10 strength pharaohs, heaven forbid, is there's like no good deck in the meta that beats it consistently. Right? Like ice destruction, maybe if they can draw well and push you down, that can be a thing. Like I do think that's a big reason to play crew and devil charm, is that you can beat this sort of stuff. But like people are not playing hush. Hush is the only way you beat that. I don't care about pressure spike. Pressure spike only still breaks it for a lot of money, and it's only 1 ice per server. We're on threat 4, which is pretty bad text. Not to this deck, but the 3-pointer deck. Ryan's not going. Bummer. Have you given Padraig's Betrunner a shout, by the way? No, I don't have a link to it. Michael, do you have a link to it? I saw some of the early versions of it. Is it because I can still legal? I think it is, yeah. Run a remote server successful instead of breaching, you may force the corp to shuffle all cards. You still have to pay 6 though, right? Can I post a link? You can try, Michael. If I don't say that I saw it, I didn't see it. I got shadow banned. But you can maybe obfuscate the link. Yeah. Jad, you going? Unfortunately not. Sorry, Jad. I probably should ask that too. Bummer to see that. It's always great to see you. It's been 1 year, huh? Yeah, I don't know. I think this is an option. I think if you're playing Weyland Hyperglacier, my guess is either Earth Station or just play Built to Last like last year. I think the deck list from last year, you could probably just play card for card and it wouldn't be terrible. Is direct access tech for ES? No, it's not. Because you have to do the run first. And so you have to pay the cost to make the run, and then this text comes into active. I think that's correct. Someone can correct me, but generally you pay the cost to initiate the run, and then the run happens. I see no like, yeah. Wasted $1 on Betrunner picking shot. Oh, Cursor, you should have asked. That's a good dollar spent, though. I don't think it works. It might have been filtered out. Yeah, sorry, Michael, it was. Can you obfuscate it? Or can you Discord it? If you Discord me it, I'll be able to open it. I'll just open Discord real quick. Anyways, it's an option. It definitely is an option. I'll DM it to you. Thank you, Michael. What else do we got for Weyland? There's some weird Jemison decks. I don't think they're going to be enough of the meta to care about them, but there's some cool Jemison combo stuff in the format. No, I think former teen is going, but like I don't think this is better than anything else you can do in the format. Oh, Michael has it. Thank you. Okay, so Anarch, she put this together. This is Betrunner. The way that it works is there's a bunch of players here that are listed at certain point thresholds, and you have basically $25 to spend on players to build a fantasy Netrunner team. There's a placement score here that you can see at the top. I'll link this in the chat so you can all get this. Mind you, this is shout out to Anarcho who put this together. And so you have $25 to send on players and spend them. And different players are ranked by the people who made this. There is no science behind it besides like vibe check. And certain players are at certain point values. The scoring of how many points you get, you basically just want to spend $25 and get the most points. And you can put anybody down. You can put yourself down. You can put other people. Do not pick me. I used to be like a surprisingly high pointed Netrunner player on this, but I'm not playing a Worlds. There's no point in playing me. And there's some really great names here. Sokka being at $12 makes a fair bit of sense. Oh, there's even some like stat checks. And then there's some great players here too. Augie is a great choice. Tuno is a great choice. Rotom's a great choice. Jai is a great choice. Man in the Moon's a great choice. $6, $3, it gets bigger. Get some money in. Get some money, get some plays here. What's really cool is there's some like new names here too, some old names. This is Timmy Wong, who was the finalist at Worlds, and I want to say 2016, who hasn't played in a long time, was for a lot of people like a people's type champion player because he played really weird homebrews. That's Timmy Wong. I'm so excited to finally hopefully meet Timmy Wong. I never met Timmy Wong. And then a whole bunch of other names you might know there, which is great. Hope nobody spent $3 on me. I think Solomir is actually a pretty reasonable $3 bid. Those are nice stats. Where's Ryan Bantwin's not going? Not going to Worlds. I think Ryan's name was on one of these lists that I saw it earlier. This was like sent around to people to be like, do you think these numbers are good? And I know like my testing team had some feedback on it. And Ryan Bantwin's name was originally on here, but fortunately he's not going. Was 2014 finalist? Is that correct? That might be correct. Yeah. Yeah, Timmy's back. Yeah. Importantly, exactly 5 players max. Otherwise, I have like 6 $1 folks. Oh, cool. Augie, how's it going, by the way? Yeah. Okay. Shit, man. I'm excited to finally see Augie in person. I agree. DA beats ES, unlike Trickshot. Direct access beats Earth Station? I don't think it does. Can we get confirmation? Pretty sure you can direct access an ES remote. Yes, the identities lose their abilities as soon as direct access becomes active, before the run begins. Oh, okay. That actually sounds okay. Anyways, we're not going to play this on stream because I'm just going to vote for all my teammates, obviously. But Yeah. It's like, is betting for Sokka a good idea? Because like I feel like any of the $8 are almost just about as likely as Sokka, but they're cheaper. I don't know. I think last year I bet Sokka as to winning worlds. I did pretty good on Betrunner. I think Sokka is a really safe pick, even for $12, obviously. But like I like all these names here. I think all these names are really good bets. Don't bet for Shoeflower. I don't think Shoeflower is going, which is a bummer. I need a confirmation on that, but I don't think Aaron's going, which is a bummer. Aaron's the best. Science-based, no vibes. Timmy came in and swept a 21-person tournament down here in San Diego. Oh, sick. Flip. That's cool. Oh, Joe's not playing. Oh, okay. Okay, so Joe's not being self-deprecating. Don't vote for Joe. Don't vote for Solomir. Don't. You're wasting your money. Well, if you do, let him know because he'd be happy. But don't vote for Solomir. And I don't want to say don't vote for Shoeflower because I'm not confirmed. Someone can confirm it for me. I don't think Aaron's going. Bet for me because I'm going to win Worlds. Easy peasy. Eric, you going to Worlds? Man, this is the funniest thing. Eric just comes into every Neon Sag chat for like 6 weeks now in a row asking if they're going to Worlds. I think DA would work for Sur Station because it turns off Ken, so it must be active before the run starts. Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah, but I think that would actually sell it for me. Aaron told me last night she's not going. Okay, bummer. Vote for Aksu? Aksu's a really good $1 pick. Now that I said that out loud, that sounds like I'm insulting Aksu. But like Aksu's a great $1 pick, let's be honest. I gotta vote for Aaron. I changed my vote. Yeah, unfortunately. Not going, but I appreciate the sentiment. Okay, don't vote for Aksu. That's a terrible $1 pick. Op is a scary one. Because there's a whole bunch of like weird, good op decks. I think people are falling out of love for this sort of like divide by 2 kind of like horizontal acid op deck. I think people got a lot better playing into it. Trick shot's not helping for sure. Having a weak R&D is not great into the meta modernly. People understand to trash the card that's not even in this list anymore because you should trash it. And a lot of the tricks people are getting a bit more resilient to. Now I've seen some really cool versions. Tranquility Homegrid is kind of sick. Holloman's really good just on tempo, can be great. Get a 2 con it. Like this deck can be really good. I'd vote for him as going. I would vote for Axie for $1 if he was going. Clipping that from my Metropole Grid expose. I'm not sold about this, but we could see lists like this. I think we're seeing a bit more people play Rush Archer op with Eminent, even not playing this many assets, and I think that's fine. Oh, it did have Hearts and Minds in it. Now, this is the sort of op deck that I'm actually worried about. Again, shout out to Seb K, who, you know, plays a lot of these sort of lists that we're worried about. And this is big op. So one of the big things you always want to do against your opponent is ask for cards in deck. This really matters at this world, funny enough, more than some other worlds. If you sit down from the Ismari player and they say they're playing 49 cards, they're not on re-education. You got to learn that as soon as possible. Always ask for your opponent how many cards they're playing. If they're playing 74, they're on big op. What is big op? Oof, it's rough. It is a deck that wants to build a board state. It doesn't want to score out its agendas, and it wants to build at a board state where it has enough cards res on the table, either because you've been interacted or it has 17 damn upgrades. And then it wants to mutually assured destruction and give you enough tags that you can't not die, and then it wants you to die. This deck has some weaknesses. Not great into Maw. Not great into Imp. Ice Destruction is okay against it, but at the end of the day, you have to do a lot of work because you have to steal 9 points to win the game. Cursed Agenda Suite, not legal in startup. This sort of deck is something that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about. It's pretty good. I think this is actually going to be a struggle when it comes to time. I think a lot of players know that this deck might not be able to elegantly close a game out in 40 minutes. And if you slow play a bit, yeah, it's going to be hard. Like you have to be pushing this to forward because it can be slow. Shout out to actually like just horizontal mutually assured destruction Weyland decks that are playing 49 cards. I think Ryan Bantwins has been playing that also consistently and played at Worlds last year, if I'm not mistaken. But just playing like mad wage worker type horizontal combo deck with biotic labor, I think, not wage workers. That's also a deck that can just kill you. Plurality of upgrades. Is this the first deck to do that? No. You see a lot of upgrades a lot of times, unless I'm missing a joke. Andre, what's your favorite IDs band? I'm gonna do the jive, but no shot anybody should spend $1 on me. Generally, this op list is fine, but lag crushes it. This one? Or the last one? Programmers can't get a card count by eyeballing the deck when I present it for a cut. Oh, programmers can. I always ask. He switched to Biotic to Wage Workers lol. Oh, he did. Okay. It's interesting. I think these lists are, again, lists that not a lot of players have a lot of experience into. And for that reason, it might be the right call. This is the same sort of thing where people show up to Worlds and they like don't care if the deck is like friendly into the sort of like, I'm playing a friendly deck. They just want to win. And this deck wins for sure. Oh, the last comment was Tuna Op. Yeah, I agree. That is a real thing. I think Op has a couple lines. I think you need to be pretty cracked to play like good Rush Op. I don't know if John is there, but otherwise there's a bunch of Op options that can really work out for you. All right, let's keep going. SSO Industries is technically legal. Somebody posted its deck recently, and this is just the sort of like, not Neurospec. Is the Neurospec? Yeah, it's Neurospec op. Shout out to Lovelace who posted this. This archetype's been around for a while. You just put a CityWorks on the table, advance it a lot, and then they just died at Neurospike because they can't stop you if you do double Neurospike. Not my favorite deck for the World's meta, because again, look at runners are trying not to die problem. That is a big problem. And you have punitive. So this is attacking in the ways that people should be expecting, but just getting your card down as soon as possible and getting advancements on it. I think Whiteblade published a list. We published a list like this a long time ago. It's SSO. You have to watch out for some of the ice. Some of the ice can be mean. You don't want to run into Hordem with 3 advancements. That loses you the game on the spot, but just be a bit careful. But as long as you just have don't die attack, you're pretty good into this, unless they can string together 3 Neurospikes in a single turn. But yeah, that is the SSO deck right now, if I'm not mistaken. Is it a candidate for Hyper Glacier meta? Honestly, probably not as good as the other options, but it is technically can play Hyper Glacier. John will be a world, but we'll be judging. So call him for all you how does this work with ob questions. Oh, hell yeah, we have an expert. Shout out, you can also get Jeff in there too. Okay, what else is good? No, this is good. This is just good. I think you can play the same deck from last year. Make some changes if you want to, but yeah, but just Weyland Hyper Glacier. I think Rotage was playing at one of the UK events, was actually playing like kind of a mixture of Weyland Rush with actually 2-pointers, but also Hyper Glacier, where you just spend the early game doing Charlotte stuff and then the late game not doing Charlotte stuff. Scroll past outfit. Oh man, yeah, I missed it. We should do outfit for sure. Outfit's worth talking about. I did scroll past it. You're right. Good catch. Yeah, this is probably frightening. I do think a lot of players are not worried about Hyper Glacier as long as their deck has some way to beat with it. I do think if you can ice up, like Lat can struggle unless Lat builds a deck list in a certain specific way, and you kind of need Hush here. I don't believe in BTL as much as Eminent is such a boon. I don't think these decks play Eminent because they want to play an agenda suite like this. But if you want to play Eminent, you're probably playing a bit of a faster Weyland. All right, outfit's actually kind of interesting. There's 2 big deck archetypes. Clean 47, second in easy nets. Wait, what is this? Santa? Yeah, that makes sense. So just big deal. Oh, this is not big deal. This is seamless launch. So this sort of like 6x seamless launch outfit decks. I can just play as many seamless launches. Some of them are actually playing. Oh, this one's so weird. It's on 1 reg cap, which like, yeah, that makes sense to some extent. People asked early, is there a deck that new players can just cheese with? And I do think big deal outfit is probably one of the safer cheese decks where you just sit back and don't do nothing, accrue 4 bad publicity, enough money, and then you just big deal out and score your reg caps. I think that's a good deck for newer players who want to high roll a bit, because that deck can just win if it just draws really, really well. But yeah, this one I'm not too familiar with. It has Holloman, which is kind of cool. You have Seamless Launch, which can be pretty fast. And then Basalt Spire is just more Seamless Launches and more Hollomans, whatever you need. I wanted to shout out the big deal versions, which are about a year old. Those are really good too. And recently, people have been continuing to play this. I think this deck is okay to fine. I think the not die meta makes us a bit less good, but great. 45 cards is a notable point here. Ask opponent for deck size. Yeah, I guess this is a 45 card deck that if they're playing this, they're probably net decking. Always ask for deck size. If they have a weird number, they probably have a reason to play it. And I guess this is one of the only 45 card decks in the meta right now. So long as Lot isn't around, big deal outfit can just crush. Oh, as Lat isn't around, big deal outfit can crush. Oh, Claude isn't around. Yeah, that makes sense. It's really easy to Claude a big deal because of the timing structure. Call your judges. I think outfit's a fine choice. Not my favorite choice, but I think it could be a good choice. It could be, for sure. Yeah, that's the meta on Corp side. I don't think I'm going to talk about Ampere. I don't think we need to. But Weyland has some good options. I do think Weyland feels like a bit of the underdog. And so much of Weyland being okay is attached to whether Glacier could be really good or whether there's like some hidden Nuvem deck out there or some op combo people are not expecting. Shaper's still popular though, even post World Tree. Oh my God, Shaper's the most popular, Michael. Building a better world is underrated. I would highly disagree with it. I think it's appropriately rated. I don't think transactions are a great part of any deck. And you can get generally that sort of click compression and tempo off of BTL and have better ice to show for it. I don't know. I don't think we've got any transactions recently that really push us off the charts. But like this just feels like, what would ETF be playable now? Maybe not. The misdirect talking about Ampere means it's Snare Bear's corp choice. Yeah, I do want to be clear. I'm part of a testing group. My involvement for testing for Worlds as someone who's not playing against Worlds hasn't been as involved. I'm always on this channel. I'm not going to divulge secrets. I'm not going to hide secrets. I talk on this channel as if I would talk to anyone. Maybe there are secrets that I definitely won't bring up. I'm not doing any sort of like sleight of hand misdirect. I honestly do not know what each Snare Bear is playing at Worlds, but I've obviously been part of the conversation to some extent. The only new transaction of note is corporate hospitality. Oh, okay. It's the only decent transaction, yeah. Building a better world can be faster than Nuveng? That's a pretty low bar though, right? Ain't it? Is sudden commandment not a transaction? I guess it's not. It doesn't sound like one. All right, let's do the runner side. Runner side's weird, huh? I chicken out for my Corp deck and I'm bringing my comfortable P deck. Mango, don't worry about it. I think one of the most important things you can do by going into Worlds is understand what your expectations are. I've talked to players before, they say like, I could bring this deck, which is like kind of cute and kind of cool, or I could play this deck, which I think will do better. And you just have to be honest to yourself. If your deck fails, but you brought your own deck, are you going to be more upset than if you like quote unquote sold out and brought like a meta deck and didn't do well with it? Like these are things that you have to sort out with you and whatever higher force you have. And sometimes the right place to play the safety deck, sometimes the right place, I'm just going to go here and jam my cool deck and hopefully I do well. And if I don't, it's okay. It was my deck, right? Sun is a very importantly mandate. Yeah, I thought it was mandate plus something. I guess not. Building a better world does two things: hedge directly into GovSub and free RLC, which matters for the like 7-point combo deck. Yeah. Your comfy deck is the best choice. I do think hugely going into a massive tournament of 11 rounds in a single day, I think that's the right number, is that you want to play something you are comfortable with. At the end of the day, having comfort is going to give you way more percentage points than having to play 11 games with a deck you don't know or are stressed. Right? Like if you actually have to burn mental energy figuring out how to play this hand, or if you've drawn this hand already 100 times in your life, the difference there is so important. Again, it's the Rotom appliance effect, right? Like we're playing the same PD deck forever, which means he spends half his brain power like worrying about whatever Patrick worries about. I'm bringing the deck that is most fun to play. That is fair too. Like it's expectation management. If you're trying to hit prize support, you know, sometimes fun isn't the only thing, but it's cool. People have different expectations. But I do think, yeah, getting reps in is one of the most important things you can do. By far. All right, let's start on the Anarch side. So talk about Runner. I think Runner is also equally wide open. Like notice that there's some archetypes that I do dismiss, again, not value neutral, but then there's also a lot of openness there, which is kind of cool. We're going to see the same thing, I think, largely on the Runner side, but it feels like a pretty open world, which is great. Alice doesn't seem like a strongest option there. I feel like Alice decks are annoying for 3 turns. 50 cards is not a great start. Essa's good. I have I'm not the most expert Essa player. I think Essa showed up consistently into certain metas to be pretty good. Essa into Ag Infusion, I don't feel like that's great. Essa into PD is okay. Essa into Weyland is really good, but I don't expect there to be that much Weyland compared to the other options. But Essa can be mean and disruptive. Essa's okay if Essa can go to the long game and Z can set up like the breaker situation to deal with like bronze and stuff like that. Like that's kind of nice into slow Jinteki into slow Weyland. It is a tricky matchup. You can just high roll sometimes. I'm always scared playing against Essa. And I do think a lot of more people have put way more reps into it than I have. I'm not the best at understanding what Essa can do. Been playing some crew Essa. Oh, that's kind of cool. Sisek, how's it going? I was thinking the other day, should there be more people who are ride or die for a single deck? Like, is it better for the world's best Epiphany player to be top 50 PD player? I think people like ride or die players. I think it's really cool to see a player and know like, oh, that's so-and-so. That's Johnald. Let's see what the op list he brought to Worlds is. Johnald's not playing at Worlds. He's judging. And I think that's really cool and it provides a really good narrative. I think there's certain players that are known for a spread of decks. Like I think Sokka's known, honestly, I think Sokka more of an Asa player than an Ag Infusion player, but modernly it seems like Ag Infusion is the thing. As much as even he won on BTL last year. Like, you know the thing? I think different people's opinions on different players is another thing. I would rather see specialists. I think it's just more exciting. I would rather it. He playing S into Ag, I actually have to think. Hey, Koga. PD players have half their brain power, not my words. Words of Andre. Yeah, I think I enjoy watching a specialist. Hey, Rosenheim, good evening. How's it going? Freedom. I haven't been entirely sold on the sort of like tag Freedom that did pretty well at the regional season. I just haven't seen enough of it. I've seen very little gameplay. I think it has some really good matchups. I think the 90-90 matchup into NEH assets is kind of really fun. How bad is being tag me? It's kind of hard to tell on the format how bad it is to be tag me, but I do think like destructive Anarchs are coming back to playing Imp is something we might just see more. We've seen a lot of people doing some really, really hot cooking right before Worlds when it comes to like building mulch type things. And like even the Seb deck on the Decklist of the Week is a bit of a trash forward engine, which is kind of cool. I think Freedom is definitely an option into that. I don't know how good Freedom is, and like I just don't know the full matchup spread for Freedom. I've only seen Freedom play into like PD, like built the last, your Digital Life PD. I've seen Freedom play into like assets, and those are obviously really good matchups for Freedom. I think the deck you could probably play in another Anarch, and I don't know if it's better or worse, but I don't know enough about Freedom. But you could definitely see a whole testing team being on Freedom if they come to the conclusion that's the best option. Hoshiko. Hoshiko's good. Hoshiko is good. I think Hoshiko's matchup spread is kind of favorable. I think you can build a Hoshiko that's good into just about everything. I do think the quickness of Asmari is worth maybe looking into. I just want to shout out a couple things. Firstly, just good Hoshiko. Like literally the list that won Worlds last year that nobody remembers is playable this year. I think playing Turbine is good. The sort of like Jai type Hoshiko, Axu Hoshiko. I don't know whose name's attached to that anymore. Technico. This was cooked recently, like Audrey Hoshiko with like Simulchips and Lilypad even. It's really funny. The console slot's a bit arguable, but that's a really cool one. Blue Hoshiko's very good. That's like the diversion one. I don't know too much about that, but like this is probably fine. Oh man, I love Anarch. Anarch is so fun. But these sort of decks might just come back and do pretty well. I don't see any reason why they won't. Good afternoon. Andre, how's it going? Gonna get Reg Hosh tattooed on my knuckles. Yeah, I think Hosh can do well. I think it's a deck we haven't seen a lot of, and like maybe the meta is in a good point for Hosh. I think you got a lot of flexibility on how many cards you want to overplay and whether you're playing the Ashen Epilogue. My guess is you don't play the Ashen Epilogue and you just try and get to a win condition quickly enough and set up your board state. Yeah, I don't know. What is Blue Hosh? I guess this is how we spell Blue Hosh. Boomerang, Amaku accumulation. Oh, like Crew Hosh. Oh, we didn't talk about Crew Hosh. I almost didn't talk about Crew Hosh. Maybe that's not Blue Hosh. Crew Hosh is really interesting. And it's probably the deck I'm leaning towards for COS. I think it has a really volatile matchup spread. It doesn't have a terrible matchup spread. You're very good into Glacier. That's the best thing about the deck is you're very good into Glacier. You're not terrible into assets. I think I've seen versions on 2 Miss Bones. I like that a bit more with Hannah, of course. And then you have a Stargate, which I do appreciate a Stargate. I know some of the more modern versions are playing Copulation. I'm not sold on Copulation here. It's really good into some of the combo decks for obvious reasons because you can seal combo pieces and get some multi-axis pressure, which this deck lacks a way to close the game out. If you do go to the late game, this deck runs out of value. It just doesn't have enough economy to last the late game, and then you're relying heavily on DJ Fenris, and that can be a bit ugly for you for sure. Earthrise Hotels feel really good in the deck. Prices, I want to play 3 prices. I think it's the best card in the deck, and then playing 2 or 3 labor rights is up to you to find out. Yeah, Boomerang's good. Boomerang's another way to get a bit more reach into this deck. I think people have argued to play either like the Virus, Botulus, or just even play Banhar, I think is an option. But this is a deck that can be the perfect call for the meta, or it can be pretty miserable. I think if the Ag Infusion deck that you're expecting plays just 1 Virus, like your win percentage drops 20%. It's still probably on the good side of 50, but like you can make this deck a bit more miserable. You can solve your econ problems by slotting a buffer drive, infinite strike funds. Yeah, I even think the ruling change for Patrick means infinite strike funds just got better. Because can you like, I think you can strike fund the strike fund through Patchwork. I think like I know the ruling has added some weird corner cases around Patchwork. But yeah, you could buffer drive. I do think the version I'm more familiar with is running buffer drive. It's not running Copulation. It's like Miss Bones and something else and a buffer drive maybe. Yeah, I don't know. This deck is really good. It's really fun. But it's not my obvious draw. I think the matchup into PD is a bit who draws better, which I don't know if you're comfortable being that at Worlds. Yeah, you can strike fund the strike fund to 0 credits. Yes, but you can strike fund the strike fund and it fizzles and the strike fund just plays. I think you're able to do that because supposedly Patrick, I could be totally wrong about this. I know that there's some weird thing that changed, but this doesn't have to be a different card. You may trash one card. Like, I don't know what, something came up. Yo, Izzy, how's it going? Sleep on my decks. Yo, you traveling in tomorrow or the turn after? The day after. Excited that you're on decks already. I'm really stoked to see what you and also other QTM folks are bringing. It's always an absolute treat. Patchworking the moshing was such a cursed ruling. Yeah, there's some really cursed rulings recently. I think those rulings were intended to come out on top of the 2409 ban list. Like clearly they labeled as that and then they didn't come out till later. I think those are not like huge differences to like matchup stuff. Like they're kind of important, but not super important. I do think they were intended to drop earlier before Worlds. It's a bit strange that they dropped so close to Worlds. Sticking around through Wednesday. Oh, yo, super lucky. I have to be out on Monday, I think Monday morning, so I'm not gonna be able to hang out and see the city. I've been to San Francisco once before, but I'm kind of regretting that choice. Hopefully you have a great time, huh? Yeah, Izzy, you're $3, eh, on Betrunner. I don't know if you've seen it. Strike Fund doesn't play. You get 2 credits for trashing it, but the event doesn't fire to give any more credits. Yes, but you can basically just play. Like the idea is that you can Strike Fund infinitely without having an Audrey. Obviously, it takes a click, but you can Strike Fund, and fizzle the event, and it goes to the bottom of your deck. I think that actually does matter for this deck that doesn't run Audrey. It means you don't need oh no, you still do need Devil Charm, don't you? Yeah, you do. I'm playing the good shit. The $3 shit. Good investment. That sounds like $3 doesn't sound like a big number, but I do mean that's a good investment. Okay, cool. I think Hosh can do it. Isn't it functionally clicking for credit? It's clicking for 2 credits, but it goes infinite. And then you get your Hosh draw to actually matter. It's okay. All right, Nat, I don't think so. Kessel, no, I don't think so. Reina, definitely don't think so. Lou, yeah. I think Lou actually could do something. I have no doubt someone has found out a good Lou deck by now. And I think being disruptive and running central servers actually like kind of matters. We've seen a lot of decks right now, like there are Reality Plus decks hate Lou. Like there's a lot of decks like the sort of combo PD decks. We played some games where we played even Seb last week, and you saw how good just like running HQ and imping seamless launches is. Like I don't know if it's this list. This list is not that old. Shout out to Koga, but like I do think we're gonna see some good Lou decks, and I don't think the meta is terrible for Lou unless people are playing Hyper Glacier, and if they are, like maybe you can play some crew. I don't know. We brought Mopus back. Yeah, I'm interested. I don't have enough experience to see what the modern list is, but I know people are cooking behind closed doors, and something like Lou adjacent seems okay into the meta right now, so I wouldn't discount Lou at all. I think it's up to people to figure out whether it's better than Lou or Hoshiko or even Seb or even Freedom, but yeah, I'm kind of interested. Seb, Decklist of the Week is the last Seb we've seen. I don't think it's recommended to bring this to an event unless you get reps into it. I honestly would love to play this at COS, but I don't know if I will, just because it's a Decklist of the Week. And I think playing the Decklist of the Week doesn't help you, because people know what it does. It's a really fun deck. It's a really fun matchup. I hate the fact that it's 59 cards. I just hate it. I can't get around that. I wish it was a bit more consistent, because the power cards are really good. And then the argument is that the power cards are only good if you have more cards in your deck. You need this, but I want to find my crew on turn 1. I want to find my Devil Charm as fast as possible. So I want to play more of this because it's honestly some of the most fun I've been playing Anarch recently, because it's kind of my shit. But it's just kind of a bummer the way that actually turned out to be good. Crown of Sebs, yeah. 59 wouldn't bug you as much if you didn't double sleeve. Oh my, I need to buy new sleeves today. Shit, I forgot about that. I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, double sleeve 59 is huge. I need to bring an extra deck box. Why doesn't Ashen work in Seb? Because you need to get through 59 cards and then play Ashen for 5 credits. Like, you can't do that. You need to get through 59 cards, and then you have to hold the Ashen, because this is not even playing labor rights. So like, how do you hold the Ashen while you're playing Banhar? And then you need a 4 to 5 credit econ event, right? Like I think even if you have a really fast deck in the modern meta, I don't know if Ashen is worth it. So like just getting through like Seb doesn't have good card draw, and I think Amanuensis is meant to be the big change here. Is this a no play stream? I don't know. No, we'll probably play something. We have time. Did I just close the Anarch tab? I did. Council was on Ashen until a week before Italian Nats, but the meta's a little slow for it. Oh yeah, you're right. In London, you played something slightly different. You were on Nuka. I saw some of the conversation you shared in the replays that there might have been an Ashen in it. I'm really surprised if there's an Ashen. I think the meta's way too fast. I think with like 3 Praxis, like I would rather play Labor Rights than Ashen in this deck, because like Labor Rightsing for 3 Praxis is already like recurring 6 cards. Like I don't know if you need an Ashen. I'd be super surprised. Nothing else matters than Anarch. There's just good Anarch, there's destructive Anarch, there's Seb Anarch. I think all of them are very interesting. I think good stuff Hosh seems fine. I think crew Hosh is pretty good, but it's going to be a bit more meta contingent and counter tech contingent. I think Sadaka's really annoying into Hosh. We saw a bit of that recently. There's some cool stuff you can do there. S is also great. I Worlds next year and bring proof that I opened hundreds of core sets. I used to sell the core completion set on eBay. Oh, weird. How did that go? Were people excited about that? I guess they might have been. Core completion is such a strange thing. Shout out to L5R, damn it. Let's look at the next 2 factions, which are pretty interesting. Criminal, I think Criminal can do it. I think Criminal has some problems. Criminal doesn't like breaking that beefy Sisyphus ice. You're playing against Ag Infusion, bring 2 pots of coffee if you're lucky. But I do think at the end of the day, if you're expecting some sort of NBN traps, if you're expecting some sort of assets, if you're expecting there to be PD and ASA and that HB goodness of Sports Metal, I think Criminal makes a lot of sense. The same Criminal deck that came second at Worlds might just come second at Worlds again. But since then, we've seen a couple other options. 419. I don't know why Aaron called this a reg-ass runner deck. I don't think it's pretty reg-ass, but the write-up is very good. But more people have been playing 419s. We've seen some different changes. I'm not a believer in Harmony AR therapy. I'll say it on camera. I'm not scared. But these sort of Criminal lists have too little money. This list has too little money for me to play. I think you can see replays. It just doesn't have a lot of money. I'd not be comfortable playing this unless you know the matchups are going to be pretty horizontal. Yeah. But Criminal is pretty good. 419, play Reg 419 might be okay. Playing like that sort of Worm CTZ 419, playing Control 419 honestly might be okay too. But I don't think this is the Regist of Criminals. I think 419 is interesting though. Harmony is good. I don't think the game is fast enough for Harmony not to see play. Criminal beats all the nonsense that people cook in the background. I think Shaper does beat all the nonsense. I think Criminal can have some problems. As I'd love it if As won Worlds. But I feel so bad if there's a good As deck and I'm not the one posting the deck list. So whatever, I'll get over it myself. Ken falls into the camp of like, you can just play good stuff Criminal. We'll come back to this, but like good stuff Criminal, it's up to you to argue which ID you want to play. Ken is not knee-jerked my first reaction. We've seen some really good run events in the last set, but at the end of the day, I don't even think those run events see the most play out of Ken. Like, I think we've seen Zaya trickshot decks. Those are better than Ken trickshot decks is my guess. I don't think you need the credit. I think you get more money from Zaya in a thinner deck. 17 influence is nice. But I don't know if Ken is doing anything unfairly that the other Criminals can't do. Where'd you get L5R from? Stores. I did buy something off of eBay recently. What else do we have? Los, I don't think so. Mercury, doing better than I think. I'd be really surprised and in some ways genuinely upset if Mercury makes top cut at Worlds, unless the Mercury list is like gets my like not value neutral seal of approval. Because if Mercury is just inside jobbing HQ and winning games, like I feel like that's a bit of a farce. Like I think that's a problem. If the best deck in the format just inside jobs HQ and steals 5 points, like what's the point of the Netrunner rule set? I don't know. This is my own problem. Mercury trash talk. Discounting Rosetta Los? Yeah, I am, Koga. Sorry. One Merc will make cut. You heard it. Honestly, this is the year where one Merc can make cut. And to me, I don't like it. I do think Merc generally gets bodied in open deck lists. Because that's the problem. It's like, my problem with Mercury is bypass just sucks. And there's too many criminal tricks for you to play around that you have to figure out what the right risk is. If you're playing against Mercury, please ice archives. 2 ice. Just ice something, but you don't know what Mercury is playing. And as soon as you get to open deck lists where you're like, oh, this deck has no HQ pressure. If I just go from R&D into a triple ice remote server, Mercury can't do anything. That's where Mercury totally like loses it. But overall, just not my favorite playstyle. I think if that playstyle is really competitively good, maybe that's good for newer players. This is, again, not a jide if you bring Mercury and you think Mercury's great. I just not my favorite thing, whatever. Why inside job HQ when you can divide and conquer archives? Because it costs 3 influence and 3 credits. This is why I tune into Andre's stream. Yeah, I don't know. Mercury's been doing really well. Like, I want to be very clear. Mercury seems like a reasonable. If you don't listen to me and don't play Mercury because you think I'm going to say something about it, because I don't matter. I genuinely don't matter. I hope you understand that. It's just not my favorite playstyle. Sable's good, though. Sable's good. Ryan Bantwins has been playing consistently. Re-deep dive Sable. I think this is a really great deck if you don't. Like if you just want to send it centrals, this can win games out of nowhere. Sable has the built-in deep dive protection of getting an extra click back. So you can actually interact with Ikwa, which is very important, let alone you have Swift. So you actually can win the game on turn 3. Like you can. Really, really good. I'm not bringing Merc to World. Sorry to disappoint. Great psyops. Yeah, huge psyop there. I agree that Mercury has a hard time in open deck lists. Yeah, Fusion, I think we saw that very clearly also at like at NPC Montreal. It's like people understood what you're capable of and they're just like, okay, I'm not going to lose to that. And then you just don't have a robust enough deck list. And I mean that with all due respect. Like I think that's is a downside to Mercury where like you win with tricks. If they know what your tricks are, it's not going to help you. Turtle Sable is fine, but generally don't get why you play 3 Diva. I always thought 2 is enough. Because you can win faster. I agree. I don't think I'd be excited to play 3 Deep Dive. I think 2 is enough. But the idea is if you want to consistently win as fast as possible. I want to talk about an Arasana deck. Like Vaz is like sick Arasana deck list with 2 Deep Dive, and like you can win against Asa on turn 4. And that's just because you need to find your Deep Dive soon enough to close the game. So we'll get to that. But like weird list, verbal plasticity, like just some strange inclusions in here. Single Lucky Charm is kind of cool for 2 influence as a card you could consider. And just about any deck, 2 Jailbreak as well. This deck can just win. 2 Cheswas, you kind of need this against Hyper Glacier. And like, I don't know if you want to play this into Egg Infusion. That's probably not a great matchup, but there's some really good matchups for Sable. Otherwise, just good stuff Sable. Y'all suck at Crim. Take that. Owned him. Owned everyone there. 14 influence, White Blade Classic. This is not that different than Table Carnage from last year. Pretty good deck, or Sable Carnage, excuse me. But this sort of deck is just as good as it was last year. And the meta, if you were expecting more PD and expecting more NBN, is pretty good. Not terrible into Ismari either. You have Stone Chip, you have Class Act. Obviously, that's very good. You can play a No Free Lunch, as we do. And then you have like Diversion of Funds. Like kind of nice into Ismari. I don't mind it at all. Boomerang is great too. Chesa for SDS? Yeah, SDS is like the one concern you have is Criminal, which like if they're playing Hyper Glacier, that's not great, but that's why you have all these. You can play some Recursion if you want to, Elaborates in Criminal if you need to. Privilege Access is not the worst idea, as much as it seems a bit clumsy, but it's great. Other Sable stuff? It feels like there's another Sable deck I'm forgetting. I don't know what it'd be. But yeah, Sable's just good. Sable's fine. Good Sable. Go Sable, go. I'd be happy Sable won Worlds. It's a really fun deck to watch. Steve, Banner Steve, Rob for the deck list of the week. Actually, what the heck did you do? Banner Steve is just such a fun deck. I don't have enough experience to find out what the matchup spread looks like, but this is just one of the most fun decks you can play into a format. If you think the format's gonna be like 40% HB for some reason, like I don't think we're exactly there, but I would play this. It's so great. It's so fun. Get some reps into it because it's really interesting to play, but just the most fun deck in Criminal right now. Really, really cool. I don't know what else you do in Steve. I think that's all we've really seen Steve do. What is Jet Ski? Koga? Oh, Zero Steve. Yeah, I haven't seen this do anything, but that's because I haven't seen it. I know people like this a lot. Ben Steve is what I'm bringing, not to win, but to have fun. Oh, Conrad, you're going to have a great time. Ben Steve reminds me of Faust Gabe, which is the best deck. Mushin, yeah, it feels so much like Faust Gabe, which is really, really fun. I think Kurapir and cutting as a neat chip for second wake is honestly better. I do think this deck struggles with getting enough multi-axis to close the game when it wants to with a single wake implant. I think Tremolo is actually not bad. It's not bad. Obviously, like I think this is very clear in the write-up that we play Tremolo because we're playing Cybernetics, not the other way around, is my understanding. But when Tremolo comes down, Blue Cleaver is not inaccurate. You could play Kurapira if you wanted to. I think if you're worried about like Hyperglacier, Kurapira might make a bit more sense for you. Hey, what about Jichinyu Jax? Gailhard, good question. That's, I think, what I wanted to say, yeah. Roasted like that on stream back to back. Koga. Are you at Worlds, Koga? Jichinyu is interesting. Jichinyu can be really good, obviously, against a certain meta. And I think it's up to somebody to find out Jichinyu deck, which is the midpoint of Jichinyu and also just playing reg stuff. I think Not Again last had a deck list like that, which was like a criminal deck that could Jichinyu, but wasn't strictly a Jichinyu deck all the time. I'm not sold on this. I think Jichinyu is nearly unplayable into Ag Infusion, and I think Ag Infusion is going to be a percentage of the meta. There's some other problems potentially like false lead decks. That's not the end of the world. If you're playing against assets, obviously this is good. Ace of Grip, it's okay. PD is not even that easy, I don't think. And then if we're on Weyland Hyperglacier, like good luck. Crisium grades on everything and all that sort of stuff. So I don't think it'd be my favorite choice. But I think if someone makes a hard meta call and they're right, yeah, Jichinyu is really good into the stuff. It's good into, I just think some, like you play into Ag Infusion, you're cooked. I don't think you have a win rate. I'm not sadly, but some other unidentified entity that's part of the family will be there. Ah, super cool. All right. Same reason that the Kura is because of Tetsu and HQ to mitigate Doof. Also border control for same reason. I do think the decks that are weak into Kurapira hopefully play with some sort of intent when it comes to managing their cheap barriers. Because you're right. If you're on a Botsu brand list, you cannot feed Tattoo Bolas and Ablatives and that sort of stuff. Solid B tier card according to Axu. Jichinyu? But what did you say about Worlds and Powers That Be? I was told it's not Worlds. I was told maybe it's Continentals. I thought it was Worlds. Zaya. Finally, Zaya. I think Zaya is probably a bit less flexible than Sable, but same sort of basic stuff, getting away with it. Like Fundamental Criminal is really fun. I think recently we saw a couple trick shot Zaya decks, and we're seeing some cute Zaya decks. Like I saw some, what is it called? Manuel Lachish Tumura Zaya decks playing very few resources. All that stuff seems fun. I don't think my guess is as strong as a win condition as against playing Sable, which largely gets away with doing the Zaya shtick while having a bit more flexibility and a bit more reach. Ask Ball on his trick shot tier. All right, Criminal's good. Criminal's really good. I think it comes down to like the meta choices of Criminal being playable, but there's some like really favorable matchups if you want to play Criminal into a field of PD and NBN. Like it feels great. I think Sable's really good. Self-defense. Billish, how's it going? I don't know what you mean. All right, let's finish this up with the last faction. I'm not going to do the mini faction. Shaper. Shaper's really good. Shaper's like clearly the best faction, like from a distance going into Worlds. And that doesn't mean it's going to be the best faction at Worlds because people are going to make decisions on how to make Shaper miserable. I don't think people are teching into Criminal as much as they're teching to Shaper, and that really does matter. We'll start with some of the ideas. Almost all the IDs in Shaper are playable. Akiko had a very cute and very good deck. Whether you want to argue that it's better to play Akiko in the sort of girl shell as it is in anything else, it's up to you to decide. But I think Akiko is like pretty reasonable and kind of just shows off the power level of the Shaper cards in general. Akiko's text doesn't fire that often. And again, I think that's Shaper's just good right now. And whether you want to wrap that in a lat shell for card draw, or whether you want to play like the Central's pressure on every server that Shaper can do, let alone with a couple extra connections, it is a very solid deck. I'm not betting Akiko to be the best Shaper at Worlds, but I think Akiko can do really well at Worlds. If you saw Akiko in the top cut, I'd be like sick. I'd honestly be happy. I think that's kind of cool. Hell no, Ba, you're not dodging on this. You want a trick shot in E tier. Rip mini factions. It was Continentals. Okay, I worded it badly. I have misspoke. What are we talking about? Trick shot. All right, dodge. Arasana. Arasana we haven't seen a lot of. We used to see like Reg Arsana. There was one list sneaking into World's Top 16 last year. I wish I knew the player. Was it the other Chris? Was it Chris C? Extra Chris? E tier for extra? Shit, I wish I knew. It was Extra C. Yeah, it was Extra C. Okay. Who brought Arsana to World's Top 16 last year? I think last year going to Worlds, everyone thought like Arsana is a bit too hard to play for a long day, and that's not untrue, but it is a thing. I just want to shout out this deck. I don't have enough reps with it. Don't play Monkey Wrench. That's my statement. I think this deck slaps. It's really, really fun. I played it against some ASA matchups and just had a fantastic time. I didn't win every single game, but had a great time, and you just can deep dive really quickly. I also want to shout out Arizon, who is playing like a version of this like very aggressive Trojan-based Arsana that just wants to deep dive out a bit faster than you can expect. And the sort of game plan that's pretty common in Shaper right now, which is like be aggressive on the remote server early and break into it quickly with like a slap vandal and what else you need, and then just do a fast trick shot with a Pichashaw, or sorry, a fast deep dive with Pichashaw to close the game out. It's like a legitimate win condition. This is probably a pretty miserable against horizontal assets because it doesn't have any asset tech whatsoever besides a single compilation. That stinks. This is the only deck that seems like it's naturally playing Hush, which has some value, I'm assuming, going into Worlds. So not a great spread, but if you could call the meta, this deck is kind of sick. I just don't think it's the best deck for the meta right now. Ari is so fun, but it's hugely brain taxing to be tracking so much info. Yeah, it's not my favorite choice. I did play on JNet with like some extra, help from Cyberfeeder, but I do think the deck is kind of cool. I think someone could build an Arsana deck that is really neat. The problem is like Arsana, it's hard to build a wide Arsana where you have to have an Arsana that's good into horizontal assets and to tags and to ice. And if you ask me, I think it's easier to make a Lat or even like a Kiko do that a bit better. Deep Dive is pretty solid into isolate decks. Oh, it's incredibly good into isolate decks. It's very, very good into isolate decks. Because even if you're losing and you're like 7 tags in, you can just close the game out. I don't think Isla does anything. I know the Rosetta deck was a thing. I'm not convinced. I'll be excited to see it. I don't think this deck is, hey, Shapers, why no Rosetta? Yeah, I'm not. I don't know. I don't think this is a real deck, but we'll find out. I don't know why you'd have to play Isla. I think the conditions for Isla to be good are pretty limited. Pudma, same thing. Someone could brew a cool Pudma deck. I'd be surprised. The thing is, like, I don't think you need to brew a cool Pudma deck. The problem is like all the other Shapers are just so straightforward and so good that if you build something of a similar power level, why would you play it when you can play one of the easier Shapers? Like you need something really cracked to consider playing Pudma, where like they put an ice on R&D and then your ability doesn't matter for the first 6 turns of the game. None of this matters. Lat, it's good. It's good. Lat's good. Lat's really good. There's a couple weird Lats too, which is really interesting. I think this is like the most known quantity going to Worlds, and this Lat deck I think is one of the best decks in the format. I don't think it's that hard to play. You have a lot of weird econ that just comes out of nowhere with the overclocks and the trick shots and all that sort of stuff. Your Breaker Suite is tuned really specifically, and this is where I think the meta can be volatile. The Breaker Suite is tuned really specifically to deal with like the HB Ice Suite. Like Drafter for 2 credits. If they're playing on sell for 2 credits, like that's just wacky. But there are ways to make this miserable. Like Winchester for half your bullets. A hammer for like half your bullets. 2 is not bad, but like you run out of bullets. And then if you're playing into the sort of PE deck that's like on Anansi, Tithe, Karuna, like all the options, you will run out of bullets. The same thing for Propeller. It's not that hard to build a deck that makes you run out of Propeller counters. And so it's up to you to understand, do you play 1 Propeller, 1 Pressure Spike in the hope that you have a chance against Weyland Hyperglacier? This is what I mean. We're one of the best decks in the format. You can just say, I'm going to make my ice annoying. And I feel like if you can make this deck use a Simulchip and optimally, that's a big problem for the deck if they need to close out. I do want to shout out Netscape, which actually might do something, or ScapeNet, excuse me, could do something in this modern meta for a bunch of reasons. I hate that that's the fact. But like, I do think this deck, you can do some things against it, but it is just a very good deck with a very good wide matchup spread. It's really good at not dying. 3 Onicom, 3 Stone Chip, try not to die, Coupulation, Hannah. Like it just doesn't die a lot. This deck is very good, but you can build ice suites around it. You think they should unban DreamNet and crowdfunding? I think they should unban DreamNet when they ban Hoshiko. Crowdfunding probably can't exist, especially with Trickshot. Like, it's too easy to make 3 runs. What if Lat just plays Carmen instead? I think it's an option. I think the problem with Carmen is that you don't want to break Drafter for 5 credits. Or sorry, 4 credits? What is it to break Carmen? Like, that's the biggest problem with like currently like the Criminal Breaker Suite is you don't have a good way to break Drafter. And Drafter is the most common sentry in the entire format. You can't break Drafter for 4 credits after installing your Carmen for 3. It is a big reason why this deck is on Revolver, because there's a huge difference between 2 and 4, right? Like, as soon as the meta has a way to deal with Drafter that makes any amount of sense, like, we can actually do something. but you just can't deal with Drafter that easily. I honestly think that's one of the worst things about this like deck I really like is that Drafter sucks. Like Ika breaks Drafter for 3 after you host it for 2. Like that's terrible. So you end up Zeraming Drafter. 1 Rev, 1 Carmen, you could do it. I think at that point though, you probably play 1 Revolver and probably play 1 Echelon. And then maybe you play a Takobi or something else. I don't know. Like I think if you're worried about transitioning to a late game, you would probably build Echelon and you would probably build 1 sort of Ice Strength booster. Mimic Secret Tech? Yeah, generally. I do think Mimic is a consideration in this sort of deck if you're dealing with Drafter. I think Mimic, and then you can like not sweat the big stuff with Viserium. Like Mimic is probably fine. I think if Drafter is the thing you're worried about, actually splashing a Mimic could make sense into the matchup, and just assume that you're not going to run into a 4 Strength Sentry, which I do think some Weyland decks are playing, 1 Uncell or something like that. I don't know why you play Carmen over like Echelon. Yeah, in Faction, I wouldn't. In Anarch, you could. In Shaper, I wouldn't. In Criminal, it depends if you're playing Amaku or not and how fast the game is. But at the end of the day, they both are really bad. Rohit, how's it going? They're both very bad into an early Drafter, and early Drafter is the Sentry that defines the format. What can we be expect casting wise for Worlds? Will there be a studio with interviews, etc., just casting? So I don't know because I'm not part of production. I'm more on the sort of like talent side. I've seen a lot of people working on like transitions and all that sort of nice stuff. There's a schedule. I don't think it's public information, but in short, the schedule says like there should be 2 people on comms this year for the first time. And I've heard this come up a lot. You want to hear my tensions? I don't know what to do with this information. So there's been tensions back in the year to be like, oh, it'd be nice if we had a schedule for who's on comms, and then be like, this person's going to do the play-by-play and this person's going to do color commentary. What do you think I do? Do I do play-by-play or color commentary? Because I'm assigned different slots for color commentary or play-by-play, right? Like, if you heard me cast, what do I do? The answer is yes. That's a very funny answer. I do both all the time. I can't stop talking, which is not great. I need to make space for other people, that's for sure. But like, I don't think I do one more than the other. I think it's interesting to know who you have on comms. There's some people who might not be as competitive players who might not know the archetypes, and then having someone with, you know, the color commentary who can tell you like what the players are thinking, super important. But also obviously, especially with alt arts on top of that, explaining what is going on for accessibility on board state is also really important. Your play-by-play commentator 100%. I'm kind of, it's like a mix. I think I'm majority not on play-by-play on the Worlds schedule. And again, the schedule is not canon, like it can change and we'll learn about it. But all I'm saying is that this year is the first year that the schedule has defined roles between those 2 things. And I am concerned that I'm just not going to disrespect. I'm going to just disrespect that, like naturally. Like I'm so worried I'm going to be in a situation where like the I'm going to naturally want to say the play-by-play, but I choose not to because it's not in my wheelhouse. Like I don't know how it's going to run. So bear with us for some moment of that. We'll figure it out. It obviously depends on the other person. The rest of the casters are great. Like I think the casting crew is great. I think knowing what role you're playing in the pairing is very important. Yes, I think ideally the pairing was made understanding that. But I don't know. I'm so stressed that I have to be like, this is your box and not this box. And then I'm going to talk over someone and all that, you know, stuff that makes me anxious. Is play-by-play a huge thing for Netrunner or even card games in general? I feel like commentators always gravitate towards color. I think play-by-play is huge. I think more often than not. So generally for newer casters, they mostly focus on play-by-play because it's an easier thing to talk about, right? Like you don't have to talk about the next 3 turns going forward. Like a lot of people can describe board state. I do think a lot of games people just forget to do the play-by-play because they're just watching it. I think that makes bad radio as much as it's not a radio medium. I think it's important. I think it's important that you can, like, I think some of the feedback I've got on this channel, which I really appreciate, is that you can enjoy one of the NPC Montreal footage or even watch a stream without the video, right? I like that a lot, that you can understand what's going on without seeing it. I think that's really important because not everyone, you know, accessibility for that's great, but it's much easier to just say what players are doing. I find color commenting much more difficult. I agree. I think it's much easier to tell what's happening and much harder to say something, you know, thoughtful about what they're thinking and what they should be considering and what people at home should be worrying about. You're essentially in the same position as Excalibur for AEW, top-notch play-by-play opinions. I think that's wrestling. I don't know much about wrestling, but I'll take the comment. Thank you, Ba. Imagine a CNN that detects alt arts and overlays official art on it, like a neural thing. Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, that's what's happening. So the schedule's up. I think every round has 3 slots. So there's a color, there's a play-by-play, and then there's something on the schedule called couch. Apologies again. I probably shouldn't be talking about this. I'll be honest. I'll probably just wrap it here because I don't have permission to talk about it. It's not my show. I'm not making any of these decisions is what I'm trying to say. But it also looks like there should be a space, ideally in the plans, where there can be interviews between rounds and stuff like that. that's what the couch slot is. So people can come in, you can talk to people. That'll be nice. Like the idea is to make the stream as watchable as possible, even if there's no gameplay going on. I don't know if there's gonna be a second table streamed. So like if table 1 finishes early, you can just put table 2 on during breaks or stuff like that. I don't know. I'm not on the production side, but there's great people on the production side for sure. I'm pretty excited. Would be helpful if I submitted the SF meta alt arts. I don't know what the pipeline looks like. Milanomi, it might be, but I'm imagining we'll see them soon enough. What I tend to do every time I've done Worlds or any commentary, and again, I don't know if this is the workflow because again, I'm not part of this exactly, is that before any match would start, I would generally, one person from the casting team would run out to the field and ask the players really kindly if we could leaf through their deck just to see what alternates they had. Just so then when they show up on stream, at least one of the casters can say like, oh, that's your digital life or something like that. That's often what happens. There will be like checks. And again, we generally know a lot of the common alt arts that are known, like the run together packs we should know, stuff like that. Make sure you're playing legal alt arts, at least at the big standard and startup events. Those are tournament legal, I guess. So mix. It's just, you can do anything you want. See back, thank you. You fit more under the umbrella of analyst than color commentator. You focus on the implications of play rather than humorous tangents and oddball. That's the thing, Spark. Like I thought color was more like fun, but I kind of do play by play and then talk about what's going on and why. Analyst is not really a game comms role though. No, it's not. That would be like a go back to the main desk between rounds thing. I don't know if there is any of the SF meta will make it top tables, but it's very possible that if you have a reference for the alternates would make it less confusing. I'm happy to. I appreciate Milanomi. I don't know who the workflow is. If you want to send them to me, I could learn them. That could help. But generally we should meet with players before rounds, just to make sure that we know what's in their deck so there's no confusions on stream. A lot of times, like sometimes something will come up and then like you use context to figure out it's a spin doctor, but you want to make that as obvious as possible for people who are watching at home. Okay, Slat deck's good. Slat deck's good. That's my answer about comms. I'm super stoked to like meet up with all the commentary folks, and I think the stream is gonna be cracked. I know like Kato and a lot of folks who are quite talented are working behind the scenes. Isn't color commentary the one who gets loud and hypes at the plays? I think so, Solmir. I think that is like the hype person. You can bring your own alt arts if you want, I think, but you need to show them to judge before the start of the tournament. I don't know if there's a required check-in. There might be from alt arts. Color is, in my opinion, Simone, who can give a biased opinion where play-by-play remains unbiased. Play-by-play should remain unbiased. I'm also like part of a testing team too, and I'm going to remain unbiased when commentary comes up. At least I'm going to try to. Okay, let's just continue on. I think Lat's really good. Reg Lat too, like there's also, oh, I opened a couple of these. There's some interesting other Lat decks too. Cobra played this, the sort of like blue Lat deck. I think this list is very fun. I think it's quite cool too. It has another like a breaker suite that can maybe be a bit more flexible to the mid to late game on some bigger things, and it has falsified, which is probably pretty good into Hyper Glacier. Amakua is not in this list, but I've seen some do that as well. And then the last one I want to shout out, which this deck has a really high win rate. I looked at some data. There's a bunch of players that have higher win rates on a corp than on runner than corp, I found, which is not very common. And a lot of the players that are doing that are playing Swift Lat, like just sending it. Swift Lat is just kind of good. You can argue whether like Anacom is better. I think that's really interesting. I shout out to Wenjong. But like Swift Deep Dive Lat is just kind of sick. I know Wenjong's been oscillating between playing Bravado and like Raindrops Cut Stone in this like 3 influence run event slot, but like Swift Lat is kind of doing it. You could argue that Swift is comparable to Anacom. Obviously for don't die strategy, Anacom's a bit better, but Swift is pretty good if you're trying to deal with an aggressive like HP. Deep diving against HP, you need a click gainer, and a lot of these decks will have Swift and Fenris for Sable. Some will also have Hannah, but like I think Swift Lat is just a very good deck. It's very easy to play too. Play smooth. Biased commentary is goated. I brought my own cyberpunk based alt arts last Worlds, and most players had really nice comments during the games. It was really nice. Yeah, I think a lot of people like that as a way to show off their stuff too. To be like, oh, this is Netrunner Con. I'm gonna play my cool alt arts and be like, yeah, locally, that's a thing. The serious jokester dynamic can vary between PvP color comms pairings. It's not fixed. That's very important to keep in mind. Yes. Yeah, I'm like, I want to be clear when I said this, like I have never worked in those sort of confines, and maybe as a professional, if I want to be professional, I should work in those confines, but it's the first time that I've seen it, and it's the first time I think Null Signal Games has done it. So I'm interested to see how it plays out. Yeah, Lat's good. Kit's really good. I think there's 2 Kit archetypes. I think one of them is way more prominent than the other. First one is Hyper Mantle Kit. This is the one that I don't expect to see as much, but like Stealth Kit is kind of fun. I'm not convinced this is the best kit option, but I'm a huge Rahi fan, and this list is really fun to play. I'd be surprised. This has like exactly the same weaknesses as the other kit deck. And I think there's something to be said, at least some weaknesses to the other kit deck. I think there's something to be said about finding a kit deck that does kit stuff, but has less weaknesses. And it's just a bummer because like the weaknesses kit has about like getting a Mani Sanide or losing your breaker are all relevant when you're playing Hyperbaric too, right? Like you're still weak against SDS drone deployment, just weak in a different way. At least here you're not in the sort of like light the fire, sorry, spark of inspiration waiting room. So that's kind of good for you as well. But otherwise, this is probably not the best option I should bring up, but shout out to John, Canadian National winner 4-4. This deck didn't do great for him over the weekend, but you know what this sort of deck is, right? Like run event package, probably 2 to 3 Onacom. I'm a bigger fan of 1 Cataloger and then 1 Lobby and maybe 2 Lobies. I like 1 Lobby and 1 Orca. It's kit. It's really good. It's really easy to play. I think for a lot of people, this is the comfort deck. It has reasonable matchups into everything besides the assets. And I think that's a really big reason why like NEH assets and like Reality Plus are seeming a bit nicer, because I think Kit is going to be one of the more popular runners because it is just a darling. It is Kit's last worlds of all time, and Kit's like in a great spot overall. If you're playing into Ag Infusion, it's a fine. If you're playing into PD, it's really good. I think it's really cool that Juniper, I assume, started this thing, but it definitely bears having a brief for everyone involved before the event starts. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if it's a Juniper thing, but I think Juniper is also going to be on comms, which I don't think I've heard. Oh no, maybe I have once. There's also the Versificator one. Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, Rohit, but you're right. There are some players who are playing in Versificator type kit. I just feel like Lobisoman's a lot better, but I don't know. I think that's died down. Being able to say player X has an advantage because of reasons Y and Z isn't the same as being biased. Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. But like, you don't want to see someone there clearly cheering for one player while you're doing commentary. Like, that's weird. That's strange. That's not your place to be at. Okay, Shaper stuff. DAO exists. You can still play Hermes DAO. I don't know if it's the best thing you can do, but you have really good. Didn't realize Kit was in system update. Yeah, Kit goes really soon, which is a bummer because Lobisomang like might be unplayable in a bit. Who knows? Let alone Orca. Okay, sorry we took a break in there to talk about casting stuff, but every faction has multiple things that work really well. I think the known quantities going into the format are Kit, Lat on Shaper side. On Criminal, I would say good stuff Sable, like just good Sable stuff. I do think good stuff Hoshiko is going to see some amount of play. We'll see whatever plays Infinite. It might be fine. And there probably is one more that jumps into there that I'm not remembering, but that's kind of it. Hermes Trickshot is cracked. It seems pretty good. Yeah, those are good cards independently. I just don't think like, it's the sort of thing where I'm worried. It's the same kind of thing with Arsana. It's like there is some amount of decks in the format that are playing like 3 to 6 ice. Or like having DAO be your ID ability doesn't seem the most reasonable thing to do. We just need more heals and Netrunner so we can cheer for one side more freely. That is my rundown of what's going on here. Again, just to finish, I think the meta is really wide open on both sides. I think if he showed up and said, I'm playing insert X faction here, unless you said neutral faction, a lot of people would be like, cool, that's sick. And they wouldn't be like, wow, you made a huge mistake there. Obviously, not all identities are equally playable, it seems, and I do genuinely believe, and this kind of sounds like a cop-out for somebody who's meant to have an idea of what's going on. It just takes one testing group to come up with one neat interaction, one cool kill combo line, one 2-card interaction that people didn't expect, and if they can use that to their best advantage, it's one whole testing team will be on a deck that is nearly unbeatable or just a head-scratcher entirely during Swiss. If Thule didn't exist, DAO would be pretty good. Yeah, or NEH. Or R+. Like, it's hard. It's really hard. Do you think Lobi was designed with Kit in mind or with the understanding that Kit is going, but it's fine while she's here? Definitely with Kit in mind because it was balanced for standard. I think it's more likely that we'll see something that's like Kit in the future going forward. Like whether it's a resource that's like Kit, I think we could see that, like the same way that we saw Class Act for Andy and Artist for Kate. We could see like, oh, here's some your beloved, like, oh, could Quetzal exist as a resource for 3 credits? Yeah, probably. And we might see something like that for Kit going forward. But yeah, Lobi definitely was designed with Kit in mind. Are you playing Crown servers or streaming? I'm playing Crown servers. That is the only event I get to play because I will be on volunteering on every other day, Saturday and Sunday. So you'll hear my commentary across 2 days, which is hype. The days are going to be long, mind you. Like Saturday ends at like pretty late. The schedule's up on the Single Games website, but it is a pretty late schedule. So prepare for a long day. Who are you teaming with? COS? Analyze, Chris, and Rohit. I think I'm on Anarch Weyland. Some research with the click turn a nice into a Kogate seems kind of busted, not gonna lie. Honestly, I don't think it's that good. Putting a click to do that's pretty slow. I would watch out. For Rohit or for the team? I think it's a good team. I think it's a really good team. I haven't got enough testing in, which has been a bummer. We've been just behind again. The whole weekend has been like merch stuff. I wish I got more time. Pam's kind of snasty with Rohit's great. I'm excited for that. But yeah, that is COS. I'm not sure what the other two are playing. I think they've locked in. I need to check the chat. Is COS being streamed? COS is definitely being streamed. It's usually, sometimes the stream is a bit rougher around the edges. It's just some patience with that for sure. On the basis that like, that's where the technical difficulties get worked out for sure. Generally the casters, a lot of the casters who cast the weekend aren't casting COS. So it also might be a different crew you might not be familiar with, but it will be streamed. Same thing. It should be on twitch.tv/nullsignalnetrunner and maybe even on YouTube. I'm not playing COS, so I'm available for comms. Jai, reach out to them. I know you've said this before, but reach out to Jeff and the team. I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who shows up and talks to the microphone. I have no say in anything. I've had that happen a lot actually during the Worlds, and I should tangent really elegantly in here. Firstly, I have nothing to do with the World stream. People have come up to me and asked like, "Hey Andre, I'd like to I'm out of the top cut. Can I do Worlds commentary?" The best I can do is pass that on, but just understand this is not my stream. I don't really have a sway into this. It's up to the organizers to figure that out. I think if you're interested at the last minute to join the stream, you can definitely offer. You have to understand too, though, there's a bunch of players that showed up, specifically traveled here to not play Worlds, and they're probably going to be on microphone a fair bit because they made that sort of sacrifice. But that doesn't mean if they want to be on commentary because of circumstances, you should still offer. I just want to be very clear. It's not my decision. And sometimes that's a hard thing to make because there's already a schedule. So it actually might be entirely off the table. I don't know. I don't make those decisions. I'm kind of glad I don't because they're hard decisions. The next thing, I will be at Worlds. Come say hi if you want to. If you want to, it really is like very quite nice. If you want to come say hi. I am a bit more of an introvert than it might betray on a stream like this. I'm very comfortable public speaking, but like I'm not the kind of person who introduces myself to people. I'll be there. I might be wearing a mask. I should be wearing a mask actually, because I got a wedding the next weekend. So that doesn't mean don't come talk to me. It means I'm still excited. So come say hi, please do. It honestly makes these events like really, really hype that people that I haven't met yet in person or I have met before will like come up and be like, hey, I watched your channel. Like I want to meet folks. Like it's really, really cute. So don't hesitate. Don't be a stranger. Really. If I look busy, just come up and say hi. And if I'm busy, I'll be like, I'll come back and find you. But otherwise I'm running around. They should make you NSG stream head. I appreciate it, Jai. I think they have a new person. Juniper is head of NSG media stuff. And I'm excited to see what Juniper gets up to, but I don't know. There's always some hesitance to be part of NSG because I want to be separate so that there is like, you know, I don't know. It's a hard thing for sure. I want to hear Cobra Bubbles and comms. There's a lot of folks that the comms teams is really great this year, as it usually is. So you're excited for some good stuff. Last time we got COS online 30 minutes into first round. Yeah, it started a bit late and I don't know if there's audio for some of it, but there was good commentary. People jumped on. I remember at Toronto, like who was doing commentary? Someone's doing commentary for like all of COS on their own. Maybe you can train their staff. There's some stuff like that. Like I know I got reached out to every once in a while to be like, hey, we have a question about this. Like, how does dual streaming work? And what would you recommend? And so like NSG does reach out and stuff like that. I'd be totally down to help some training and stuff like that for sure. Cool. With that, we've been streaming for 3 hours. We haven't played a game of Netrunner. We should probably play a game of Netrunner. I probably am going to close all these tabs. The reality of the matter is I'm not going to link all these deck lists in the video because that'll take me 6 hours. I'm probably not going to do that. Cobra is judging, so might. Hey, Freedon, struggle to do comms. He would rock it though. Yeah, I'd be excited to hear Rowan. Let's just close a couple. Is there any deck you'd specifically like to see on stream? Because we're not going to have a stream for a minute. We played this one before. I had a great time. I don't know if I'm going to bring this to COS or not. I wish it wasn't Decklist of the Week. It would make it easy. Play R plus assets. Yeah, okay. If no one comes up with a better idea, I'll do it. Or wait. Yeah, that's fine too. I have a list. Q Loop Ari. Oh yeah, Joe, I should just play Q Loop Ari. It's really fun. Startup Architects tomorrow. Wait 2 minutes. Actually, I'm gonna start a game. Lou Crew. Man, this thing is still throwing me up. Put popular at the top, please. NarraDB. Lou Crew. So I don't actually know what the good Lou decks look like right now. Don't know how this button works. We can see what it looks like. So let's do Lou. I don't know if we're gonna find a Lou that has Aquaceres Crew in it. Gotta make a sports medalist with 3 snares. So finite Lu, like these lists haven't been published for a while. What is the last Lu crew deck that's been published? So we do sort by date. You can't see the drop down, but it's what we did. It's like kind of a gap here. Jack 6955 had a deck they brought to Sheffield, but it's just not a thing we've seen. Lu is dead, def dead. I don't think so. You can split the fifths here and play Q Loop Lu. Yeah, I don't know if I'm not gonna have the ability to put together a Lu deck that makes sense. I think there are Lu decks out there, and I think the Necromancy deck is kind of interesting. I can't tell if it's tier 1. I think the write-up will kind of say that, but I do think Imp looks pretty okay into Worlds right now. Lu Anacom is really fun. Yeah, oh man, Anacom is so fun in any Anarch for many, many reasons. I do think I'm gonna play Q Loop Ari because the deck is just kind of really, really fun. I know there's parts of it I struggle with. I notably struggle with understanding how to break Drafter, but I'm really good at pivoting to my win condition. This is Boz deck that came to third at World Showdown alongside the Salvo testing HB, and it has some really cool things on. I think 3 Lily. I don't know, Bob. You still here? Why not 3 Lilypad? Lilypad is so good. Like the biggest problem with this deck is it has no card draw. It has 3 Diesel, 2 Lilypad, 1 Nuka. The Lilypad as soon as possible is like the most important thing with this deck because you're on Aesop's Pawnshop and you're selling programs. I cannot get over this. Now, DZ is not bad. It's pretty good. You can fire this consistently on the other turn with Prognostic Q Loop. But I feel like, okay, Boz here. I feel like every game I've lost is because I haven't found a Lilypad. Like, I think it's that simple. Every game I've lost is because I don't have a Lilypad. And so I don't know why we wouldn't play 3 Lilypad. It's tricky. Urban Art Vernissage and Aesops, you don't see that often, but it's kind of cool that start a turn you can get 5 credits. And Urban Art Vernissage, you can use your Prognostic Q Loop trigger on it, which is kind of nice. It makes Prognostic Q Loop relatively cheap. You can go to 3 Lily, yeah, but then how do I not play 47? Like, I want to cut the Monkey Wrench. I'll play this as is. I imagine I cut the Monkey Wrench for, like, I don't even know what we should play in the slot. A Mimic? You'll hate it if you end up against Amani Sanai? Prognostic, yeah, sure, but like, whatever. They got to bounce something. Why not this? We also have creative instead of a sure gamble. I think that's an interesting thing too, that you could try 3 sure gamble instead of creative, just because sure gamble makes it easier to play your Lilypad on turn 1 and do something. Cut 1 Aesops. I think the Aesops is actually the majority of the money in the deck. That you kind of need this consistently. If you don't have Aesops, you actually don't have an economy because we're only on 2 environmental testing and Urban Art Vernissage is a bit tricky. Thoughts on Cataloger of a deep dive so you can solve via Q Loop? Yo, Hexnet, how's it going? I'm interested to see what Boss says, but deep dive is just so good in this deck because you can just win on turn 3 or turn 4. If you add more draw cards, it's basically playing less cards. I mean, he's not wrong. Just drop the D's if you play 3 Lily. Yeah, I'll play it as is, and then we'll see how it feels. But I think the clickless card draw is kind of good, he says. Monkey to Bones. So what's really weird about this deck is that it does not have SMC. It doesn't. It uses only Muse, which means the sort of cards that I want to play reactively, like Parisha or Clot, are much harder to play because it gums up your MU because you have to install it off of a Muse, and then during a run, if the Muse gets trashed, if you host something on it, so you can't use Arisana to Muse out a non-Trojan super easily. It's a really weird conceit to the deck, and I don't think I missed SMC. The only thing is like it stops you from playing certain card combos. Like I would love to be able to Muse out a Parisha, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense. So I do think like cutting the Monkey Wrench and playing a Miss Bones makes a lot of sense in this deck, and I think I will do that. Yeah, it doesn't play SMC. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. I don't. Whatever. The Monkey Wrench has like some value. It's not useless, but like I like Miss Bones. The problem is like we can't tutor the Miss Bones. Go up to 49 with 3 VR-cation. Love this deck. It's really good, Evelon. How's it going? Pick one. How's it going? I feel like it might have been a minute. Deep Dive stronger than Cataloger. It is very good. It just closes the game out of nowhere, right? Like you steal 2 points in remote server early because they overextend, and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna send essentials. You Muse out your what's it called? Your Pichachon, and then you just win. Oops. Oh, sorry. Hey. Oh yeah, good. They left. Okay, my bad. Oh, they just wanted to watch. Okay. Feels less bad. Rones is a cromulent swap. Yeah, it's just we can't find it consistently. Like that's kind of the beauty about playing Trickshot SMC into Parisha is that you just get it down on turn 1 when it matters the most. If we mid draw Miss Bones, like it's okay. Op? Yeah, it's op. This is 59 combo op. This deck is actually much more killable than a lot of shapers. We have no stone chip. Like it's notably very easy to die. I think last time we played against this big hate big op. And this is like Holloman into, oh man, this matchup is miserable. It's Holloman into Ronin op, which like if you have a stone ship, you don't die, but we don't have a stone ship. All right, so this hand we have the lily pad early with the Aesop's pawn shop. We don't really have much to sell here. Like we do lily pad, propeller, draw, but we want our propeller because it's big op. It's not like combo big op. This is a weird big op that Gyro plays. I don't think it's a lot of fun to play into. It's running as many 3-pointers. Is it possible to listen to your game as well? Oh, I'm streaming right now. So you can watch along on the channel with the same name as the lobby. I don't know if that's easy to find. I'm going to mulligan this. This one actually might be fine. I don't think we have to go too fast. The not die angle is really nice that we can keep a lily pad around. Because lily pad means we can clicklessly draw if we simul-chip something, so we can be on 6-card hand size. It's an Urban Renewal Holloman Rona combo. It's so cool. Yeah, it is cool. I just don't understand who it kills. Right? Like it doesn't beat Steel Skin. It doesn't beat Stone Chip. All right, this is a mulligan. All right, we have Coalescence Pawnshop. Now, Coalescence gives us access to steal SDS during deployment. It looks like Gyro doesn't have a good start here. Card on the table. I do not know what it is. It's a lot of garbage assets in a deck like this. So I think we can just touch it. If we take damage here, it's not great. Probably wall to wall, right? Svi. Svi. Okay. We can just do Pawnshop Creative. It puts us down to 2 cards in hand. I don't think we die. Do we really want to pawn the Coalescence? I don't think we're super excited to do this soon. We might just be able to draw creative. I kind of like this thing around to be able to threaten SDSs. Like getting 3 cards this turn or next turn doesn't change that much. There's an above the loss somewhere too. Like Spin Doctor, in theory, we should contest to stop like an Audacity, but we just need to keep our money up. All right, Propeller run this makes a lot of sense. It's probably Rashida. We want to force like a border control for 4. If it's a Hordem, whatever, it's a Sandstone. Okay. So what's the numbers on this? This means we go for a Rashida, which is a great start. So this is what? 1 credit and 3 hosted power counters. If we run back, it's only 2 hosted power counters. Is that worth it? Maybe not, but 2 is really nice. I'll run back. Urban Renewal. Great. I hate that the Spin Doctor is still up. Here we can consider running HQ. I think that's fine. No agendas have been filtered. Gyro has drawn through 10 cards. There actually might be 6 points in here. Extract. Okay. Do we Quetzal versus Ob? I don't think we do. It's interesting, actually, Alex. It might be interesting. Because like our deck only has propellers as breakers as much as you can slap handle this. But I do think we need to like get HQ runs to get enough value. Let's see how a game goes. Like I'm not quick to put down DJ here. Yeah. Descent, Jam, Rashida. Yeah. All right. This is where card draw is really important. I feel like the deck doesn't have enough. Now, Deep Dive is probably a better win condition for us. That's probably Rashida. I don't like Trick Shot here because it doesn't actually do anything. If we do Diesel, we go up to 7 cards. We install Pawnshop, we discard a card. I don't think we want to discard a card. I think we can just do Credit Pawnshop and start the next turn with Aesops. It's an Urban. Okay, just Pinel. So the problem with Urban Renewal is that if it trashes this, as long as you trash a 3-coster, you can get like a Holloman and then you can do a Ronin combo. Okay, second Spin Doctor. Shuffled back, Urban Extract. This is where like having a strong win condition is really important. So you don't have to sit and do this. Whereas like the Deep Dive seems pretty good. 7 credits. Okay. So we want to win the game with double Deep Dive. The deck is only on 3-pointers. I don't think we can contest this anytime soon. Unless we find, we have trick shots, pinholes, right? Oh, we don't have pinholes. Oh, I hate paying not pin. So we can contest this if this is a barrier, and then we can Physarum the Descent. It's not a great thing to Physarum. That should be obvious. We can't get through Envelopment, but Envelopment is rezzed. That's not that bad for us. So we could actually just like Trick Shot click 2 here and see what happens. That might be fine. The simul-chip's not actually doing any work. We would love to have a Muse in hand that gives us a bit more flexibility. I think we can just send it and see what happens. Yeah, whatever. All right, now you can res a barrier. Do you use simul chip to handle 2 non-barriers? That actually was a reason to install the simul chip. Max punish too. All right, so now we know we can get in here, but that was the max punishment. I didn't want to go back because then Spin Doctor can shuffle, so Maskarovka is actually going to fire. If that was a 3 card res versus a 1 card res, that's a really big difference. So we could do simul chip and run back. I don't think we have a huge reason to, unless another ice comes here. But we probably have to simul chip this turn, unless we want to play the propeller for our hand, which actually might be a bit better. So we can... What was the top of the deck? It was an Afshar. We actually can't deal with Afshar that well. Okay. Quetzal beats this. That might actually be reasonable. So our options are like Propeller, Trick Shot, and then we Fazzer him through the Descent. I'd rather keep the Urban busy for a turn and say that we just don't have it. Run the spin to force the shuffle. Yeah, we can run the spin to force the shuffle and just get the Cubone on the Maskarovka. I don't know if Gyro has an extract yet, but that just gives us an Aesop target and it's like clickless. I think we will do this. I'll put it on the one that doesn't bounce. Okay, so now we don't know what's being drawn into. I think Afshar is actually kind of ugly for us because we have to Fazzer it. The deck has 1 unity as a decoder. And this is what I mean. Like if we had, not that we drew our DZ, but like having the card draw as soon as possible, we can't click the draw in this matchup that easily. I just like click compress draw. All right, so next turn, we could lose. Now this actually gives an incentive to Gyro to overinstall the Maskarovka. It might be right to put the Cubone on HQ because Gyro is less likely to extract the ice on HQ. And if Gyro re-ices HQ to trash the Cubone, we're happy. If Gyro re-ices the Maskarovka, we're not super happy. Yeah, that was a mistake then. We definitely should have put on HQ. That was a 3 credit loss. Let alone 5 cards of fires. You can slap vandal the Afshar too. That's my usual way to deal with it. Yes, on HQ for sure. Wraparound. Oh, that's fine. They still need Hollow for the kill. Unless they Audacity for, what's it called? Like the other play is, okay, we just lose to this. Play your Stone Chips, play your Anacoms. Please. So we do Simul Chip Propeller, Trick Shot. We don't, oh man, we really misplayed by installing that ice there. If we installed it on HQ, we would have pawned it. We'd been on 7. Because we need to do 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, okay. DJ Fenris is not worth it for Quetzal. We probably just do Propeller, Simul Chip, Trick Shot. 3, 4, 5. Like, I don't think we need a Quetzal when the wraparound breaks for 1. Prop, Simul Chip, Trick Shot? Not if it's border control. Like, we might have problems. But I think we're not doing the DJ. I was concerned with the DJ. Like, I think we just do this. Afshar on the top. Maskarovka. Okay. We had a Hush should be cool, but we need to get through the Descent. So second code gate there, we're cooked. And now we have 2 little cards in hand. Wait, we're throwing. We have no cards in hand. Tithe. Okay, so we have to use Arasana here. Yeah, there's no reason to risk the 50-50. The Tithe takes the damage. So we still die to a couple things. Like we died to a virus. We died to Audacity. But if it's Holloman, we're okay. Angelique kills. Yeah, there's a couple things that kill. I don't think the deck is on Angelique, though. Holloman, yeah, that makes sense. That's how we died last time. Was credit perfect? I should have done that math before anything else, but whatever. We'll draw. Okay. Hokusai kills. I'm not worried about that one. But yeah, anything that does 1 damage wins. I'm most worried about Mavirus and or Angelique. All right, Descent went back. Cool. And now we have to just do this again. So we just have to install our actual breakers because the server shouldn't be that expensive. We have to not run. Thanks. Oh, we did goof last turn really bad. We should be on 3 credits here. But now we have to just recover because obviously we were in the garbage. I don't want to pawn shop my propeller because it is doing some work here, and we don't have DJ anymore. There's no way for us to get DJ back. Ideally, we steal one more agenda, and then we just went off of a deep dive. So if Gyro doesn't put something into server 4, we're really happy here, because then we can just like play Euro board game. Sick. That's the best option for us. So we're going to deny the pawn shop. Great. We have our win condition. We know one of these is an Afshar or whatever's behind the Afshar. I honestly don't know what we pawn here. Simulchip the Fizarium? I don't think we need to. Right? Like, the deck can have multiple virus, so we're not really into it. I think we're going to get more value off the Simulchip off of something else. So this could be Hollowman into an SDS. I think we're okay with that. If it's a Hollowman into a Ronin, I don't know how much damage we take. But I think we're just going to continue to set up. All right, this is really expensive to get down because our economy is a bit... We lost 3 credits. If we were on 4 here, we could do this. So we need to draw into a Muse, because Muse means we can get our Peach of Shaw. Peach of Shaw means we can maybe win off of a single deep dive. Ism a virus. Okay, there you go. Regolith, that's fine. All right. Let's see Gyro just slow down and ice up. Still might be on a mad deck. That's okay. All right, we need to recover. Obviously, we have nothing going for us here. Now, we could actually... It might have been right to Simulchip for the Coalescence. Actually, that is probably what we should have Simulchip for. On the turn that we lost the Fizarium, we should definitely Simulchip for the Coalescence, because that gives us plus money and a sell. It was a 7 credit play. Why didn't we Simulchip the Coalescence? Yeah, Fixby, I'm only realizing now. I totally forgot we had one in the bin. I was just looking for how many Coalescences. But we need to draw into one sooner than later. Okay, this is fine. So the next thing we can do is like DZ for Hush and run. We could install the DZ here, make a run on archives, install the Hush on HQ ice or an R&D ice maybe. It's not great. It gives us a pawn shop target, but it locks some money. Let's draw for Coalescence. Ika, that's even better because you can't trash that. So now we don't have to do the DZ. So the question is whether we do environmental testing. And there's a chance that our only way to recover financially is environmental testing. Either that or we do urban. Like we can do run archives, install Ika, install urban, and then return the Ika to hand to gain +2 credits. I think it's more important we hit the environmental testing. So we could do credit. Oh, we don't have enough clicks. You can start with urban. Yeah, maybe we start with the urban and use the urban to install the environmental. I'm just so worried that we played 2 trick shots and we're on the bottom, like we're on no credits. That being said, we can like Simulchip the Coalescence really aggressively if we need to. It doesn't feel good. UAV will pay for ET. Yeah, but not great. Like we still have problems. Like I think the urban's actually worse than the pawn shop. I think the pawn shop's better because the pawn shop is a click for 3. This is a click for nothing. And we have no reason to run. Like the run on archives is not good. So it's actually worse because we're clicking for credits. Running archives has no implication on the matchup. 1000% UV. I don't think so. I think I just like sell Ika, right? Like why? You think so? All right, chat. I'm in. It's a Mav, no surprise. 1 clearinghouse is out. Oh yeah, we lose the clearinghouse too. Like this, we return it to hand and we're on 2 credits. Oh yeah, UAV's definitely misplay. I don't like the UAV here. We replay the Eco like 4 times to pop envy testing. So we're on a clock now, right? Obviously this remote server doesn't look great, but we're definitely on a clock. I honestly would rather sell this, but we probably won't. That's like concede recruit with cryptids. I don't think we're gonna go that far. So now we have to, now we do the environment testing. So now we want to set up. Okay, that's really good to have. That's really, really good. So now we do credit, environmental testing, run archives, install the Ika. Okay, now we're cooking. Threw out a Whoredom. That's interesting on 20 credits. So there's agendas in hand if we're throwing out ice that we can't break. Like our deck's not good into Whoredom. Now we have to run the server in 2 turns or we lose. And we actually have access to like 2.5 breakers. But we need this NV testing to fire like immediately. We also can win off just doing a deep dive. If the board controls and centrals, we've seen one Afshar on HQ, like getting drawn into HQ. Rashida or spin. Are we contesting this turn? No, we just need to get our money up. But we 100% died to this, which is just kind of like, play Stone Ship, please. Because this does 8 damage. Oh, but the Holloman might be out of the deck. I think we'll do the Urban. If we Pawnshop that, we get more money. I'm only kind of kidding. Okay, we can do credit, run server 6. Because we have everything we need. We just don't have money. Contest Spin Doctor, contest Rashida. There's third Spin Doctor's out. So the Holloman has to go back in. I think the deck might only be on 1. Now we have 1 turn to run the remote server, which is a bummer because of border control. So we committed to our Ika too soon. Because we have to beat border control here. So we might have wanted to run actually here because now we know we can't run it. So next turn, we'll definitely get the environmental testing. So I think we just draw. We planned our turn wrong. It was 2 unseen. Wait, that means that there's another Holloman in the server. D said then you can hush border next turn. Yeah, the D set's probably worth it. Yeah, because then we just hush and go. Yeah, I think that's really good, especially because this gets us environmental testing. Okay, next turn, feeling okay. I don't know if we beat Managarm, but next turn we just respond to Ika, bounce the Ika, and then we run server 3, and we have to make some decisions on how to get through this. But we'll pre-install the hush to gain 8 credits. Why not Muse for Coalescence so you have Pawnshop target? Because Antoine, we might need the Muse to do... How's it going, by the way? We might need the Muse to run Central Servers to do a deep dive Pichachon. And also it means we can get out of Unity. Right? Like if this is a Hordem Outermost, it's a bit ugly. I think we're so close to getting 9 credits plus 2 on UAV that we don't actually need to do that. I think we let the Tithe fire. Yeah, you might be right. I might be too precious that we want to be a bit aggressive. Double advance? What the hell? Should have waited for a window there. Bob, you noticed the cat? Is there a cat? How's it going? I don't know what this is. This is a clearinghouse. This is a clearinghouse. We definitely should be using the simul chips. Yeah, we will this turn. It might have been 1 turn too late, though. Do we pawn the Ika? I think we actually pawned the Ika just so the simul chip does something. Can we pawn the Ika and simul chip it back? Yeah, I think we do pawn the Ika here. So this is the clearinghouse. So you have to run this, run that. Okay, that's free. We have 2 cards in hand. In before Overrider? I mean, maybe, but I'm not excited for that. It's an owl. Wait, what the fuck? It's an owl. Okay, add 1 install program to the top of the stack. This doesn't do anything. We don't break this. Because if they had the hush, who cares? If they had the propeller, we just simul chip the propeller. It actually, like, we can use this to refresh our propellers. I don't care about this. Wish we had Q loop. Oh my god, Freedon, if we Q looped off the owl, oh, we'd be such winners. So we have to deal with the clearinghouse though, because we do die. So we could Ika this. It's kind of expensive. I think we just take the damage and hope. Sick. Oh, I guess we died to Angelique. That actually might be worth considering. Oh, they res Zato? Oh, cool. There is a Zato. Okay. Sorry. Won't do my thing yet. So we're not going to use the simul chip yet. They have to do with the priority. When ice protecting the server gains, the runner encounters this. Choose when ice. Oh, actually, wait. We need to redo this. I can beat this. Because this can be hushed. Yeah, this is not great for us. We have to actually stick to the run timing pretty strictly here. Because you can actually beat with a hush, and you have to res on approach. So here, propeller goes back. Continue. We were so close to dying to Zato Tithe. Yeah, honestly. Oh, you might not have seen it. So don't fire this. I'll do the damage. Continued approach. So you can only res on approach. So I will press priority on approach. So then Gyro has to res the thing. So now Gyro has to res the Zato. Okay, and now we can respond to it. So we're just going to simulchip and rebuild our board state. So we'll simulchip the wraparound, and then we'll hush the wraparound. So Zato says the ice protecting the server gains, and we'll be able to turn it off. This uses all our simulchips. Simulchip. Oh, we can't do it. No, we can't by trashing the hush on the install, and then we'll hush this. So when we install the propeller, we trash the hush. Funny enough, it's now 7 strength. Wait this. Wait, we can't even break it. Can we break a 7 strength wraparound? Yeah, I guess we can. Take that, Braun. That's so funny. That's legitimately quite funny. It's not 7 strength? It is. Oh, it's not. That is. Oh, never mind. Never mind. I thought the text was backwards. Okay, so it's not. It's 0 strength becomes 7, not 7 becomes 0. Okay, that's huge. That's huge. Counter T. I was so excited for a cute interaction there. Yeah, I thought it was going to be really funny. It's not. It's unfortunately totally reasonable. Yep. I would not have played around Zato. That could have got us. Yeah, so Zato says the piece of ice protecting the servers gains this text, and Hush says it has no other text besides subroutines. I think we can afford to trash the Zato. So we could die to server 7 if it's a clearinghouse. We could also just draw up. I think we're going to check it. We know we're drawing to propeller. We're assuming it's just a Ronin. Oh, wow. We would have drawn and maybe been okay. We'll draw to 2 cards in hand here. We're on threat 3, so we could die to like triple Angelique if Gyro has it. Yeah, extract. It's gone. It's an ice wall. We don't have to run the server though. We're just going to try and win off of a deep dive now. But now with only 2 muses and 1 simulchip, it's going to be a bit harder here. We're assuming this is a Winchester and Afshar. This is an Afshar or a Maskarovka, I think. But we just want to get our what's it called down? Our click gaining thing, our Pichachon. I got a haircut scheduled for tomorrow. I was really stressed by not being able to get a haircut. I'm going to a place that I've never gone before. I'm also getting some sort of shave. I don't know what that entails. Like, I'm just gonna be like, hey, this is my facial hair. Make it do this, but better, and see what they do. I'm not prepared for this. Draw. Okay. Draw. Great. Draw. Uh-oh. We're down to 5 credits. We did do a lot of trashing. The Metropole fade. That's the thing too. It's like my hair is just long enough that I have to go somewhere that they're like, they use scissors. Because you can go to a lot of places for men's haircut and it'd be like, just buzzer. And they just do fades. Like fades were really popular here for a long time. But like, that's not my stuff. So I generally go to salons more than I go to barbershops. We could install this with a full length mohawk. Andre gonna accidentally show the world's wall. Do you hate to see it? Oh, it would be a good look. I want to shave my head at some point. So like propeller comes in free for DZ, but we want to get the environmental testing down. The question is, can we do this faster than like we lose? I think we can. I think I'd rather draw here though to get an answer and throw out the second pawn shop. If above the law hits this pawn shop, it's like not great. HQ might be ripe. HQ is definitely ripe. After the Rashida, even more ripe. But like, I don't want to make a run on HQ and expend like limited resources when we can win off of a deep dive. The thing is, like, if this is a bad face check, like if it's anything that eats a program, it's bad for us. If it's a what's it called, a Winchester, which is most likely, it's really bad for us. So I don't think we want to run that until we have access to a Muse or even an Ika. We just don't have to run the remote server like every 3 turns at max. We can start doing influence counting. We've seen a Holloman, a Ronin, like that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 spin doctors. So like there could be 1 more Holloman, but there's definitely not 1 more Ronin. No, there could be 1 more Ronin, but like you need both of these to be lethal. Like I don't know, I think we have to run this. What if it's a Ballista? No, they'll probably have to pick on the run. Come on. Imagine this was a lily pad ba. Whatever. So we can do 3, 4, credit 5. We want to make sure that we don't go to too few cards. I think 3 is safe. Second Rashida, they're definitely flooding up at this point. But here they're like clearly trying to draw into their urbans, of which they have only 1 more and 3 spin doctors are out. So maybe they're actually very likely to be on, he's on, what's it called? The drudge work, which is probably what he's drawing for here, or unless he's on attitude adjustment. All right, install double advance, could be an SDS. He has to score out here. Now double ice on essentials, that's the worst case for us because we actually can't break that much ice and he can deal with some stuff there. It could also be reverse to counter. I can't tell what's going on. So this server, owl, tithe, whatever. I don't know what we're worried about here. Honestly, don't know what we're worried about. Ooh, prognostic, only a bit too late. The thing with prognostic, we had a lily pad too, is another don't die button. We can suddenly draw a card. I'm gonna get the simul chip down for sure. And I think the most we can take is, this might just be advanced 3 more times for a clearinghouse. Basalt, that's fine. Oh no, that's really annoying. Oh, fucking recursion cards. Why? They trashed 1 randomly from HQ, from HQ at end of turn, but 1 from the top of the deck. Doesn't that do that? Oh no, only when you use it. Target for Pawnshop, I'm good. Okay, so we're gonna try and pop off this turn, but we need something to pop off. I don't want to sell a propeller. Here's on Distract the Masses. Ugh. We can install this. It actually does give us money. So what's left in the stack on 16 cards? Caught 2 live streams. Ryan, welcome. This is the last live stream this week though, so going to be at Worlds next week. You can tune into that one. Just not doing much here. Can't face check. Well, we could. It's just kind of expensive. This is your last simul chip. Just want to find a Trojan. That's good enough. Actually, we really need that, but top 2 cards of stack. It's an econ to create a commission. That's really good. So we can Arasana a Pichachon, put it on HQ Ice, not care, gain 9. Eka's on the top of the deck. There could be some agendas in here. They're not going anywhere there. There is a Basalt Spire. Okay, so we're on game point. Punitive, we're pretty okay too. Oh no, we don't have a lily pad, so we're not going to draw. But we also found the 3rd urban. So he actually has to score out unless he's just going to do clearinghouse. A Virus Purge is fine. I'm going to throw out an urban. So if he overinstalls the Pichachon, it kind of precludes him from putting a card in server 5 and double advancing, or in server 4. We want to do influence count 4, 5, 6. Holloman went back. Where's the Holloman? Where's the Holloman? Oh, it came back from Basalt. That's in hand. 7, 8, 9. Okay, so they can't score out. 10, 11, 12. So I think we're on 12 influence, which means there can't be another Rona, but there could be another Holloman. But Holloman's in hand. So we'd have to run the remote server, and if we do call it right, we win. We have an Econ on top of the deck, which we will prognostic Q loop for fun. It turns on Urban. We also could sell it. But Gyro definitely has an agenda in hand. We don't care about the extra click on deep dive anyways, right? It's just boarding control insurance. It's just boarding control insurance, but that was before we stole the Basalt. Now that we've stolen the Basalt, we don't need the Pichachon, but it beats boarding control, which we've seen none. With Simulchip, you actually kind of have to like boarding control early, but like if Gyro, we just have to stop Gyro from winning, which probably will take 2 turns. So Basalt card added a card from archives. Shouldn't it tell us? What card did you add? I guess that's the Spin Doctor, the Holloman right now? Oh, cool. So we'll know what card goes back. Obviously, if it's the face down, it's the face down. But the Basalt one was scored. Wait. Yeah, when the runner... Where's the Holloman? Where's the Holloman? What happened to the Holloman? Add the Holloman in Archives to HQ. When the runner steals his agenda, you may add 1 card. When you score this agenda, place 2 agenda counters. Yeah, but how did it get there? Because there's 1 counter on this already. What am I missing? Has the counter not come off of this? It should be the first step here. What? Oh, I stole Basalt. Okay, cool. Never mind. Just remind. So that was the face down? So the face down card that just got milled just went back into the hand. So I'm assuming there's a 3-point agenda that was returned to hand. That seems ugly for our opponent. Yeah, sorry, I forgot about this basalt. Don't worry about that. I was like trying to do the text on this one. So that was on our turn. So this is another mill. So we know the hand has probably 2 agendas. This deck has the worst density. Zato's coming back. Okay. That's honestly annoying. Zato is annoying, but I think we can just run this enough times. Zato is really annoying. I guess we just went off centrals. We're lucky the tithe is on the innermost. But even if Gyro installs Agenda, Zato, Holoman, yeah, we might just be able to run centrals. The thing is, like, if we run this and you send the Ice Wall at us, like, we don't care. The Owl, we don't care. We have 2 propellers. The Tithe, we don't care. So it's like, if this is a Stavka, then we suddenly care a lot. Like, that is the only thing. If this is a Stavka, of which we have not seen a Stavka. So if that is just Holoman, the agenda, like, that still costs 8 credits. Okay, so that's everything. So we're going to prognostic for the Ika. Just to get that on the table. Do we return it to hand? It looks like we're not going to be using our Asana, so I think we can. Do we want to have 3 credits or we want to have it in hand? We want to have it in hand. All right, so we can just go for the deep dive here. We're seeing border controls. We could just run this and see what happens, right? Like thinking. So say a Stavka gets rezzed and the Zato gets rezzed. We can just simulchip for the Hush or simulchip for the Vizarum. I guess we have to go for the Hush and then we muse for the Vizarum. So no, it's actually impossible for us to deal with a Stavka here. Should cost 1. I cost 1. Yeah, install for 0. Yeah, that's cool. That happens all the time. As does reduce it with Masterwork, which is neat. So then the other option is running central servers and so hoping that Gyro's not enough money. That's also fine too, because I think if Gyro reses ice on centrals and then scores from server 4, might not be able to afford to do everything. We'll start here. Honestly, oh, sorry. That's not right. We're meant to start on HQ. I think we could consider contesting this. I think if the stop gets really bad. So top 2 of the stack, creative and diesel. Okay, that's kind of useless. But knowledge is power. Imagine we had a lily pad. Might not have been able to afford it. No, all you. Yeah, it's good that he's checking. Afshar. Okay, Afshar is kind of hard for us to deal with. It generally kind of hard for us to deal with. How do we deal with Afshar? Wait, how do we deal with Code Gates? We have to simulchip a Muse and Muse for a Unity. I think that's what we're going to have to do here. But then we have to trash one of our breakers. Wait, this stinks. Huh, that's really bad. Yeah, we have to muse for Unity, but then we have to trash one of our cards. Get rid of Propeller. Yeah, we might have wanted to sell the Ika, but when in Rome. So this shuffles the deck, so we actually have a prognostic that we don't know the value of. This is expensive. It might have been better to... no, I think we need the Unity, though. We think there's another Afshar here. We also could have got rid of the Pichashan. Actually, it would be better to get rid of the Pichashan. I think the Pichashan was the right trash, not the Propeller. Yeah, I think we made a mistake. I actually think we value 2 propellers because of the Ice Wall Owl interactions. Swordsman. We have 2 deep dives. We don't care. Okay, that's another influence. I'm happy if they hit it here because it seems so much more exciting. Hey, we got 2. Gain a click, don't mind. This probably wins the game. Yeah, we don't need the Pichashan. We could have got rid of the Pichashan, kept the second propeller. Oh, shit. Distract the masses. Okay, let's run R&D. This kind of shows that we have one here. Now, damage matters. I would use Ari for Ika there to keep it from getting hit. I don't think it matters because we have 2, and we're not assuming to need 2. Sandstone. Ugly. This is why we're assuming this could be what's it called? Oh. Fuck. Shit on me. At least we can run the remote server now. How do we beat this? So we have to prognostic, right? We knew this was a Maskarovka. We should have bounced the sandstone and came back. Yeah, we should have bounced this and came back. We could have bounced and ran R&D and run back. Because if this was a Maskarovka, we're 1 counter short. Man, we could have had 2 propellers. Why did we not do the Peach of Champ? Whatever. It's a miss bones. Imagine that was a monkey wrench. That used to be a monkey wrench. Imagine Miss Bones was a monkey wrench from the top deck. Oh man, that's so good. We traded this out. That would have been incredible. All right. This is bad. Oh, we're so cooked. Why did we get rid of propeller? We can't break barriers anymore. And now Gyro's going to get credits. Oh, we should have backed off on the sandstone. We have made so many problems and we're going to lose because of exactly this. Okay, so we can run HQ again. We have 2 muses. We're not totally out. I think we're lost. No, we're not totally out. 6 credits though. Fuck. I think we can top deck. Oh no, we know the top of the deck. It's Miss Bones. Do we have a shuffle? We don't have a shuffle. Run the remote to let the owl fire to reload the propeller. The problem is they'll do the muse and then we lose the unity, right? He'll trash the muse. So running HQ is reasonable. I think we should just set up. Like Gyro can't score out. Yeah, it's their choice. If it wasn't their choice. Okay, that's good to have. We haven't Arasana'd yet, right? So we'll just run our archives Arasana. Ooh, it was punitive. Okay. We also could be bouncing the sandstone. Oh, we just purged it, whatever. We might actually use Miss Bones. We're mismanaging there. I think we're definitely mismanaging. We could have closed this game up by now. But Gyro's a bit short here to do the and always needs to threaten 3, right? Like here he could double advance. Distract the masses. Giving us 2 credits seems kind of important. They choose Muse, you can Aria back for anything. Yeah, but we lose the unity. It's a bit annoying. Imagine we just had a cleaver, right? Like just a fixed strength breaker. There's an assumption we have the deep dive in hand too. So like it's kind of frustrating we have to run this first and hope for the 1 in 5. MU full? We'll definitely pawn this. Oh man, yeah, we made 2 big mistakes there. We could have jacked out and we could have pawned the Peach of Champ, or sorry, simul-chip the Peach of Champ on trash. When people complain about recursion and they're like, simul-chip is too much, like simul-chip is so cool because it actually makes puzzles. For what it's worth, JNet generally needs to be there to enforce it half the time, but like I like simul-chip has like a really reasonable drawback into it. It's fascinating. I need to spend more time whenever we're doing Pawnshop to make sure to look across the table. Same for simul-chip. You almost always lose the MU. Extract. That's fine. Okay, that seems necessary. But we no longer have to deal with the swordsman, which is pretty good. Hedge fund? What do you need credits for? You have a regolith. Playing hedge fund if there's an agenda in hand while there's a regolith on the table seems really strange. So I'm assuming Gyro doesn't have an agenda in hand. Otherwise, this play doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, another Muse on the Unity is going to be a problem because we don't have our lily pad, so our MU is full. Mostly. Well, actually, we don't need the econ this run unless Gyro installs something. Money's getting tight. Okay, that's fine. 3 cards in hand. Might be an agenda in there. We don't have burner. Take clicks. Okay, Urban, we can return the Eka. That gives us 2 credits, which we're going to use, or we could pawn. I'll return it. I think we actually pawned the prognostic here. Well, we have 10 cards left. One of them is guaranteed to be it's guaranteed to be a slab vandal. So let's do the math here. Click 1 where we run HQ. It costs us 3 credits. We're down to 3 credits. That's great. We access. We could just win. Then we have to run here. Propeller doesn't break Maskarovka, so we have to slap vandal it. Or we can muse for a propeller, which costs us 3 credits and we have an MU issue. If we muse for a propeller, we still need to have, what's muse for a propeller cost? That costs 2 credits because of DZ. And then propeller breaks the outermost for, we have a counter problem. We generally still have a counter problem. This being on 1 is really annoying. So we actually probably pawn the propeller because 1 propeller counter doesn't do anything. So I think we pawn the propeller, then we're on 9. So we run HQ, we go from 9 to 7. You have to run it twice if you do that. We're never meant to live this long. Yeah, so how do we do this? Like, we can't run the sandstone twice because we're still in the tank. Like, we have to slap vandal. Like, the other option is we just grind the sandstone down for a turn. What's in the remote server? It's Zato, an agenda, assumedly an SDS drone deployment, and Holloman. I'm deep in the tank here. So Muse gets us Slap Vandal. Slap Vandal beats Sandstone. We have 1 more Muse, which could be on top of the deck. So we have a 1 in 5 chance of top decking with Prognostic Q Loop and getting something sick here. Like, that's pretty good. Anything tank opponent. Whatever, man. Okay. Still trying to figure it out. Like, it's really hard for us to beat Sandstone Maskarovka. There's no way around it. This is 3 counters. This is 2 counters. It's like perfectly annoying. This is Basilisk. Yeah, let's see. How's it going? So that is just very hard to deal. So we should have like just wore this down last turn, but we obviously purged them of virus. If we didn't purge them of virus, oh, the Archives run was really bad. If we didn't purge them of virus, this would have been 1, 2, 3. We actually could have done it. But this is 3, 4, 5. F. So do you mind? On your turn? I think we prognostic here. I think you just get in. I don't think we can get in. Oh, wait, we can get in because you're right. We can pay 1 for the propeller and to muse the Maskarovka. Yeah, why didn't I think about that? No, we can't because we can't get through the sandstone. We can't get through the sandstone, Axu. We need 3 power counters for this one, 2 power counters for that one. We just can't do it. If we even have a slap vandal, we can't do it. Holy shit, he's good. All right. That seems good. So we Pawnshop the propeller or the prognostic. I think it's the propeller because we need 2 MU. I think we just win now. This is 1. This is free. 2, 3. Couldn't you muse for the slap vandal? We could, but the problem is that we need 2 muse targets, right? Like we still need to muse for the slap vandal for Maskarovka, but we also have to slap vandal the sandstone. Just mathing. Okay, so running HQ costs us 3. We need all the money we have. So we're already spending 5. This is 6. And then we need to do install, which is free. 7. I think it's credit perfect. Muse into Diesel. Oh, we could always install the Muse to get... Nah, it doesn't work. If there's an agenda in here, the hedge fund's really strange. I already tell you're gonna hit the 5-3. Oh, so true. Oh, I did the math wrong. Afshar is 4 to break? Oh, sorry, never mind. I boosted instead of broke. It's the math is the same, sorry. Same cost. I'll just... Great. Okay. Did we cook the math? Arasana, R&D, 4. We install Muse for free. We install Propeller for free. I think we're good, y'all. I'm too tired to do the math, I'll be honest. This also shuffles the stack. Not enough? No, we're good. Pretty sure we're good. Stop the run. Why? 4? 3? We're good. How's Propeller free? DZ Urban. It's free. Chat's freaking me out. You think I have more faith than you do? We can even break all of this, which I'm not going to do because if this whiffs, we need the money. Fuck. Oh, we should run Archives first because the Sandstone. Whatever, we have a slap handle on it, but that actually could matter. Never let Axu touch a Shaper deck. Thank God. Good game. Just play Stone Ship. It doesn't need to be this difficult. Hey, thanks for the game. 46 minutes. They probably, he doesn't have agendas in hand, I'm assuming, if he played the hedge fund. Yeah. My access to breakers wasn't great. I made some pretty bad misplays around Simulchip. Should have trashed the Peach song on HQ, not the second Propeller. Yeah, it was a bit ugly, but we still got there. Our international nightmare is over. Yeah, we definitely should have, like, in this matchup, you need as many Propellers as you can get. The deck is probably like chock full of as many cheap end the runs as possible. I don't know. I think the sort of combo deck like this, like Pinel is kind of hard to deal with. The Zato is really cool. Yeah. Hey, cheers. Oof. This is not what Big Op is, by the way. If you see this and you think this is what Big Op is, this is a Big Op deck, but this is not the archetype that we discussed earlier that is known as Big Op. This is just a bigger Op deck that's on a different combo. I think we lost this like a week ago and I'd never seen the combo, but the idea is that you fire an Urban Renewal. Urban Renewal fires and Op fires and you get a 0-coster and you go get the 1 of Ronin in the deck. And then you have a Holloman on the table and you just use Holloman to do what'll be 6 damage out of nowhere, 7 damage out of nowhere, which, like, genuinely in the format's a really bad breakpoint because Onacom Stone Ship, it doesn't beat that. But if people don't see it coming, you do die. You can react to it though, which is a bit of a bummer, right? Like if you pull out the Ronin before you can Holloman, they can pop Stone Ships. They can do whatever you want. 7? Yeah, it's 7. It's 4+3. I thought it was 3+3. It's 4+3. Just tune in. What do I say? Understanding Baz Ari deck. That's my shtick. Yo, Jeff, this deck is so good. Like, I think there's some changes that could be made to it. I don't like the 2 lily pad. I think the card draw needs to be a bit better, but my God, is it fun. It is so fun. I imagine you played this on a stream. It beats Onacom, but not Stone Chip. It'll beat a single Onacom, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the deck stops. Yeah, it's really, really cool. It's a very, very fun deck. I've been playing this thing almost exclusively since UK Regional, and it's so fun. Yeah, it is a real treat. We lost, like, honestly, we had to do so much work because we cut a Miss Bones. We cut the Monkey Wrench for the Miss Bones, and we were in the exact situation where the Miss Bones was like, where the Monkey Wrench was game winning. Gyro, good game. Do you have a way to install multiple Onacoms? No. You wish. Q-Loop is hitting good. It's just the most hype thing. It is really fun too. It's just like a really fun button to be able to hit and panic. And like a lot of times in this deck with DZ and Urban, like you can just afford to hit it all the time. I'm not playing DZ and playing 3 Lilypad and no Monkey Wrench 2. Yeah. I think that was my first option, is to cut the DZ for the Lilypad. It's hard to tell what would have been better in this matchup because our money was kind of mismanaged. The DZ was like, it did matter, but actually having like an extra 4 card draw might have mattered more in the matchup. Trying to figure out what runner deck to bring to Worlds. Ryan, a lot of great options. Do you have a faction you like? I'm still on the fence about Monkey Wrench. Does startup Monkey Wrench Enjoyer? It doesn't seem like it. I think you can just play Leech in this if you want to. Obviously, it doesn't work with Muse, but if you're going to be running anyways, whatever. You could play Takobi. It's fine. But I do think if you want to not play Monkey Wrench, you could consider playing like Fixed Strength Breakers in this list. Going back to 3 NV testing. Yeah, the money isn't incredible. I can't tell if I want a 3rd NV testing or 1 fewer Urban. I feel like every time that we play into Urban, we get like ruined. Like, this happens so often, is that you make a play into Aesops or Urban and they overinstall your ice. And admittedly, a 59 card op deck can do that more than anybody else. But like, we did misplace one of our Trojans that we lost our Aesops or our Urban. But like, I've seen so many turn 1 plays where somebody sets up an Urban and they just overinstall the ice. And then like the Shaper starts to turn on 1 credit and can't do anything. Jacoby's hard when you slap a lot. Partial break is quite common. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. Also, slap is an AI, right? Yeah, so you can't even use Jacoby on it. Not that you really want to, for obvious reasons. Like 7's pretty good, or sorry, 6 is pretty good. Okay, that's it. No, we only played 1 game today. It was a fun one. We've been streaming for less than 4 hours. Again, we're gonna be at Worlds in just 48-ish hours. I gotta get on airplanes. Not today, not tomorrow, but the day after. We've been hard at work. We've got a lot of handmade pins. If you're excited to grab some of those or some stickers, that'll all be for sale. Look for this little sign at Worlds, which is great. Gonna want to try this engine for the Geist vibes. Yeah, it is Geist-like, which is really, really great. As much as you have to work a bit harder for the money, for sure. I think that's mostly it. If you're at Worlds, please come and say hi. I really appreciate it. On that note too, the stream will be up on twitch.tv/nullsignal Netrunner and maybe even on YouTube. I'm not totally know if that's true or not. The safer bet is to just follow the Twitch channel. It's Null Signal Netrunner, not Null Signal Games. You should know when you get there because it looks more Netrunner than the other one. And then on YouTube, it might be up as well. That'll be youtube.nullsignalgames, which is also very easy to find. See y'all in a few. Yeah, safe travels to everyone, for sure. I love Shaper, but probably Crim. Oh, cool. Okay, so what do you want to do, Ryan? I'll put the timestamps once I do the publishing, but we spent the first 2 hours of this stream going through every faction and talking about some deck archetypes. You can definitely go into there and grab one of the archetypes, one of the deck lists I've posted. There's a lot of good options on both sides. What did Axie recommend? Rosetta Stone Los? It's good. Oh, please, Ryan, don't listen to that. Don't listen to that at all. I prepared some spicy copy pastas for the tournament. Will Axie get banned from NSG chat? I think Axie does some of the banning. Seen a few. Yeah, I was super stoked. Like, this is the wildest thing. It's one thing to be like, have some good Netrunner and see some good competitions and that sort of stuff. But it's another thing just to go to Worlds, just to like see some friends you haven't seen in a long time, let alone ever in person, which is really, really quite nice. Have a great time at Worlds, Nadu. Thank you so much. And with that, we'll be back online on a different channel, in a different place, in a different t-shirt in a couple weeks. Safe travels to Worlds. For those who can't make it, again, watch online. It'll be pretty hype. I just made Axu a mod. Can't even unban him for obnoxious copy pastas. This is what I was worried about. He's been playing the long game. See y'all in a bit. Good luck at Worlds. Ciao.